A few days later, Central Continent, Spirit Affinity House. Zhao Lianyun spread her divine sense, inspecting her immortal aperture. Lianyun blessed land already looked different from before. A flower field was planted with a large amount of bright-eye flowers. This was the food of remembrance Immortal Gu. It had to be planted. Besides this, there was also a small grassland where clear chance grass was planted. Stalks of the grass was small and pointy and were light green. Swallows were flying above this grassland. They were labor swallows, extremely hard-working and nimble birds. Their wings had 3 colors, in black, white, and red. Zhao Lianyun had specially brought in a batch of them to kill any insects on the clear chance grass. When clear chance grass grew, it would produce a kind of pest that would corrode the grass leaves, greatly reducing the profits. I have already spent most of my immortal essence stones. Zhao Lianyun sighed as she looked at the scene in front of her. At the beginning, she had felt the number of immortal essence stones to be extremely huge, but when she started using it, she discovered that it was not much at all. Because she was not only nurturing 2 resources, she also had to create 2 complete ecological systems. Not only the seeds of bright-eye flowers and clear chance grass, she had to spend on soil, water, climate construction, and so on as well. Bright-eye flowers can only satisfy the food requirement of remembrance Immortal Gu after a year in immortal aperture time. After 2 years, the clear chance grass and bright-eye flower transactions could give me several hundreds of immortal essence stones. After 3 years, I can repay Li Junying's loan. This progress and profit can only be achieved under the most ideal situation. And I have yet to calculate my other cultivation expenses. Zhao Lianyun fully sensed that Gu immortal cultivation was not easy. She was only cultivating 2 resources, and both grew separately and did not disturb each other. At the same time, the difficulty of nurturing plants was much less than raising beast groups or variant humans. Moreover, Zhao Lianyun had a high-grade blessed land, which had plenty of space path and time path resources. Most importantly, she was protected by divine concealment and was exempted from calamities and tribulations. She did not need to worry about this huge issue. The number of labor swallows is somewhat small. They cannot look after the whole grassland. I should buy some more. Zhao Lianyun connected to Treasure Yellow Heaven and sent her divine sense. Over these days, she realized the convenience of Treasure Yellow Heaven. Guts Gu. Zhao Lianyun quickly discovered someone selling Guts Gu. She knew Guts Gu was produced by Fang Yuan alone, but because its supply did not match demand, it had all along been sold in the black market of Treasure Yellow Heaven. That is, someone would purchase a large amount of Guts Gu then sell them at a higher price. So the one selling this Guts Gu was not necessarily Fang Yuan. Moreover, the wills and identities of Gu immortals could be casually changed. Treasure Yellow Heaven gave safety and full freedom. So even Heavenly Court could only watch as Fang Yuan sold Guts Gu. Even if I can sell bright-eye flowers and clear chance grass after a few years, there will be other competitors as well. My products will be influenced by the market. Their prices also won't be able to compare to Guts Gu. Fang Yuan was Zhao Lianyun's enemy, so she had been paying attention to the Guts Gu trade. But the more attention she paid, the more she realized Fang Yuan's strength, which inevitably caused her to feel depressed. According to my current accumulation speed, I simply won't be able to catch up with Fang Yuan. Instead, I will continue to be left in the dust by him. Damn it, Zhao Lianyun gritted her teeth. Right at this time, for some reason, there was a huge uproar ahead. Large amounts of Gu immortal wills, which were originally scattered throughout Treasure Yellow Heaven, were gathering in that direction. Zhao Lianyun's heart jolted. Could it be a large transaction? Li Junying said large transactions that can cause such an uproar are rare in Treasure Yellow Heaven. Previously, it was when someone sold large amounts of year beasts. I did not expect my luck to be so good, to encounter one not long after becoming an immortal. Zhao Lianyun naturally did not want to give up on this chance to broaden her horizons. She also sent her divine sense to experience this event. Soon, she arrived at the scene. A Gu immortal will, which had an enormous physique looking like a fatty, was sitting cross-legged in air. Surrounding him were Year Gu. A vast number of Year Gu. So many Year Gu. It looks like there are over 100,000. Zhao Lianyun got a shock. This was the first time she had seen so many Year Gu piled up together. The huge quantity had quite a visual impact. Sister Li Junying was right. Mortal Gu is only a matter of quantity to Gu immortals. Zhao Lianyun sighed inwardly. What price are you selling these Year Gu for? A Gu immortals will inquire about the price. That fat will replied with a smile, quoting a fair price, which immediately led to a discussion between the Gu immortals. If there are no issues with these Year Gu, I definitely want to purchase some. This is Time Path Mortal Gu. They have a wide range of uses and can be used in Refinement Path or other aspects. The price is also fair. Maybe I should buy a bit more. Even if I don't use it for myself, I can resell it later. I don't have to worry about not being able to sell it. Who is this seller? Selling Year Gu at this time is an extremely good decision. According to the usual routine, it is not yet the time for the biggest sellers of Yer Gu to bring out their products. Gu immortals discussed with each other. All kinds of divine senses and wills conversed together without maintaining secrecy, which allowed Zhao Lianyun to learn of a lot of things. She listened attentively and soon found this Yer Gu seller might be a newcomer in Treasure Yellow Heaven. Although the current time of sales was slightly early, it would still be hard for him to avoid colliding with the traditional sellers. It was still okay if this seller was only selling this one time, but if he wanted to run this business for a long time and squeeze into Treasure Yellow Heaven's market, it would definitely lead to bloodshed. Zhao Lianyun's eyes brightened at this thought. If it was the latter situation, then this would no doubt be an event to pay attention to and learn from. I will also be selling my resources in the future and will have to make my way into Treasure Yellow Heaven's market. My resources are not unique, so I will definitely have to go through this obstacle. There are only a few monopolistic businesses in the whole Gu Immortal world. Not everyone can have luck like Fang Yuan. I need to observe this properly, especially this Yer Gu trade. I might learn a lot of things. Zhao Lianyun instructed herself. The scene was bustling. Many Gu immortals started purchasing Yer Gu. Time Path Gu worms had a wide range of usage, so they always had a high demand in the market. After each transaction was completed, the profits quickly accumulated to an extent which caused some of the Gu immortals to become red with envy. Just by a rough estimation, this seller has at least profited 50,000 immortal essence stones in this short period of time. Zhao Lianyun was inwardly shocked, but the real shocking thing came later. This seller was selling continuously, while also continuously replenishing the products. Many Yer Gu were sold, but in the surroundings of the Fat Will, the quantity of Yer Gu did not decrease and was instead increasing. Oh heavens, how many Yer Gu does this man have? My goodness, this is a huge transaction. This person is here for blood. The main sellers of Yer Gu have always been Xie Baoshu, Rong Xian, and Wang Mingyu. If this is not handled well, it will definitely lead to a price war. Zhao Lianyun felt increasing anticipation as she listened to the discussions. This mysterious seller was strongly putting his foot in the market. The three main sellers definitely would not take this lying down. A price war concerning Yer Gu was going to start. Chapter 1452, Three Sellers, Eastern Sea. Clear Sea Area. A jade pavilion stood by itself in the depths of the sea, emitting aura of a rank 6 Immortal Gu house. Inside the jade pavilion, Gu Immortal Xie Baoshu was hosting his close friend, Yu Xianzi. Looking at the large patches of vicissitude trees outside the jade pavilion, Yu Xianzi said with a moved tone, "It is time to harvest Yer Gu once again. The growth of these vicissitude trees is much more vigorous than the previous year. Looks like your method of growing these resources has made another breakthrough." Xie Baoshu was handsome and had a warm nature. He rubbed his nose, smiling. "You don't need to flatter me." Yu Xianzi laughed. "I am just worrying about you. Don't you know someone is already selling Yer Gu in Treasure Yellow Heaven?" Xie Baoshu was silent as he took out Immortal Yer Gu and handed it to Yu Xianzi. Yu Xianzi received it and took a glance. Good. This rank 5 Yer Gu's quality is pretty good. It is glossy and healthy. It is quite appealing. Xie Baoshu slightly shook his head. This Yer Gu was not raised by me. It is from that seller. I see. Yu Xianzi was slightly surprised, before quickly accepting this fact. He knew his friend very well. Xie Baoshu was a well-known lone cultivator in Eastern Sea's Gu Immortal world. He had unique insights on growing vicissitude trees. Vicissitude trees were an immortal material, but their usage was very narrow. Despite being an immortal material, because they had many kinds of Dao marks, they were very impure. So few Gu immortals paid attention to this tree. But Xie Baoshu found new ways of using them. He planted this tree on a large scale, and using an ingenious method, he used vicissitude trees to raise and attract wild Yer Gu. Now, he was one of the 3 giants of the Yer Gu market. He only put a small portion of these Yer Gu in Treasure Yellow Heaven. The larger portion was sold to various super forces of Eastern Sea. Even so, Xie Baoshu would not easily give up Treasure Yellow Heaven's market, because this was the whole world's market, and from a certain aspect, Treasure Yellow Heaven could be said to be much more significant than those Eastern Sea super forces. Now that someone was suddenly entering the Yer Gu market, making huge transactions, how could Xie Baoshu just watch from the sidelines? Although it was still not time for him to sell Yer Gu, he had always been paying attention to the situation of the Yer Gu market. I have examined this Yer Gu. It is indeed a high-grade item. This time, the opponent is not a simple one. Xie Baoshu sighed. Yu Xianzi nodded. With such a huge amount, some region's superforce might be involved in this. It is very difficult for an individual to take out so many of them. Didn't you also climb up by accumulating your strength step by step? Xie Baoshu smiled. Oh you, why are you encouraging me in a roundabout way? Among the 3 sellers, only I am a lone cultivator. Because of this, I could only move step by step, facing setbacks along the way and getting past them to create a solid foundation. What difficulties have I not encountered? This time will also not be an exception. Moreover, Yu Xianzi finished his words. Moreover, you three have already reached an agreement. Every business has its own hidden rules. This newcomer might have come aggressively, but he has broken the hidden rules. He will probably be suppressed and forced out by you three, right? Ha ha. I really cannot hide anything from you. You rat who specializes in stealing oil. Xie Baoshu jokingly scolded while pointing at Yu Xianzi's nose. Northern Plains, Lengya Blessed Land. Cloud City. Inside a secret room, Fang Yuan had been sitting cross-legged without moving for several days. These last days, he had been activating rank 8-time path Immortal Gu. Years flow like water. He had obtained this Immortal Gu from He Fan's true inheritance. Even rank 6 Gu Immortals could activate it, but the effect would be limited. Now, Fang Yuan was continuously pouring his rank 7 red date Immortal essence into Years flow like water, constantly producing Mortal Year Gu. And these Year Gu were then moved to Treasure Yellow Heavens Market. He let his will stabilize the situation and carry out Year Gu transactions with other Gu Immortals. Indeed, he was the newcomer who had been selling large amounts of Year Gu. He was extremely aggressive, not only creating an uproar in Treasure Yellow Heaven, he even made Xie Baoshu and the others feel apprehension. Fang Yuan had borrowed over 1,730,000 Immortal Essence stones. He turned them into red date Immortal Essence, which he made full use of in the Year Gu business. Rank 8 Years flow like water was too amazing. It not only produced a lot of Mortal Gu, their quality was also good. The market response had been extremely good these few days. After buying some, many Gu Immortals felt that the goods were pretty good. They would find Fang Yuan to purchase another batch. Right at this time, Fang Yuan's activation of Years flow like water paused for a moment. He had all along been maintaining his connection to Treasure Yellow Heaven, and had just received a message from his will, which he had placed in Treasure Yellow Heaven, that there was a super force which wanted to purchase Fang Yuan's goods in bulk quantity, but was afraid Fang Yuan would not be able to supply them, so they wanted to discuss with his main body. If it was possible, they could establish long-term cooperation. This news could be true, but could also be false. There is a higher chance that this message is sent by those traditional Year Gu sellers using a disguised identity. Fang Yuan sneered, completely disregarding this message. Long-term cooperation? Fang Yuan was not interested. He wanted to wage war this time. Central Continent. Rong Xin was silent. The seller is actually not interested in my proposal? Rong Xin was quite surprised. He had disguised as a huge buyer to try to communicate with Fang Yuan personally and glean his background. But Fang Yuan actually ignored him. How can this be? Even if he is a representative of a super force, they would also hope that their Year Gu would have much larger buyers. Unless he does not have many Year Gu left. Rong Xin was a member of the 10 great ancient sects, and as a righteous path member, he naturally understood the thoughts of righteous path Gu Immortals and super forces. He pondered and felt this guess was very likely. It must be because of this that this mysterious seller is selling Year Gu this early. It is to avoid us 3 sellers. He refused even my proposal. He probably really does not have much stock left. Actually, the amount of Year Gu he has sold is only 1/10 of what I have in stock. Rong Xin chuckled when he thought of this. This is a good method to gain attention. He commented in his head on Fang Yuan's action. Unfortunately, what use is it if you don't have enough strength? Southern border. Dragon Return Valley. The rumbling of a waterfall echoed in the valley. Mist permeated and the vegetation thrived. Wang Mingyu, an external supreme elder of the Righteous Path Superforce Yao clan, was standing on a giant boulder, gazing at the waterfall. This waterfall was not ordinary. It was a tributary of the River of Time. Year Gu has 3 great sellers. Eastern Seas Xie Baoshu uses vicissitude, trees, to nurture Year Gu. Central Continent's Rong Xin uses refinement path methods to periodically refine countless Year Gu. But only I have a grasp over a tributary of the River of Time. I can capture natural wild Year Gu. Wang Mingyu inwardly compared herself to them. This tributary of the River of Time was rather special. It was a tributary that had forked from the middle of the River of Time. The River of Time had many special river segments. For instance, the Swordblade River segment. It was a special river segment that was personally set up by Red Lotus Demon Venerable, using the past Shi Yuan's sword aura and Dao Jiu Lang's blade aura to protect one of his stone lotus islands. The Year River segment was filled with countless wild Year Gu. Wang Mingyu had discovered this tributary back when she had been a lone immortal and had secretly managed it. But several years later, Southern Border's Righteous Path forces discovered it and were naturally covetous. After a secret exchange, Yao Clan won, and Yao Clan Gu Immortal Yao Tian Zhe married Wang Mingyu. With this reason, Yao Clan openly took this Dragon Return Valley as their territory. This year's harvests are pretty good. The amount of Year Gu captured is actually 30% higher than normal. The other two are not making a move, then I shall start first. If I continue letting that newcomer sell his Yuan Gu, it will probably not be easy for me to sell all these wild Yuan Gu. Wang Mingyu put her thoughts into action and began selling her Yuan Gu in Treasure Yellow Heaven. Her move immediately caused an uproar in Treasure Yellow Heaven. One of the three main sellers of Yuan Gu, Wang Mingyu, has made a move. If that mysterious seller is allowed to continue selling Yuan Gu, the sellers after him definitely won't have an easy time selling Yuan Gu. This will be quite a show, right? That mysterious seller is selling so many Yuan Gu. The three main sellers definitely have a hard time being patient. Now that Wang Mingyu has made a move, the other two won't stand still. Let's wait and see. There might even be a price war. US buyers can pick up some benefits. Many Gu immortals secretly communicated. Wang Mingyu took out her stock. Only Fang Yuan alone had been supplying Yuan Gu in a large amount in Treasure Yellow Heaven over these last days. Now with one more competitor, it immediately caused a stir. Women are women after all, not even having this bit of patience. Central Continent's Rong Xian scoffed when he obtained this news. With this, many Gu immortals will probably choose to watch. He had plentiful experience in selling Yuan Gu and could immediately guess the changes in the market. Sure enough, the fervor of buying Yuan Gu in Treasure Yellow Heaven suddenly fell. Wang Mingyu became Fang Yuan's competitor, which all of a sudden caused the supply of Yuan Gu to be greater than demand. Other Gu immortals were now keeping patient, waiting to see a good show. A storm was brewing in Treasure Yellow Heaven in previous years. The sale of Yuan Gu had always been a hot business. This year, with Yuan Gu being sold ahead of time, the situation had now become desolate, with almost no one showing any interest. Wang Mingyu was helpless about this. There was no other way. She had a huge stock of Yuan Gu. If she did not start now and waited for the other two sellers to start selling, there would be a much smaller market for her goods. Wang Mingyu is actually selling ahead of time. Different from Rong Xian's passive stance, Xie Baoshu was hesitating. Xie Baoshu understood Wang Mingyu. This person was a veteran seller with plenty of experience. How could she not see the disadvantage of selling early? Most probably, she also has a lot of Yuan Gu on her. Xie Baoshu did not show anything on the surface, but was inwardly getting worried. A day later, he finally decided to take action, putting Yuan Gu for sale in Treasure Yellow Heaven. Xie Baoshu has also made a move. Two of the three main sellers are already selling their goods ahead of time. Of course, this year is different from the past. There is now a fourth gladiator in the arena. Within Treasure Yellow Heaven, the Gu immortals discussed. Damn it, these two. When Rong Xian obtained news of this, he could only follow while gritting his teeth. The situation was already different from before. Previously, Fang Yuan was selling by himself. Rong Xian could endure this and remained unmoved. When Wang Mingyu joined, Rong Xian only felt slightly tensed, but with Xie Baoshu also joining in, the pressure on Rong Xian had increased. Among the four sellers, if he alone did not take action, then the one who suffered the most would no doubt be him. It was just that he had his own difficulties. His Yuan Gu were the results of refinement. Because there was not a set time like past years, his stock had not been accumulated enough. So he had the least amount of stock among the four sellers. Forced by the situation, Rong Xian could only grit his teeth and put his Yuan Gu for sale in Treasure Yellow Heaven. I have the least amount of stock. I cannot act forcefully. Rong Xian already had a hunch. What he needed now was time to refine much more Yuan Gu. Thinking of this, he contacted Xie Baoshu and Wang Mingyu. These three knew each other for many years, competing and communicating with each other about Yuan Gu business, and naturally had each other's information path Gu worms. Although there is a newcomer, I think us three should still act according to the old agreement. Isn't that so? Rong Xian reminded the two. Xie Baoshu and Wang Mingyu naturally agreed. They had already broken some terms of the old agreement by selling Yuan Gu early. But since this was a special situation, it could be understood. But if they broke other terms, especially the one about price of Yuan Gu, that would be breaking the rules. With more sellers, there would naturally be a price war. This was a powerful method of a price war. But if it was used too strongly, it would hurt themselves. Xie Baoshu, Wang Mingyu, and Rong Xian had already competed with each other countless times, but they never changed the agreed price. Besides not being able to do anything to the other party, the main reason was to protect their benefits. This created a problem. If Fang Yuan's side suddenly dropped the price, what should they do? These three could obey the agreement, but Fang Yuan was a newcomer. Even if Rong Xian persuaded him, he might not listen. But Rong Xian, Xie Baoshu, and Wang Mingyu were seemingly not worried about this. With four sellers supplying Yuan Gu, Fang Yuan immediately felt his sales becoming stagnant. I'm a newcomer after all. Although my goods are of top quality, how could my status compare to those three main sellers in other Gu immortals' hearts? Wang Mingyu, Xie Baoshu, and Rong Xian were in this business for many years already. They had good reputation among the public. Fang Yuan could absolutely not compare in this aspect. This was where Fang Yuan was disadvantaged in. But Fang Yuan had his methods to resolve it. Soon, at almost the same time, Rong Xian, Xie Baoshu, and Wang Mingyu obtained a significant news. That mysterious seller was beginning to drop the price of Yuan Gu. He went for this after all. I still thought he had some other methods. They were not anxious, even feeling somewhat disdainful. They had long grown out of this action of decreasing the price, and had even suffered a lot because of this. In a price war, taking the initiative to reduce the price was a double-edged sword. It would hurt others and hurt oneself as well. But as far as buyers were concerned, Fang Yuan reducing the price was no doubt good news. Weren't they waiting for this kind of opportunity? They were like hungry sharks that immediately swarmed in. Fang Yuan's Yuan Gu began to sell in large amounts, forming a stark contrast with Xie Baoshu, Wang Mingyu, and Rong Xian's. The other side seems to be an experienced veteran. This price reduction is quite to the standard. It gives a feeling of being a lot, but actually is not that much. Wang Mingyu had been observing the situation. But so what? The Yuan Gu market of the whole of Treasure Yellow Heaven is extremely big. How can you supply to the buyers of the whole 5 regions by yourself? In the end, the one to suffer will be yourself. We can clearly sell at a higher price. The 3 main sellers maintained their price, but several days later, they could not sit still. What's going on? This guy has so many Yuan Gu. It almost seems to be endless. How could he accumulate so many Yuan Gu? Something's wrong here. The moods of the 3 main sellers had become slightly heavy. But should they follow and reduce their price? They were hesitant. In the end, they had different mentalities. Fang Yuan was a newcomer. However much he earned would be fresh income. But these 3 main sellers were old veterans and had a rough estimation of their profits every year. So if they were to reduce the price, their expected profits would decrease. Hesitation was natural. Several days later, Fang Yuan sales were still going on fiercely. The 3 main sellers saw the situation was going in an unfavorable direction. Wang Mingyu was the first to discuss with the other 2 if they should also reduce the price. Xie Baoshu had a cold expression. Looking at this situation, this guy probably has enough stock. If we don't reduce our price, we simply won't be able to sell. That's right, Wang Mingyu added. This person's methods are not simple. He reduced the price just enough to suppress us 3. Rong Xian snorted. Whether we lose profits or not, it will have to be seen after selling all the Yuan Gu. If we decrease the price too much, even if we sell a lot, we will still lose massive profits overall. What is the point of that? He did not approve of this method, still wanting to wait patiently for a while more. There was no other way. He did not have much stock. If he reduced the price, there would be a lot of buyers and his goods would be all sold. When others learned he was out of stock so early, his image and reputation would be damaged. But he could not do anything about it. Since the other 2 wanted to reduce the price, Rong Xian could only follow them. Chapter 1454. Commotion in Treasure Yellow Heaven. The price fell. As Fang Yuan's price fell, Xie Baoshu and the other sellers had to lower their prices too after a few days. However, they did not lower their prices much. They were in sync, at the same price as Fang Yuan. I am a newcomer in the Yuan Gu business. My identity is mysterious and unknown. Compared to me, Xie Baoshu, Rong Xian, and Wang Mingyu are reputed figures with many years of experience. They are deeply trusted. Thus, as long as they lower their prices to match me, those who want to buy Yuan Gu will approach them instead. Fang Yuan knew deeply about the plan of Xie Baoshu and the rest. This was the advantage that Xie Baoshu and the rest had over Fang Yuan. Their years of being in the business had deeply affected the buyers. It was not a joke. However, so what if they do this? Fang Yuan smiled lightly. On the day Xie Baoshu and the rest lowered their prices, Fang Yuan lowered his price again. The Gu Immortals in Treasure Yellow Heaven were focusing on this huge price war. The moment Fang Yuan lowered his price, news spread rapidly. Before long, many of the forces and Gu Immortals concerned about this matter learned about it. After hearing that Xie Baoshu lowered his price, I wanted to buy from him. After all, I do that every year. True, except I prefer Rong Xian's goods. But that 4th seller lowered his price again. He is truly rich. He wants to challenge the 3 main sellers. The buyers were overjoyed and relaxed. In this price war, they were the ones who benefited the most. Staying on the fence and watching this show, it was a very joyful thing to see. At the same price level, Fang Yuan was not their match, but the moment he lowered his prices, his advantage became huge. After all, Fang Yuan's goods were very high quality and cheap. Would those Gu Immortals be so stupid as to buy expensive goods instead? Thus for the following day, Fang Yuan's business was booming. The other 3 sellers had no business. After hearing this, Central Continent Gu Immortal Rong Xian laughed, coldly of course. He spoke with the other 2. Very interesting. This person really wants to challenge us to a price war. Wang Mingyu smiled. All these years, nobody could match our status. This time, I want to see how strong this person is. Xie Baoshu added. then let us lower our prices too. There was nothing to say. Since Fang Yuan reduced his prices, the other three sellers followed. Their price was the same as Fang Yuan's Xue Er Gu. They had hesitated earlier already. Since Fang Yuan was initiating the war, the three Gu Immortals were confident in their finances. They followed relentlessly. During the second price reduction, there was a small commotion in Treasure Yellow Heaven. The rest of the Gu Immortals started to get excited because they knew that this was only the second price fall. The war had just started. There was going to be a third and fourth time later. But it will depend on the mysterious fourth seller on when he reduces his price again. Any price reduction is a fall in profits for the seller himself. Earlier, the fourth seller initiated the war. While the three main sellers have no fear in joining in, they had full confidence in themselves. That's right, the third reduction might be coming soon, but we do not know when. The Gu Immortals conversed among each other. Normally speaking, it was very common to reduce prices in such situations, but there was an interval between each reduction, because the seller needs to observe the market and think about the decisions to make. Reducing the price was a double-edged sword. It could undercut the competitors, but it would harm one's own benefits. If the seller saw good prospects in the market, they might not reduce prices anymore. They needed to defend their own benefits. If they reduced the prices further, even if they increased the quantity sold, they would not earn much profits. After all, competitors would reduce prices. 2. If the sellers refused to give in and constantly reduce prices, competing without restraint, they would collapse together. There were basically no Gu Immortals who would do this and ruin the market for everyone. The sellers were not stupid. They wanted to earn profits. If they only cared about competition and disregarded profits, why would they sell anything? Sellers were smart, but buyers were intelligent too. After the three sellers reduced their price to Fang Yuan's level, they stopped buying. The sales of Xue Er Gu became very pathetic. Because the most crucial person in this price war was Fang Yuan. And the moment Fang Yuan reduced his price, they would buy a bit. Why? Firstly, in terms of prices, Fang Yuan selling at a lower price would be more beneficial to them. Of course, they were encouraging him to continue competing with the three sellers and reduce prices. Eventually, Fang Yuan will be unable to endure it, because the one to lower the prices will suffer losses. But after the prices reach the lower limit, the buyers would benefit the most. If the four sellers end up at the same price, they would not buy the Xue Er Gu from Fang Yuan. A price war made good use of such psychological tactics. After the second price reduction, the four sellers reached the same price again. Fang Yuan's actions were out of expectations. He was paying close attention to Treasure Yellow Heaven. The moment the three sellers reduced their price, he reacted and reduced his own price again. Many people were astonished. Fang Yuan's reaction was simply too fast. And from his speed, many people could sense his firm and determined attitude. He is well prepared for this. Rong Xian sighed. He felt a little pressure as he had the least stock among the sellers. Towards the later stages of this price war, when the commodity prices are low, sales would boom. By then, if he had low stock, it would be very awkward. There are buyers but no goods? Not only would he be out of the game, buyers would think of him as unreliable. His reputation accumulated over the years would be ruined. Rong Xian did not want that to happen. He asked others to refine Xue Er Gu at full speed to replenish his stock, while thinking if he should reduce prices again. More specifically, if he should reduce the price until his competitors could not and dare not try to follow him, because it would result in major losses. But he would not lower prices by too much. Buyers must continue to think that they could continue watching without doing anything. In that case, as long as he had enough time, Rong Xian could replenish his stocks and win at the final moments of the price war. However, in this case, if I reduce prices drastically, the other two parties will know that I do not have much stock now. Rong Xian was very hesitant. Since he could think of this to alleviate his crisis, the other two parties were also experienced sellers. They could naturally deduce his current situation. Deductions were not hard to do. People with experience were sensitive to such changes. That way, if Rong Xian did this, he would be exposing his weakness. He would likely get kicked out of the game earlier. Thus, not only was he hesitant, he had a headache. A huge headache. Because he needed to think about the buyer and seller mentality while also paying attention to his competitors. Right when he was hesitant and indecisive, Xie Baoshu and Wang Mingyu lowered their prices again. The price fell like earlier, maintained at the same level as Fang Yuan. They had sufficient stock, especially Wang Mingyu. They were not anxious. Since Fang Yuan wanted to compete and reduce prices, they would follow. After all, they would gain the market share if prices were equal. They had a huge advantage. This was the third drop in prices. After hearing news, Fang Yuan laughed heartily as cold light shone in his eyes. In that case, I will speed things up. This time, he lowered prices again. And this fall was drastic, far beyond the earlier rounds. This time, there was a huge commotion. In Treasure Yellow Heaven, the buyers were excited. This was the result that they wanted. They had waited so long for this victorious moment. It fell by this much. Xie Baoshu had a solemn expression. He could feel Fang Yuan's overpowering attitude. If the earlier few rounds were light punches, this was a heavy kick. But Xie Baoshu had to react to it. If not, he would be kicked out of this war. Buyers had no loyalty after all. Price wars were very cruel. Xie Baoshu was the first to lower prices, followed by Wang Mingyu as they reached the same prices again. Rong Xian had a huge headache. He had wanted to drop his prices drastically earlier, but in his moment of hesitation, the opponent acted before he did anything. This way, not only would his earlier plans be ruined, if he wanted to go ahead with it, he would need to reduce his prices even further. But that would be a dangerous price, because if it becomes lower than the usual year Gu sale price of previous years, the buyers would start buying enthusiastically. Or maybe that mysterious seller has little stock. He has the same plan as me. Rong Xian had his final bit of hope. He was the last to reduce his price, following the other three. They all lowered their prices. Ha ha. The buyers were very happy, but the happiest part had yet to come. When Rong Xian lowered his price, Fang Yuan continued to lower his year Gu price again. And this time, it was even larger than before. Treasure Yellow Heaven was in a commotion. The three sellers were shocked. This will be a tough one. Xie Baoshu had a grim expression. He was originally relaxed and cool. He acted casually and without emotions, but now he could not contain himself anymore. Fang Yuan reduced the prices and shrunk the profits of the year Gu business. For the three sellers, if they followed, they would suffer great loss of profits. He is going all out. Wang Mingyu was tongue-tied. She had a chilly feeling. She had not felt this for a long time already. Chapter 1455. Victor Rong Xian's lingering bit of hope was smashed. Because he knew that the other party was not like him, they had ample stock and this price would definitely create a huge commotion in the sale of year Gu this time round. I lost this time. Rong Xian smiled bitterly. He had no choice but to give up due to his low quantity. Forget about excuses. Losses were often justified with reasoning. But people in this world did not care about reasons. They did not need your excuses. They only cared about victory or loss. Like what Rong Xian expected, after Fang Yuan lowered his price, there was a huge wave of commotion and purchases. Many buyers started to purchase year Gu. Such a cheap price was rarely seen. If they did not make use of this chance, how could they? Huge transactions were ongoing. Fang Yuan was raking in huge profits. But the other three parties did not follow him. Xie Baoshu and Wang Mingyu were hesitant. Earlier, Rong Xian hesitated. It was now their turn. If they followed Fang Yuan and lowered their prices too, their year Gu would be sold rapidly as well. But if they did that, the profits would become too small. It would be far from their original expectations. But if they did not follow him, Fang Yuan would steal their business away. What should they do? The key to this was how much stock Fang Yuan had left. If Fang Yuan had excessive stock, Xie Baoshu and the rest would need to follow him. The market was only this big. There was only a limited amount of demand. The more Fang Yuan sold, the less they would sell. But if Fang Yuan had insufficient stock, Xie Baoshu and the rest would not need to lower prices. They just need to wait. After he finishes his stock, they would be able to sell at a higher price later. Their profits would be retained. They would win this fight after all. Thus, Xie Baoshu and the rest started to think. Who was this Fang Yuan exactly? Was he a man or a woman? Was he part of a force? Or an individual? Why was there no information about him earlier? Why did he appear out of nowhere? They could not understand. He appeared too suddenly. Actually, other than the three of them, the year Gu market had other smaller sellers. But these people were quickly eliminated by them, because they could not be the seller now. Right now, those small business owners probably have pale expressions while watching this intense price war. Thinking of this, Rong Xian's mood became slightly better. He was unlucky and would likely be the first person out of this race, but there were even more unlucky people besides him. It made him feel a little better in comparison. But he was just consoling himself. It could not affect the reality of things. No matter how they thought about it, the three sellers could not decipher Fang Yuan's background. To play safe, Xie Baoshu and Wang Mingyu decided to follow after Fang Yuan and reduce prices too, until they match him. But Rong Xian did not follow them. It seems that Rong Xian thinks the seller does not have much stock. Xie Baoshu thought. But he did not know that Rong Xian was out of options. He had little stock. If he reduced prices by that much, the heated sales would deplete his stock. He would be out of the competition. He would rather keep his prices and take a gamble. If Fang Yuan had little stock, he would win and continue to stay in this. If not, he would lose, but that was no different from lowering prices anyway. Xie Baoshu did not know about Rong Xian's problem. He felt that he was gambling on Fang Yuan not having enough year Gu. But Xie Baoshu had a stable mindset. He wanted to follow because that was the safest option. As for Wang Mingyu, after some consideration, she also made the same choice as Xie Baoshu. But with her woman's intuition, she had more suspicions. She thought, why did Rong Xian not lower his price? Is he making a gamble? Or does he know the other party's background? Or does he have any evidence or news about it? If Rong Xian knew about Fang Yuan's background, it was possible that he would not tell the two of them about it. He was sitting on the fence and watching. This was advantageous to Rong Xian. Thus, Wang Mingyu contacted Rong Xian and tried to probe him. Rong Xian received Wang Mingyu's transmission and felt helpless about it. He felt some sympathy towards her. Overall, he had a complex emotion now. Thus, the current situation was Fang Yuan, Xie Baoshu, and Wang Mingyu had the same price, while Rong Xian's price was higher than them. At this time, large numbers of Gu Immortals started to buy Xue Er Gu, or started to prepare to buy them. Everyone was moved. This price was lower than ever before. It was an alluring price. Wait for an even lower price? The buyers shook their heads. It could not go much lower anymore. The buyers were smart, but the sellers were not stupid either. Thus, when Fang Yuan lowered his price again, everyone was stunned. Did I hear wrongly? They lowered the price again, and by such a huge amount. Oh my, what is going on? Is this new seller stupid? The buyers were in disbelief. I do not care if he is stupid or has other objectives. I know that his Xue Er Gu are genuine products, and he is selling at this price indeed. If I do not buy now, I will be the fool. A Gu Immortal cried out in his mind. But others were like this too. A huge amount of Gu Immortal divine senses, or wills, surrounded Fang Yuan's stall. The heated scene was unprecedented. Buy. The Gu Immortals were filled with this thought. It had never been this cheap before. If they wait until that fool realizes his prices are too low, it would be too late. The buyers felt a strong sense of urgency. What is this person doing? After seeing this, Xie Baoshu lost his cool. If he followed this price, his profits would be reduced to just a sliver. For example, in previous years, if a Xue Er Gu could earn 100 each, if he follows Fang Yuan's price, he would only get single-digit profits per Gu. Why did he spend so much effort on growing vicissitude trees? Wasn't it to nurture Xue Er Gu and earn profits? If he reduced his prices to Fang Yuan's level, his profits would be gone. This price was way below his bottom line. If he had to sell at this price, he would rather keep the goods. But Xie Baoshu frowned. He fell into deep contemplation. At the same time, Wang Mingyu was worried. Her situation was the same as Xie Baoshu. If she followed Fang Yuan, her profits would be unacceptable. But should she stop selling? It was not so simple. If they did not follow and Fang Yuan's stock was huge, the market in Treasure Yellow Heaven would be completely taken over by Fang Yuan. There was another possibility. Fang Yuan was purposely lowering the price as a tactic. It was possible that he had only purposely lowered it this much to probe the other sellers, or to raise his own reputation. If I do not follow, I would be showing weakness, but I can preserve my strength. If I follow him, I would be clashing with that newcomer in a crazy manner. After thinking about it for a while, Wang Mingyu decided to follow him. But at this time, Xie Baoshu had already stopped. The sale price of the Xue Er Gu in the market was lowest at Fang Yuan and Wang Mingyu, followed by Xie Baoshu and Rong Xian at the highest. Evidently, nobody was buying from those two shops. Most of the buyers were at Fang Yuan's and Wang Mingyu's shops. Xie Baoshu was observing the situation. He needed to know if Fang Yuan was putting up a front or if he really had the foundation. Wang Mingyu was very nervous because this sale price was losing her a lot of profits. And among the three sellers, she was the only one left. Rong Xian became the most relaxed person. He was watching them fight. It is about time to deal the final blow. Fang Yuan was very calm. At this point, he had probed the bottom line of these three sellers, even though Wang Mingyu was still contesting with him. According to the usual market situation, the three sellers were about the same level. Even if Wang Mingyu was superior, it was not by much. Thinking of this, Fang Yuan lowered his price again. But this time, he only reduced it by a tiny little bit. However, this small drop in price was like a sharp blade stabbing into the three sellers' hearts. Rong Xian turned pale. Xie Baoshu squinted with a dark expression on his face. Wang Mingyu clenched her fists. She gritted her teeth and said in shock, Why? Why go this far? Fang Yuan's drop in price was small, but very fatal. It was lower than the cost price of these three sellers. Since Xue Er Gu was being sold, there were costs involved in obtaining them. Rong Xian needed Gu materials. He spent Immortal essence to refine them using Gu refinement methods. Xie Baoshu had vicissitude trees. He also needed manpower and resources. Even though Wang Mingyu could capture Xue Er Gu from the tributary of the River of Time, the method used required Immortal essences, and funds were needed to manage the tributary of the River of Time. Selling below the cost price, that would be a true loss. This was a move usually done by those who had a surplus of stock and could not sell them, or if they had an urgent need for funds. This was a desperate choice. If one did this in a price war, the competitors might be fine, but the person themselves would suffer a major loss first. This was too harsh. It was harsh to others, and also harsh to themselves. Wang Mingyu was shocked. She did not dare to follow him. She would be an idiot if she did. This was Xue Er Gu, The Gu was actually sold at a loss. What did that mean? The buyers were shocked too. This price was out of their imaginations. They were tongue-tied, completely in disbelief. But soon, the Gu Immortals present reacted. Treasure Yellow Heaven was in a huge commotion. Countless Gu Immortals surrounded Fang Yuan's stall tightly. The situation was completely chaotic and heated. This was no longer about buying. They were earning profits. Buying Year Gu at this price, according to usual market prices, they were buying it at a profit. Countless transactions were undergoing. Even those who already bought Year Gu came back and purchased from Fang Yuan again. Fang Yuan's business was unthinkably booming. The other three sellers were completely ousted. They were in pathetic states. But at this time, the three sellers stopped being anxious. Who is this newcomer? He is so fierce in his moves, but I am afraid he is messed up now. Hee. Observe. I will observe. I refuse to believe that he can maintain the price of the Year Gu at this low level. The three sellers were waiting for the time when Fang Yuan's losses became too severe. But Fang Yuan could go on endlessly. Because he was using rank 8 Immortal Gu, years flow like water. The cost behind the production of Year Gu was merely his Immortal essence used to activate the rank 8 Immortal Gu. Fang Yuan's production had costs, of course, but his cost was far lower compared to the three sellers. If their cost price was 10, his was only 3 or 4. Anyone could sell Year Gu. The quality of the goods was similar in most cases. The competition here was really only dependent on their cost. Fang Yuan sold at this price, but he could still earn profits, while the three sellers would sell at a loss. They were unable to sell, but Fang Yuan could dump his stock. The victor of this price war was decided from the start. It was undoubtedly Fang Yuan. It is finally over. This price war was truly interesting. Zhao Lianyun sighed internally. The sale of Year Gu ended in Fang Yuan's victory. Many Gu Immortals were shocked by the results. Such situations were rare. The newcomer actually defeated 3 seniors in this market. Most of the people were originally thinking that the newcomer was a wolf, while the 3 sellers were tigers and lions. But in the end, the newcomer was not a wolf, but a dragon. The 3 sellers were not his match. They lost terribly and could not sell their Year Gu. For the following period, this Year Gu competition's influence will continue to spread. It will become a tale for people to talk about. Gu Immortals would reminiscence over it. Zhao Lianyun started to think about this price war. She wanted to gain knowledge from this price war, so as to learn something useful for herself. Then, why did the newcomer win in this battle while the long-time sellers lost? Zhao Lianyun asked herself. Next, she answered herself. Because the newcomer has great strength. Even if the 3 sellers worked together, they were not her match. Using absolute strength to sweep the market? Zhao Lianyun was slightly dazed before smiling bitterly. She wanted to learn how to enter the market as a newcomer. Even though Fang Yuan's method seemed ingenious and meticulous, he had unparalleled strength to sweep the market and suppress all his competitors. Zhao Lianyun could learn nothing from him, because he used absolute strength. Since the newcomer has such strength, why did he not reduce the price from the start? Zhao Lianyun asked herself. She felt like Fang Yuan's actions were a bit pointless. But soon, when she thought again, realization flashed across her eyes. I understand. Starting at a high price and gradually reducing it can earn more profits than dropping the prices immediately. He can also probe the 3 sellers' bottom lines. Finally, he is trying to assert dominance. The thoughts in Zhao Lianyun's mind clashed continuously. After this competition ended, the newcomer won. It was no surprise he won with such strength, but he is definitely not satisfied with just one win. The newcomer wants to dominate Treasure Yellow Heaven's market. Not only does he want to defeat the 3 sellers, he wants to drive these people out of the market. This person is so overbearing. Sigh. When can I possess such strength too? Zhao Lianyun thought of this and sighed deeply to herself. She had just started managing an immortal aperture. She was very far from Fang Yuan's level of development. No matter what, she had already etched Fang Yuan's fatty will to her mind. Zhao Lianyun saw him as a mountain. She who had just become a Gu Immortal could only watch and admire him. Rong Xian, Wang Mingyu, and Xie Baoshu were discussing among themselves. Sigh. Where did this person come from? They have such great strength, able to satisfy the entire market in Treasure Yellow Heaven alone. Our Year Gu are literally unsellable now. Wang Mingyu sighed. It is not so simple. He is trying to get rid of us entirely. Xie Baoshu was pale. His voice was turning shrill. Brother Xie is right. This person is selling Year Gu at such a low price. For the next few years, the market for Year Gu will shrink immensely. No matter who it is, they are going overboard. Not only did they take the bulk of the profit, they also refused to leave us any leftovers. Rong Xian had a grim expression. The 3 sellers had Year Gu, but they could not sell any. Year Gu was needed by everyone. Fang Yuan supplied this huge quantity. It caused a tremendous amount of sales, but these 3 could not get rid of any of their stock. Since Year Gu were easy to raise, they only fed on the water of the river of time. it was not hard to accumulate them at all. This way, not just now, for the next few years, the three sellers would not be able to sell their Yuan Gu. And for the buyers, since they had Yuan Gu themselves, why would they buy more? Unless the price was even lower, they might want to accumulate a bit more. But the three sellers could naturally not sell their Yuan Gu at Fang Yuan's price. The three sellers stored their Yuan Gu up for now. But what was the use of that? After 2 to 3 years, when the market regains its demand for Yuan Gu after fully digesting Fang Yuan's sales, the price of Yuan Gu will rise again. By then, the three sellers would be able to sell it, but Fang Yuan could do the same. If he did the same thing again, the three sellers would not be able to sell off their Yuan Gu once more. This was strength. With such a difference in strength, no plots or schemes could work. Fang Yuan was a very intelligent person, but this time, he acted straightforwardly. It was most effective to directly crush them. The three sellers became quiet after a while of discussion. The atmosphere was very heavy, because they knew clearly that as long as Fang Yuan had this strength, they would not have an easy time in the future. Even though the sale of Yuan Gu would not disappear, their profits from this business would shrink drastically. They would need to give up on the market in Treasure Yellow Heaven. Right now, we can only hope that this person is putting up a front, that his actions were all just to scare us off. Wang Mingyu smiled bitterly and broke the silence. The other two immortals shook their heads. This was very unlikely. We can work together. Xue Er said quickly. This was a solution. In the past, the three of them fought and competed. Only after a while did they set an agreement to work together and gain profits together for a long time. But how can we cooperate with him? The difference in strength is apparent. Wang Mingyu sighed. Xie Baoshu analyzed calmly. That will depend on our ability. If Yuan Gu cannot convince him, we will need to discuss other things. What if he does not agree? Wang Mingyu asked again. Xie Baoshu was silent. Xue Er sighed bitterly. If he does not agree and wants us out of the business, we can only give up on the Yuan Gu business. There was nothing that could be done about it. Competition was cruel. Fang Yuan's strength made it impossible for the three sellers. They could only give up on Yuan Gu. But how could they give up so easily? The profit of the Yuan Gu business was sustaining them and the super forces behind them. Now that it was destroyed, who could handle the outcome? No, I cannot give up on the Yuan Gu business. Xie Baoshu gritted his teeth. He was a lone cultivator. He had been relying on Yuan Gu to support his cultivation and connections to others. With this loss, it was a detrimental blow to him. Wang Mingyu's situation was slightly better than Xie Baoshu. She was once a lone immortal. She had turned over to the righteous path and joined a super force. Even if there were no profits here, it was not her responsibility. On the other hand, she could rely on her husband and the clan behind them. Xue Er had the smallest pressure. Because he was also a member of a super force, it was a central continent super force with deep foundations. And most importantly, he obtained Yuan Gu from refining Gu. If he did not need Yuan Gu, he could just stop refining it. It was easy for him to change businesses. Cooperate with me? Fang Yuan soon received their transmissions. He sneered. Why would he cooperate? He could easily devour the market alone. Why would he hand over the profits to them? Fang Yuan rejected them immediately. 12 million Immortal Essence Stones. These were Fang Yuan's gains in the price war. Even though his price was low, the quantity sold was too immense, he still accumulated a huge sum. When I drive these three sellers out of the market, I will be able to raise prices slightly. But for the next few years, the three sellers will likely still stay in here. Fang Yuan evaluated. On one hand, they were unwilling to give up. On the other hand, they wanted to probe Fang Yuan's foundation and see if he was scamming them. And finally, even though Treasure Yellow Heaven's market was taken by Fang Yuan, not everyone bought things from Treasure Yellow Heaven. For example, Wang Mingyu's super force behind her would buy a huge portion of her Yuan Gu. Other than that, there were many forces which would buy their Yuan Gu even if prices were higher to maintain relationships. Of course, as long as Fang Yuan continued to dominate the market of Treasure Yellow Heaven using such methods, in 5 to 6 years, these three sellers would have an even harder time. After all, the prices were too low. Even with their deep relationships, buyers would want to buy from Fang Yuan. In the entire Gu Immortal World's market, Treasure Yellow Heaven was a huge proportion of it. From now on, Fang Yuan only needed to dominate Treasure Yellow Heaven. He would eventually influence the other markets and become the biggest seller of the Yuan Gu business in the entire Gu Immortal World. As for the others, even if they could do some Yuan Gu business, they could not compare to him. After repaying my debts, I still have 10 million Immortal Essence Stones left. But for the next 2 to 3 years, this way of getting profits cannot be used. While Fang Yuan was thinking of how to use these Immortal Essence Stones to manage his immortal aperture, Sixth Hair approached him. He gave Fang Yuan some excellent news. Elder Fang Yuan, the food path Immortal Gu that you wanted me to refine has been created. Chapter 1457. Food Path Immortal Gu Snack. A small food path Immortal Gu was in the center of Fang Yuan's palm. It was green throughout, about the size of an adult's thumb, but its body was split into 6 segments like a caterpillar. And on its forehead, there was a silver horn. At this moment, it was lying around in Fang Yuan's palm, rolling around according to Fang Yuan's will. It had been refined already. When refinement path Gu immortals successfully refine Immortal Gu, in most situations, the Immortal Gu would have already been refined by them. That meant Sixth Hair was the owner of this food path Immortal Gu. But due to Sixth Hair handing it over to him, Fang Yuan could easily refine this food path Immortal Gu compared to Wild Immortal Gu. Rank 6 Food Path Immortal Gu Snack. This was one of the Gu that Fang Yuan wanted Langya's sect to refine. After inheriting Purple Mountain True Monarch's inheritance, he had requested Langya's sect to refine 3 Immortal Gu for him. And right now, they had already been completed. They were Rank 7 Immortal Gu Self-Love, Rank 6 Immortal Gu Cleanse Soul, and Rank 6 Immortal Gu Snack. These 3 Immortal Gu were needed by Fang Yuan urgently. Self-Love Immortal Gu was very useful. It was the core of self-cleansing. It was necessary to him. Fang Yuan could get away from Heavenly Court's investigative methods due to it. Even though Cleanse Soul Immortal Gu was Rank 6, the difficulty of refining it was the biggest among the 3. But after refining it, Fang Yuan solved the soul path trap on the 8-arm immortal zombie body. He could use the light of wisdom once again. It was incredibly useful to him. As for Snack Immortal Gu, it was a food path Immortal Gu. Fang Yuan needed it to solve the problem of feeding his Immortal Gu. The Immortal Gu recipe of Snack Immortal Gu came from Shadow Sect. The source was Spectral Soul Demon Venerable. In his life, he had killed the Beastman Gu Immortal and obtained his food path true inheritance. That Beastman Gu Immortal was the legendary figure who created Food Path. Seniors paved the way for juniors. The Food Path true inheritance in Fang Yuan's hands was the most authentic one in the world. After injecting Red Date Immortal Essence, Snack Immortal Gu's caterpillar body shook like it had gotten drunk. Its lower half sprawled out on Fang Yuan's palm, while the upper half stood up and shook its head. In the process, its green body turned red, until it turned into a lava-like color. At the same time, its slim body became thicker gradually. Plop. Eventually, it spat out a large amount of sticky yellowish liquid from its mouth, before it shriveled and shrunk until it was smaller than normal. Its body also turned from red to pale white, like it had been weakened. With the food path true inheritance, Fang Yuan knew clearly that Snack Immortal Gu had a restricted usage. After each usage, it needed time to heal before it could be used again. If Fang Yuan used it continuously beyond its limits, it would spit out a large amount of yellowish water before dying rapidly. Only when it recovers and its leaves turn green again could it be activated once more. Fang Yuan placed Snack Immortal Gu into his immortal aperture before turning his attention to the yellowish liquid. This liquid was very special. It floated in the air and did not land. It shrunk into a small ball. It was like an egg that has the white and yolk mixed together. This yellowish liquid was what Fang Yuan wanted to get. With it, he could feed his Immortal Gu in place of a portion of the food they needed. For other Rank 6 Immortal Gu, this yellowish liquid could make up 6% of their food. The effect was weaker for Rank 7 Immortal Gu. 6% seemed little, but Snack Immortal Gu could be used again in a few days. It would squirt out another glob of yellowish liquid. If he accumulated it, it would be very helpful towards the feeding of his Immortal Gu. Of course, there was a limit to the amount of yellowish liquid that he could use. It could replace a maximum of 40% of the Immortal Gu's food. Beyond that, it would not have any effect. Fang Yuan took out an Immortal Gu as it quickly devoured the yellowish liquid. The test was completed perfectly. Fang Yuan nodded in satisfaction while sighing internally. He had wanted food path methods long ago, because since rebirth, he had many Immortal Gu with him. He had a huge burden of feeding them. Before now, Fang Yuan had been very busy in feeding his Immortal Gu. To think that I would obtain a food path true inheritance from my great enemy Shadow Sect. And it is actually the best food path true inheritance in the world. And the process of refining Snack Immortal Gu was much easier than Cleanse Soul and Self-Love. The refinement of Immortal Gu was really hard to estimate. In order to refine Cleanse Soul, Fang Yuan failed many times, but when refining Snack Immortal Gu, he only made 5 attempts. Success on the 5th try was a huge surprise. With this Snack Immortal Gu, Fang Yuan's pressure of feeding Immortal Gu was much smaller, by reducing the food of Rank 6 Immortal Gu by 40% and replacing it with Immortal Essence. Even though the effect was weaker on Rank 7 and 8 Immortal Gu, his burden was much lighter now. After all, Fang Yuan had a huge number of Immortal Gu with him now. Snack Immortal Gu held huge value to him. A few days later, Fang Yuan successfully bought a batch of desolate plants from Treasure Yellow Heaven. This batch of desolate plants was a thin layer of green fungal lawn. It lived on the surface of multicolored coral groups. It was light shine fungi. Light shine fungi lived deep in Eastern Sea. It was pure darkness there without any light. Due to the profundities of nature, the light-shine fungi grew in that area and emitted an intense light, turning the dark sea into a shining area, like it was daytime. Fang Yuan had once tried to buy a batch in the Eastern Sea auction, but back then, Tong Hua only wanted to trade them. Afterwards, she sold them in Treasure Yellow Heaven, and after some evaluation, the price got lower and lower. Initially, the Gu Immortals were very interested in this desolate plant. But afterwards, the buyers found out that this desolate plant was most suited to live in the completely dark deep sea. There was immense water pressure at that depth as well. After leaving this environment, even though the light-shine fungi would not die, they would shrivel and emit a weak candle-like light. In this situation, Fang Yuan negotiated with Tong Hua and bought all the light-shine fungi that she had at the lowest price possible. Fang Yuan first placed a portion into his Immortal Aperture's mini Eastern Sea to nurture them. Next, he experimented on the remaining amount. He needed to modify this desolate plant so that it would change its characteristics and be usable to him. Fang Yuan's wood path attainment level was ordinary, but he was very confident. On one hand, he had too many methods. Shadow sex inheritances along with Langya sex true inheritances gave him a large number of modification methods, among which involved wood path, soul path, refinement path, and others. On the other hand, Fang Yuan had the ultimate trump card, the light of wisdom. Even if these methods were not useful, he could deduce his own way. In the vast Eastern Sea, waves were rumbling. Wind and waves swept towards a nameless island. It was not dusk yet, but the sky was already dark. Tong Hua flew as she raised her head. Seeing the dark clouds looming over her in the sky, she sensed that a storm was brewing. She was feeling vexed, but her expression was calm. She quickly flew above the nameless island as she saw one person standing at the highest part of the island, looking at the sea and sky. I have kept you waiting. Tong Hua landed towards the Gu Immortal as she bowed. The mysterious Gu Immortal turned around and revealed his appearance. He was an elderly man with a tall nose and thin eyes. He was smiling now as he said calmly, "No worries. Fairy Tong Hua, I need to congratulate you. I heard that you sold all of your light-shine fungi in Treasure Yellow Heaven." This elderly Gu Immortal was an Eastern Sea ranked 7 enslavement path Gu Immortal, Ren Xiaoping. Fairy Tong Hua nodded as she handed Ren Xiaoping a large amount of Immortal Essence stones. Ren Xiaoping inspected it before hesitating purposely. "Fairy, if I counted correctly, the sum is a little lacking." Fairy Tong Hua had a grim expression. She nodded. "I will return you most of it first. I will repay the rest at a later time." Ren Xiaoping nodded. "Very wise. According to our agreement, the lower your remaining debt is, the less interest you pay. It seems that you will be able to repay it soon." Fairy Tong Hua snorted. Of course. She had gone through a tribulation earlier. The rebuilding of her Immortal Aperture took a lot of funds. She had to borrow. Ren Xiaoping was one of the lenders. He lent her the most amount of Immortal Essence stones. But her agreement with Ren Xiaoping was also the strictest one with the highest interest rate. Originally, Fairy Tong Hua was in a terrible condition, but to think that Fang Yuan actually bought all of her light-shine fungi, she regained some funds. Returning most of the debt at once, her crisis was greatly alleviated. Fairy Tong Hua had little pressure in returning the rest of the debt, including the interest. After the transaction, Fairy Tong Hua did not want to stay anymore. She was about to leave when Ren Xiaoping said, "Fairy, wait. What matter do you have? If you want to lend more Immortal Essence stones, forgive me, but I will not borrow any." Fairy Tong Hua frowned lightly as she said coldly. Ren Xiaoping smiled. "Don't worry, Fairy, that is not it. I have an incomplete true inheritance in my hands. It is from a wood path great expert long ago. Don't you want to modify the light-shine fungi? I believe this true inheritance will be of great help to you." Fairy Tong Hua became suspicious. "How did you know that I was modifying the light-shine fungi?" Ren Xiaoping chuckled. "You did not conceal this matter. I easily found out about it with some investigation." Fairy Tong Hua had a grim expression, matching the terrible weather. Splash, splash, splash. Great winds blew, waves crashed on the shore of the nameless island, creating huge ripples. Ren Xiaoping was right. Tong Hua had invested too much into modifying the light-shine fungi, causing her finances to crumble. She was forced to borrow funds to maintain her financial situation. If not for that, with her foundation, she could sustain the cost of rebuilding the Immortal Aperture. After a while of silence, Fairy Tong Hua asked, "Which wood path great expert are you referring to?" Ren Xiaoping smiled. "Wood path Gu Immortal Xue Er. Have you heard of him?" Fairy Tong Hua was slightly surprised. He is a wood path great expert indeed with rank 8 cultivation level. But in history, he was famous for battle strength. His Immortal Aperture management was not good. Ren Xiaoping shook his head, saying in a confident tone, "Fairy, that is not true. You have that impression because Xue Er's battle strength was too stunning. It overshadowed his ability to manage the Immortal Aperture. The truth is, he was quite impressive. Without Immortal Aperture Foundation, battle strength is pointless to some degree. Furthermore, even if his management was not good, he was still a rank 8 Gu Immortal, and was from Wood Path. He is definitely very useful to you. That is undeniable. Tong Hua was moved, she thought. I had been facing problems with modifying light shine fungi earlier. The reason was not my light path attainment level, but Wood Path instead. If I can get this incomplete true inheritance, it would likely help me in this problem, and the modification of the light shine fungi would succeed. Thinking of this, Tong Hua hesitated before asking Ren Xiaoping, "What is the price of Kue Wu Zi's true inheritance?" Ren Xiaoping thought the fish has taken the bait, but he said, "Not high. Not high at all." Both sides negotiated, but eventually, Fairy Tong Hua bought the true inheritance of Kue Wu Zi from Ren Xiaoping and left the nameless island. The moment she left, a storm started. Both the sky and sea were of the same dark murky color. Crack! A loud thunder and a snake-like lightning flashed across heaven and earth. At this instant, the lightning reflected on Ren Xiaoping's face. He was smiling like his scheme had succeeded. I succeeded. Tong Hua was deceived by the reputation of Kue Wu Zi. His true inheritance is actually not very helpful to her, especially after I took out some crucial information from it. Lightshine fungus is a desolate plant. How can it be easy to modify a desolate plant? Especially when Tong Hua cultivates light path instead of wood path. How can she succeed without years of research? Northern Plains, Lengya Blessed Land. Fang Yuan's divine sense entered his sovereign immortal aperture. Immortal killer move, light fungus radiance. Fang Yuan activated his immortal killer move, creating a burst of orange-yellow light. The orange light shone on the green light shine fungi as it started to transform. The light shine fungi was dyed at a rapid rate. It gradually changed colors from green to pure white. A moment later, the immortal killer move was successfully activated. Fang Yuan only saw pure white light shine fungi in front of him. The light shine fungi was different from before. Instead of wilting, they radiated with strong light. Fang Yuan used his investigative methods to check it before nodding in satisfaction. Excellent. The light shine fungus modification was quite successful. I can start a wide-scale plantation now. Fang Yuan's wood path attainment was even lower than Fairy Tong Hua, but he had the light of wisdom to assist his thinking. He also had Shadow Sex and Langya Sex inheritances. He had a vast amount of foundational knowledge. He also had access to a huge number of Immortal Gu, and could even borrow more. Due to many reasons, he managed to create the Immortal Killer Move Light Fungus Radiance. This move used Perseverance Immortal Gu, Self-Love Immortal Gu, and Would Sprout Immortal Gu as the cores, with Snack Immortal Gu supplementing them, to allow green light shine fungi to transform into pure white light shine fungi, suited for the environment of the sky. Among them, Would Sprout Immortal Gu was borrowed from Langya's sect. Perseverance and Self-Love were Fang Yuan's to begin with. As for Snack Immortal Gu, he had just refined it. It was quite a surprise that it was useful so quickly. Afterwards, Fang Yuan placed the light shine fungi into Mini Orange Heaven and Mini White Heaven. There was a field of aurora lights in Mini Orange Heaven. Within the aurora lights were fruits known as flowing light fruits. As for Mini White Heaven, there was a field of multicolored overlord flowers. After placing the light shine fungi there, the two places started to shine intensely. Due to this influence, Mini Orange Heaven's aurora lights started to expand. Even though the extent was mild, as time passes, this would be a substantial change. As for Mini White Heaven, the multicolored overlord flowers also became energized. Be it the aurora lights or multicolored overlord flowers, they needed intense lights. The modified pure white light shine fungi could float in the sky. They were very helpful to the areas. Fang Yuan was satisfied after inspecting them. As long as these two areas are developed, at this rate, I will be able to satisfy the food requirements of Attitude Gu and Wisdom Sword Gu. Fang Yuan had 3 rank 8 Immortal Gu. Years flow like water consumed the water of the river of time. There were no issues with its food. Attitude Gu and Wisdom Sword Immortal Gu were harder to deal with. All along, Fang Yuan had been worried about this, and now, he saw hope of finally resolving this. Furthermore, the light shine fungus can reproduce by itself. When the scale of my light shine fungi increases in the future, it will become another business that I can engage in. This was highly possible. The pure white light shine fungus that Fang Yuan modified was marketable. It was much better than the original light shine fungus. If he sold it, it would receive much attention and interest. Fang Yuan had already planned. He was going to nurture both versions of the light shine fungus. He would place a portion of the green light shine fungi into Mini Eastern Sea, while putting most of his attention on the pure white light shine fungi. After satisfying his own needs, he would sell the rest. Let me count. To get the light shine fungi into a scale that satisfies my needs, I will need to invest 2 million Immortal Essence Stones. To make it into a business and sell it to others, I will need to invest another 1.8 million Immortal Essence Stones. The feeding of rank 8 Immortal Gu was too high of a burden. In total, he would need 4 million Immortal Essence Stones. But if he succeeds, he would have a monopoly over this market. It was extremely profitable. For the next 2 to 3 years, the Gu market would be oversupplied. Even for the next 4 to 5 years, Treasure Yellow Heaven's market would be very lacking in demand, because Gu Immortals already had a lot of Gu stocked up in their inventories. Just earlier, Fang Yuan created a huge commotion. The sale of Gu also affected the market of Month Gu and Day Gu. Fang Yuan wanted to create a new business. Lightshine Fungi was a good choice. Of course, the prospects could not match Guts Gu. After he sells the modified Lightshine Fungi for some time, people will learn about the details and modify it themselves. Meanwhile, only Dang Hun Mountain could produce Guts Gu. Next, I will release the restraints and restore the Sovereign Immortal Aperture's rate of time back to normal. Chapter 1459, Marriage with Fang Yuan. Northern Plains, Northern Icy Plain. A blizzard was blowing, snow was falling above the glacier. Under this glacier, a negotiation filled with heavy atmosphere was underway. The two groups of variant humans who lived here in seclusion, the Rockmen and Snowmen, were engaging in negotiation due to a territorial dispute earlier. Right now, this negotiation had been going on for 6 days and 6 nights. Moonlight region belongs to my Rockman tribe. It had been part of our territory since 400 years ago. This is the bottom line of our Rockman tribe. I hope the Snowmen can understand us. Xue Er spoke loudly. His voice echoed in the room. The Rockman Gu Immortals who were engaged in the negotiation were extremely stubborn. Meanwhile, the Snowman Gu Immortals had dark and unsightly expressions. The Rockman tribe was very firm on this topic. It was an immense pressure on the Snowmen. Snowman Gu Immortal Bing Yuan said, "That was the case 400 years ago. But afterwards, a senior Gu Immortal in our tribe won a bet against you. First Supreme Elder Xue Er, and this Moly region was the wager." Xue Er waved his hand rapidly. "That was just a joke. It should not be taken for real." Bing Yuan smiled coldly. An agreement was set back then. Xue Er had a solemn expression, countering. "Where is the agreement now?" Bing Yuan was so angry she could not speak. This Xue Er, not only did he use information path methods to get rid of the agreement, he even denied the bet. As the first supreme elder of the Rockman tribe, he was simply too shameless. But the Snowman Gu Immortals understood why, even though they were furious. Because there was just too little territory in this icy plain. After living here for so long, the Rockmen and Snowmen had propagated beyond the sustainable number for this place. Xue Er was being so shameless to get back Moly region. It was for the sake of the Rockmen, and for their overall benefit. But in this case, the Snowman tribe's benefits were infringed. Eventually, this difficult negotiation had a result. The Snowmen lost while the Rockmen won. They gained control of Moly region. Immediately, the Rockmen ordered the Snowmen to leave Moly region, to hand over the space to the Rockmen in charge. After returning to their territory, rank 7 Gu Immortal Bing Zhua said angrily, "These Rockmen are too much. How can they distort facts just because they have the rank 8 battle strength immemorial rock dragon?" Bing Yuan consoled him. "Stay calm, Bing Zhua. Haven't we known about the Rockman tribe's attitude for the last 1,000 years? The Snowmen and Rockmen were living together in the northern icy plain, but the Rockmen had the advantage over them. There was only one reason, the rank 8 battle strength immemorial rock dragon. With such powerful strength, the Rockmen gained the advantage in many conflicts between the two tribes and defended their own benefits." Upon hearing the immemorial rock dragon, Bing Zhua's rage faded. He sighed helplessly. Sigh. Rank 8 battle strength, immemorial rock dragon. If we had rank 8 battle strength too, we would contest them evenly. That would be great. Bing Yuan was silent for a moment before saying, "It is not impossible to gain rank 8 battle strength. I have a plan. If we succeed, the immemorial rock dragon will be nothing compared to it." Bing Zhua heard this and his eyes shone. "What plan, tell me?" "Actually, I have been planning this for some time. At this current moment, we have an opportunity, I will tell you." Bing Yuan said. Bing Zhua heard this and called out, "You mean Lu Guan Yi? Wait, no, Fang Yuan?" Lu Guan Yi's true identity, which was Fang Yuan, had been exposed by Heavenly Court long ago to the world. Even though the Snowman tribe were isolated, they still learned of such important details. Fang Yuan undoubtedly has rank 8 battle strength. He even has the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle, and we've had a relationship for some time. If we let Xue Er be married to him, we would have a marriage connection with him. He will be tied to our tribe. With this, our tribe will no longer be bullied by the Rockmen. Furthermore, having a rank 8 to defend us will be extremely helpful for our development," Bing Yuan said. Bing Zhua thought while nodding. Indeed, Fang Yuan is a human, but he has countless enemies. He has also joined Langya's sect. There is no problem with his allegiance. But wait, Bing Zhuo looked at Bing Yuan. We have a relationship with him? Why do I recall that we only fought him and ambushed him? Even though we made up later, we are far from having an actual relationship. Bing Yuan smiled. Bing Zhuo, you were in seclusion to modify your killer move earlier, therefore you are unaware. During this period of time, Fang Yuan used all of Langya's sect's strength to refine Immortal Gu. He met with difficulty in the process and needed the immortal material Snow Lotus Essence. I made the decision to sell a lot of our Snow Lotus Essence to Langya's sect's sixth heir to help him out. So that's it. Bing Zhuo realized, but he soon frowned. Since it is a transaction, we gain from it too. Why did we not just gift him the Snow Lotus Essence? Bing Yuan smiled bitterly. This matter had many implications. I had no choice but to do that. Firstly, I did not have a strong desire towards the marriage connection. Secondly, if we gifted it to him without cost, Fang Yuan is not a stupid person, he might not accept it. Thirdly, if everyone knows about it, the Rockman tribe would become suspicious of our intentions. Bing Zhuo nodded and did not speak. He understood that rather than a relationship, they had only barely started to build one with him. It was very difficult to have a marriage connection with him. Because earlier, when Fang Yuan had the upper extreme heavenly eagle, the snowman had expressed goodwill to Fang Yuan, but he was extremely cold to them. And right now, Fang Yuan had rank 8 battle strength with the upper extreme heavenly eagle as well. His status had elevated even further. If the snowman wanted to ally with him through marriage, they were not the ones helping him. They were trying to raise their own status. The snowman did not know that Fang Yuan had lost the upper extreme heavenly eagle. But Bing Yuan had more confidence than Bing Zhuo. She said, "Don't worry, my granddaughter has incredible looks and is a Gu immortal. She is the perfect person to marry. How can the Rockmen surpass us in this? We have the advantage. Even though our marriage connection ends in us relying on him, Fang Yuan can also receive our help. It is beneficial to him. Let alone anything else, we at least have Snow Lotus Essence. Or rather, even if this plan fails, there are no problems. Our relationship with Fang Yuan will not worsen. We can try." This try reasoning finally moved Bing Zhuo. The latter nodded. "Let's try it." Inside the sovereign immortal aperture. Swoosh swoosh. The water of the river of time splashed with a grand commotion, reverberating in Fang Yuan's ears. Fang Yuan's divine sense swept around. After some observation, there were no issues. He retracted his divine sense. Using the time path methods from He Fan True Inheritance, Fang Yuan restored the rate of time in his sovereign immortal aperture back to its original speed. The rate of time in the sovereign immortal aperture was very fast. It far surpassed super-grade blessed lands. In terms of space path, there was more than 335,000 square kilometers of space in it. In terms of time path, the speed was 1 to 60 compared to the outside world. The 10 extreme physique blessed land only had about a 1 to 40 rate of time. As for high-grade blessed lands, the time was about 1 to 30, half of the sovereign immortal aperture. At the same time, the immortal aperture origin core had a deep foundation. 96 immortal essence beads were produced in the immortal aperture each year. In terms of outside time, it was 16 immortal essence beads per day. Fang Yuan was a rank 7 Gu immortal now, so he obtained 16 red date immortal essence beads daily. 16 red date immortal essence beads. In terms of immortal essence stones, that was 1,600 immortal essence stones. That was to say, even if Fang Yuan did nothing every day, his immortal aperture would still produce the equivalent of 1,600 immortal essence stones for him daily. That was terrifying. And in fact, that was not all. When Fang Yuan's time path down marks increase, his immortal aperture's rate of time would accelerate. When his immortal aperture origin core's foundation becomes deeper, the number of beads of immortal essence produced would increase too. At rank 8 cultivation level, it would be even more terrifying. At the most basic level, 16 immortal essence beads per day of rank 8 white lychee immortal essence would be the equivalent of 160,000 immortal essence stones. Fang Yuan managed to earn millions of immortal essence stones from selling Xue Er Gu. But when he reaches rank 8 cultivation level, he could obtain 16 million immortal essence stones worth of immortal essence beads every 100 days without doing anything. The higher the cultivation level, the deeper the growth in resources. This was not a linear growth. The increment was far greater. Of course, that was for Fang Yuan's case. The sovereign immortal aperture was a unique situation in the world. Shadow Sect spent 100,000 years to accumulate resources and used it all to refine this Gu. It was understandable why this was so terrifying. Earlier, Fang Yuan was forced by heaven's will and tribulations to reduce his immortal aperture's rate of time. But now, with his surge in battle strength, Fang Yuan was confident in getting past calamities and tribulations. With the immortal killer move exposing heavenly secret created by old man Xue Er, He could obtain the details of calamities and tribulations in advance. And together with his own development needs, he had to restore the rate of time. In fact, Fang Yuan even planned to use time path methods to further increase the speed. But I need to wait now. The time path methods in He Fan's True Inheritance have a cooldown period before I can use them again to influence the tributary of the River of Time. With my accelerated rate of time, the light-shine fungi can reproduce rapidly now. I should place Wisdom Sword Immortal Gu and Attitude Gu outside the Immortal aperture. Fang Yuan calculated. At this rate, he would be able to satisfy the feeding of Attitude Gu and Wisdom Sword Gu. It was about time to feed them. But rank 8 Immortal Gu were too hard to feed. This problem had been in Fang Yuan's mind for a long time, and as time passed, his pressure intensified. Now that he could settle this problem, Fang Yuan finally let out a sigh of relief. Heavenly Court, Soul Suppression Hall. Fairy Xue looked at the lump of Spectral Soul's main body in front of her as she frowned. Spectral Soul, at this point, can't you see reality? Spectral Soul did not answer. He was silent like a rock. Fairy Xue sneered. She activated her rank 8 Immortal Gu house. Immediately, purple lightning emerged from the chains, as Spectral Soul, who was restrained tightly, started shaking. His memories were forcefully extracted, appearing before Fairy Xue as a multicolored image. It was a scene of the past. Spectral Soul had yet to become a demon venerable. He only had rank 7 Gu Immortal cultivation level. Luo Pa Valley. Spectral Soul stumbled into Luo Pa Valley and fell on the ground. Guh. He opened his mouth and spit out a mouthful of blood. His expression was pale as paper. The situation was terrible. He was near death. A figure descended from the sky. He landed and said, "O Spectral Soul, you cannot escape. Today, you will die." The person had rank 8 aura. He had a cold expression. His strength was far higher than Spectral Soul. Spectral Soul barely managed to sit up as he looked at the sky. "I do not understand. This is the first time we are meeting. We have no grudges. Why are you paying such a huge price to kill me?" The person called out, "Because you will create bloodshed in the world. You will massacre the people of the world and bring disaster to all." Spectral Soul sneered. "You have killed far more people than me. Isn't it laughable for you to say that?" The rank 8 enemy shook his head. "It is different. You are inherently worse than me." Spectral Soul was silent for a while before saying, "Because I want to create Soul Path." The rank 8 Gu Immortal had a flash of surprise in his eyes, but he recovered quickly and said solemnly, "That's right. Soul Path should not be created. In the current world, Fate Immortal Gu has been damaged. If Soul Path is created, the world will change drastically. The dead will not rest in peace. Ghosts will roam the world freely." Hee ha ha ha. Spectral Soul laughed. "That's wonderful. I will definitely create Soul Path. In the future, countless people will cultivate Soul Path. Let's change this entire world." He laughed as he stood up. He had recovered to an extent already. "With me around, that is wishful thinking." The person sneered and charged down. Spectral Soul raised his hands and a huge formation appeared, trapping the rank 8 Gu Immortal inside. But the enemy reacted rapidly. He quickly broke the Gu formation. "Did you think I did not notice the hidden Gu formation? I purposely came here to talk to you, because I had already unraveled this Gu formation." The rank 8 Gu Immortal charged towards Spectral Soul relentlessly. But Spectral Soul was extremely confident. He stood on the spot as the rank 8 Gu Immortal came at him. He laughed. "You merely unraveled that Gu formation at the surface level. Don't you find this valley unusual?" He had just said that when the Gu formation unleashed its full power, the rank 8 Gu Immortal was immediately affected as his momentum came to a halt. "This is Luo Pa Valley," the rank 8 Gu Immortal said in shock. "That's right. This secluded domain of heaven and earth is the ultimate sacred land for cultivating Soul Path. Hee, it is also your final resting place." Spectral Soul declared with the tone of a victor. "Ah." The rank 8 Gu Immortal screamed. Spectral Soul's immortal formation used the power of Luo Pa Valley. It was akin to a rank 9 Gu formation. The rank 8 Gu Immortal resisted for a while, before he could not take it anymore and died. Spectral Soul looked at his feet, towards the corpse of the rank 8 Gu Immortal. His hair was messy and his 7 orifices were bleeding, but he was still filled with killing intent. He sneered. "Humph, Heavenly Court's Gu Immortals, interesting. I, Spectral Soul, swear that I will create Soul Path in the future. I will. Let more people cultivate it. Even if I fail and die, there will be an endless number of Soul Path Gu Immortal experts emerging in the future." Ha ha ha. The image vanished. Fairy Xue had a dark expression. She looked at Spectral Soul's main body, which was immobilized. She left after staring at him for a short while. Even though she extracted Spectral Soul's memories, they were useless. In fact, it was as if he was replying to her earlier words. If it was the latter, It meant that Spectral Soul could still resist Heavenly Court's soul-searching method. Even though he could not block the power of Soul Suppression Hall, he could selectively hand certain memories over. That way, it will be a long time before we can get any useful information from him. Fairy Xue sighed deeply in her mind. Langya blessed land, Luo Pa Valley. Fang Yuan was sitting deep in the valley. He willed and activated Luo Pa formation. This formation came from Spectral Soul's true inheritance. It was created by Spectral Soul Demon Venerable personally. The foundational goo worms used for it were a vast number of White Lotus Giant Silkworm Gu. White Lotus Giant Silkworm Gu was the food of cleansed soul, Immortal Gu. It was also created by Spectral Soul Demon Venerable. After Fang Yuan obtained the Gu recipe, he made Langya sect refine a huge number of White Lotus Giant Silkworm Gu for him. And now, he had cleansed soul Immortal Gu again. Not only could he feed it with sufficient White Lotus Giant Silkworm Gu, he could even use them as the foundation of many soul path Gu formations in Spectral Soul's true inheritance. Right now, Luo Pa formation was activated. The originally unorganized Luo Pa winds and bewilderment fog started to gather with the Gu formation's activation. Fang Yuan's soul left his body as he endured the trial of wind and fog. Before this, he had already expended a huge amount of guts Gu. His soul was quite bloated now. A moment later, Luo Pa formation stopped activating as Fang Yuan's soul became thinned out from the tempering. He returned to sovereign immortal body with deep fatigue. With Luo Pa formation, my cultivation efficiency in Luo Pa Valley has increased by 30%. Fang Yuan assessed. This was not the first time he was using this formation. Luo Pa formation was specially used to cultivate soul path, but he could add other Gu formations and to modify it. It was a very inclusive Gu formation. That was its most useful trait. For example, Qin Bai Sheng and the rest resisted the group from Central Continent's 10 great ancient sects. The Gu formation they used during the battle was Luo Pa formation. However, their Luo Pa formation was not for cultivation, it was for defense. According to Spectral Soul's true inheritance, when he was alive, he had killed a rank 8 Gu Immortal from Heavenly Court with only rank 7 cultivation level. Back then, he also used Luo Pa formation, but he added in many Gu formations that were offensive in nature. The Luo Pa formation that Fang Yuan was using now focused on refining his soul. It used rank 6 Immortal Gu Cleansed Soul and a vast number of White Lotus Giant Silkworm Gu, along with many supplementary Gu to assemble it. Alright, after this cultivation session, my soul has already reached million-man soul level. In Spectral Soul's true inheritance, Soul Foundation was classified into many levels. From low to high, there was single-man soul, 10-man soul, 100-man soul, million-man soul, 10 million-man soul, 100 million-man soul. 10-man soul meant that the Soul Foundation was the total of 10 grown men's souls. A normal Gu master with 20 years of soul path cultivation could reach 1,000-man soul if they worked hard. But using Guts Gu, Fang Yuan could reach that instantly. Before this cultivation session, Fang Yuan's Soul Foundation was at 3 million-man soul. But after the tempering of Luo Pa wind and bewilderment fog, his Soul Foundation stabilized at million-man soul level. First using Guts Gu to strengthen the soul, before cultivating in Luo Pa Valley to temper the soul like iron and removing impurities. Finally, he would sleep and rest the soul, getting rid of any agitation. These 3 steps repeated would raise Fang Yuan's Soul Foundation like a rocket. Only a short time had passed, but he had already reached million-man soul. The speed was too shocking. When he reaches 100 million-man soul, his soul would turn from phantom to solid. Back then in the Battle of Etion Mountain, Spectral Soul's main body was huge and majestic. Fang Yuan was very enticed to reach such a level. With a stronger Soul Foundation, there was a greater benefit. It was the Immortal Killer move Ghost Official Garment. This move could conceal him from Heaven's will and other Gu Immortals' deductions. The deeper his Soul Foundation, the stronger it became. At this moment, Fang Yuan could feel vividly. The Ghost Official Garment on his soul had thickened. He felt an increased sense of security. As my Soul Foundation grows, I would be able to control more year beasts. I can even control a second immemorial year beast. However, although I can invest effort into increasing my Soul Foundation, those Soul Path killer moves are not worth investing into. There was only one reason. Spectral Soul had been captured by Heavenly Court already. He would definitely get soul searched. That meant that in the future, Heavenly Court would also gain Spectral Soul's true inheritance. By then, it would be easy for them to deduce his killer moves. After this cultivation session, Fang Yuan left Luo Pa Valley. Dang Hun Mountain and Luo Pa Valley. These were the 2 sacred lands of soul cultivation. They were placed in Langya blessed land. Firstly, it was easy to use there. Secondly, secluded domains of heaven and earth required a lot of heaven and earth chi. Fang Yuan's immortal aperture already had reverse flow river. The burden of adding these two was too huge. Once he left Luopa Valley, Fang Yuan saw a snowman girl. Snowman Xue Er greets Lord Fang Yuan. Chapter 1461. Weirdly prosperous, the sovereign immortal aperture was filled with serenity and peace. Because without changes in weather or day and night, this place was completely still. Fang Yuan had rank 7 cultivation level. The sovereign immortal aperture was only a blessed land. There were no weather phenomena in blessed lands. Only at the brink of becoming a grotto heaven would such phenomena emerge. Even without atmospheric changes, the sovereign immortal aperture was not a dead land. It was filled with life. Many northern plains was colder, especially towards the extreme north. There was nothing there. After annexing Handong's blessed land, there was a spirit snake resource point managed by the pink spirit snake land spirit. Other than that, he had the bone burial field with lots of bone immortal materials. And to the south, Fang Yuan was trying to create a blood-red grassland with blood sickle grass and red axe flowers as the foundation, to let those pink flower rabbits, wolves, and foxes live in. In mini central continent, there was a blood-G forest and mirror willow forest. They were grown here casually by Fang Yuan. He did not nurture them purposely. Their scale was not big. There was also a jade light pit that had light path mortal goo. In mini western desert, his focus was on the eerie fire dragon python pit, the sand gull beach, rotten black swamp, rotting swamp, Black Hound Mound, belonged to Lu Yong blessed land, managed by the Black Hound land spirit. There was also a new mortal goo house, Corpse City, which Fang Yuan had obtained from Western Desert's Translocation Desert. Most of the immortal materials inside were traded to 1,000 transformations little was left. In mini Eastern Sea, it was no longer a shallow body of water. It had a trace of an ocean's capacity. Especially the 2 sea areas, Dragonscale Sea Area and Wu Yihai Sea Area. For the former, Fang Yuan had invested a lot of finances and energy into creating this large-scale resource point. And for the latter, after annexing Wu Yihai's blessed land, the sea turtle was managing it for Fang Yuan. There were 3 ancient desolate beast horned divine tortoises, a field of ancient desolate plant silent corals, and 6 desolate beast white letter blue feather seagulls. Other than the 2 sea areas, there was a blood lake. It was not too big. Fang Yuan had used it to repair blood asset Immortal Gu earlier. He had kept it for now. The water of the lake has collected a lot of desolate beast and Gu immortal blood. Below the blood lake, there were many shallow seas, arranged by Fang Yuan specially to raise the air bubble fish, literature carps, jade carps, blood jade carps, and others. There was even an ancient desolate beast hidden room oyster. Fang Yuan had obtained it in Eastern Sea. The secluded domain of heaven and earth, reverse flow river, was also placed here. Mini southern border was the region with the most development among all of them. There was 5 Light Mountain, Immortal Succession Mountain, Become Dragon Mound, Heaven Sealing Mountain, and a dozen other nameless mountains, as well as Coiling Thread Caves and the Stalactite Cave. In the forest and underground, a small number of rockmen were living here. The vegetation included musical trees, tea streams, chi death birds, and others, creating an ecosystem with great vitality. As for the miniature 9 heavens, Mini Red Heaven had a large number of year beasts and that immemorial year monkey. Fang Yuan had been paying attention to Mini Orange Heaven recently. There was the light shine fungi that made the scale of aurora lights expand rapidly, and more flowing light fruits were being nurtured within. Mini Yellow Heaven was very empty. There was only a tiny gold fragment current. Mini Green Heaven was completely empty, but Fang Yuan had placed dream realms in it previously. Mini Azure Heaven had the pill Azure Incense. This was the food of changed soul, Immortal Gu. Fang Yuan had stored a batch in here last time. There was also a heavenly crystal storage pool. It was at the center of Mini Azure Heaven, but it was useless. Mini Blue Heaven had the most development among the miniature 9 heavens. There was a lot of cloud soil here, with lots of star path resources planted here, like Arrow Bamboo Forest and the Star Fragment Grass Field, Meteorite Pit, and a huge floating star fragment island. It was Yi Lui Kun Xing's blessed land. Fang Yuan had annexed it with the Star Core land spirit managing the place. There was also a falling star hound infant living here. It was very lonely, but it would clash with other desolate beasts and ancient desolate beasts elsewhere. After keeping it here, Fang Yuan rarely took care of it. In Mini Purple Heaven, there were groups of eagles. These eagles were desolate beasts and also ancient desolate beasts. Fang Yuan had sold Immortal Gu during the Dream Realm incident to purchase them. They had helped him to enslave the upper extreme heavenly eagle to survive the danger. They were extremely useful. Fang Yuan had wanted to sell them, but he could definitely not get Immortal Gu with them. It would be a huge loss. And since he took more than 80 eagle nests from He Tribe's headquarters, he could raise these eagles in them, even though it was not as amazing as the heavenly crystal eagle nest. In the remaining 2 heavens, Mini White Heaven had an eagle hound group, 3 ancient remnant heavenly dogs, and the plantation field of multicolored overlord flowers. Mini Black Heaven had no light at all. It was a special environment. There were only a few ancient desolate plant walking meat trees there. After collating all these assets, Fang Yuan was already on par with some rank 8 Gu Immortals. But for the size of the entire Immortal aperture, these resources were too little. The reason? The sovereign Immortal aperture was simply too large. In the 335,000 square kilometers of space, these resources only occupied a small amount of space. And in terms of the entire sovereign Immortal aperture's development, assuming 100% of the space could be used, Fang Yuan was merely slightly above 3% now. 3% development. This was naturally not bad, it was a good thing. The sovereign Immortal aperture had unparalleled prospects, but from another perspective, Fang Yuan had no confidence in when he would reach 100% development. This would be a huge task. He would need an extremely huge amount of time. Throughout history, Gu Immortals had created an evaluation of Immortal aperture development. There were 7 levels. The first level was establishing mortal resources to produce mortal Gu materials, and ordinary beasts and plants. These resources were in huge scales. Mortals could only raise 5 to 6 mortal Gu at a time, but Gu Immortals raised millions of mortal Gu at once. Fang Yuan even sold more than 100 million year Gu earlier. The second level was to create Immortal level resources and produce Immortal materials. When this level is accomplished, the Gu Immortal will be able to produce food for their Immortal Gu self-sufficiently. The third level was to create an ecology to raise Immortal beasts and plants. The fourth level was to use excess Immortal materials, beasts, and plants to trade and earn profits. Looking at this, Fang Yuan was at the fourth level because he had a lot of business that were doing well to earn him lots of profits. Earlier in the year Gu business, Fang Yuan used his great strength to dominate the market and treasure Yellow Heaven. The 3 sellers were completely helpless against him. But from another perspective, I am still at the second level, because I have not reached self-sufficiency in feeding my Immortal Gu. Fang Yuan knew why. He had simply too many Immortal Gu. Rank 8. Attitude, Wisdom Sword, years flow like water. Rank 7. Sword Eyebrows, Wave Sword, Flying Sword, Sword Escape, Year, After, Divination Tortoise Shell, Dragon Breath, Dragon Scale, Precaution, Big, Fight, Affection, Self-Love, Perseverance, Reputation Restriction, Changed Soul, Bloodline, Dragon, Strength, Formation Flag, and others. Rank 6. Self-Strength, Pulling Mountain, Pulling Water, Strength Chi, Spring Autumn Cicada, Landscape as Before, Man as Before, Day, Unravel Mystery, Vajra Thought, Dog Shit Luck, Chi Luck, Woman's Heart, Blood Asset, Change Form, Star Eyes, Perceivable Tao, Yellow Sand, Cleanse Soul, Luck Inspection, Connect Luck, Time Luck, Star Thought, and others. For the last 4 including Luck Inspection, Fang Yuan had owned them before, but after the Battle of Etion Mountain, due to Change Soul, Xue Er took them away. Fang Yuan used his special will to destroy a few, but Xue Er managed to preserve some of them in the end. Furthermore, there were some Wisdom Path Immortal Gu that Purple Mountain True Monarch left him, and the Time Path Immortal Gu that made up a portion of Graceful Chaotic Dual Stage. They would not be specified. Just counting these, there were more than 50. A shocking number. Most Gu Immortals were still desperately trying to find an Immortal Gu. In the Gu Immortal world, there were the most number of rank 6 Gu Immortals, and most of them had no Immortal Gu at all. Among the rank 7 and rank 8 Gu Immortals, some had 2 or 3 Immortal Gu, while others had 5 to 6. But there was a rule. Rank 6 Gu Immortals desire rank 6 Immortal Gu, rank 7 Gu Immortals desire rank 7 Immortal Gu, and rank 8 Gu Immortals desire rank 8 Immortal Gu, while rank 9 Venerables wanted rank 9 Immortal Gu. But Fang Yuan? He had more than 50 Immortal Gu. They encompassed rank 6, rank 7, and rank 8. And this was excluding Calamity Beckoning lent to Chu Du, Wisdom Gu in Langya Blessed Land, and Dark Limit Immortal Gu taken by Heavenly Court. There was also the Formation Spirit. It was created by an Immortal Gu. Fang Yuan's situation was too special. An otherworldly demon who had reborn, the hope of Red Lotus Demon Venerable, a former pawn of Heaven's Will, and the current leader of Shadow Sect having countless true inheritances. Even though the journey was dangerous and filled with despair, one had to say, immense risk brought about immense benefits. Fang Yuan was weirdly prosperous now. Because of countless fortuitous encounters, he had the economic foundation of level 4 development, but he had not fulfilled the requirement of level 2. Feeding Immortal Gu had always been a huge burden and problem to him. But now, after so much hard work, I have finally gotten some hope of resolving this problem. Rank 9 Wisdom Gu is fed by the profligate Langya Land Spirit, and I have already solved the problem of food for the 3 rank 8 Immortal Gu. Next, I will complete my basic development and solve the feeding problem of the rank 6 and 7 Immortal Gu to reach self-sufficiency. Looking at it, Fang Yuan still did not have enough Immortal Essence stones. Marriage connection with the snowman? Fang Yuan pondered. When Xue Er brought him the Snow Lotus Essence, she also expressed the intention of a marriage connection. These variant humans spoke outrightly and directly. If I work by myself to solve the food issue, it will take a long time. But if I use the snowman, my progress will be rapid. What I lack most now is time. I am not against a marriage connection with the snowman. Chapter 1462. Langya missions on Danghun Mountain. There were guts Gu everywhere. Fang Yuan picked them along the way as he strengthened his soul. His soul foundation started to increase. After a while, from 1 million man soul, it rose to 5 million man soul level. Fang Yuan felt an extremely bloated feeling, like he was going to burst. Fang Yuan knew he was at his limit. He left Danghun Mountain and came to Luopa Valley. After some cultivation, his soul was refined like tempered steel. It became purer and more condensed. After this, his soul foundation stabilized at 1,500,000 man soul. After million man soul, each cultivation session raises it by 500,000 man soul. Including the time needed to rest my soul and the production of guts Gu, I need half a year to reach 10 million man soul. Fang Yuan estimated and frowned. This was too slow for him. 10 years. After 10 years, Heavenly Court would completely repair Fate Immortal Gu. By then, Heavenly Court would have the absolute advantage. Fang Yuan and Shadow Sect would have no hope. He needed half a year out of 10 years to reach 10 million man soul. There was also 100 million man soul and higher levels after that. Fang Yuan was not satisfied with the speed. If I can increase the production of guts Gu, I could increase my cultivation speed even further. The production of guts Gu was limiting his soul foundation growth. Danghun Mountain was undoubtedly his money tree, but it needed good quality souls to produce more guts Gu endlessly. According to the agreement back then, a portion of these guts Gu belonged to Langya Sect. Langya Land Spirit had to sell them for profits, with a portion of the revenue going to Fang Yuan. Right now, Fang Yuan was using a portion of the guts Gu to cultivate his soul path. It caused his revenue to fall sharply in this business. But thankfully, the Year Gu business earlier earned him a lot. Fang Yuan had a lot of funds left now. Fang Yuan assessed it. It was not wise to negotiate with Langya Land Spirit now to increase his portion of the guts Gu production. Because he needed Langya Sect now, be it staying inside Langya Blessed Land to develop or using them to refine Gu. In the batch of Immortal Gu refinement earlier, the 3 Immortal Gu were extremely useful to Fang Yuan. They were now at the second batch of Gu refinement, focusing on Mortal Gu like the White Lotus Giant Silkworm Gu and 2 Immortal Gu. One was Heavenly Secret. It was created by Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable and was obtained by Old Man Yanshur. He created an immortal killer move with it, known as Exposing Heavenly Secret. This move had a mystical effect. It could predict the contents of the following calamity or tribulation. If Langya Sect could refine Heavenly Secret Immortal Gu, Fang Yuan would be able to use Exposing Heavenly Secret. It would help him in undergoing tribulations tremendously. However, placing a mission for Langya Sect to refine Immortal Gu has been depleting my sect contribution points. I need to check this. Thus, after the soul cultivation ended, Fang Yuan used his information path Mortal Gu to check Langya Sect's missions. Undoubtedly, the current Langya Land Spirit was far more suited for managing Langya Sect than the previous Land Spirit. Under his management, the entire sect was excavating its potential fully. They were bursting with life. At this moment, Langya Sect had many missions. Most of them were the Gu refinement missions that Fang Yuan handed out. Below that, the one of great importance was the exploration of Tai Chio. Ever since Langya Sect created the teleportation formation, it had been exploring Tai Chio and excavating the natural resources within. This was the main development route that Langya Sect was taking. But Tai Chio was a dangerous place. Ordinary Gu immortals did not want to enter it. Even though there were abundant resources, fierce beasts and dangerous plants grew inside. And the problem was, Langya Sect's Gu immortals were skilled at refinement but weak at fighting. Even though they had been raising their strength recently, there were few who could fight. Thus, when they encountered overly strong beasts or plants, these hairy man Gu immortals would be in trouble. The exploration of Tai Chio was unsuccessful. Seeing these missions, countless thoughts moved about in Fang Yuan's mind rapidly. In a few breaths of time, he chose over a dozen missions with the highest returns. At the next moment, he accepted all of these missions. First Supreme Elder. Fang Yuan communicated with Langya Land Spirit using the information path Mortal Gu. Langya Land Spirit learned of Fang Yuan's actions as he said in joy. Fang Yuan, with your strength, these missions will be extremely easy. But Fang Yuan shook his head. This is what I wanted to discuss with you. I want to send my subordinates to deal with these missions for me. This does not go against Langya Sect's rules, right? Lang Yuan spirit was slightly dazed. He did not think of this when he created the sect rules. Speaking of which, this was not a loophole. Why couldn't the Gu Immortal who accepted the mission be allowed to get help? Lang Yuan spirit replied to Fang Yuan. Then you need to ensure that these subordinates will not harm Lang Yu's sect. Fang Yuan smiled. Of course. After communicating with Lang Yuan spirit, Fang Yuan started to dispatch the members of Shadow Sect. Hei Lu Lan, Ing Wu Xie, Fairy Miao Yin, and Lady White Rabbit. It was a waste to let them idle around. Now, they could be fully utilized. Eventually, even Bai Ningbing joined in. Because from her perspective, she allied with Fang Yuan to regain her male body. She needed to refine Immortal level yin-yang rotation Gu. But when she realized that Fang Yuan was relying on Lang Yu's sect to refine Gu, she turned her attention to Lang Yu's sect. Regretfully, Lang Yu's sect did not trust the outsider Bai Ningbing. Fang Yuan also secretly disrupted their communication, causing Bai Ningbing to be forced to rely on him. She was Fang Yuan's ally. He had no rights to order her, but why would Fang Yuan waste her battle strength? Under Fang Yuan's special negotiation, Bai Ningbing believed Fang Yuan. As long as she killed more beasts and plants, she would obtain the sect contribution points that Fang Yuan was getting for them. He would use them to place a sect mission to refine yin-yang rotation Immortal Gu. Several days later, Sovereign Immortal Aperture, many northern plains. Large pieces of round snowflakes were descending from the sky. This special snowflake was pure white with the size of an adult's palm. This was rank 6 Immortal Material Dancing Snow. It was formed naturally and would not melt as long as the temperature was kept at a certain level. It would always stay afloat. Even if it landed to the ground, it would fly upwards instead. Fang Yuan inspected and saw no problems, he thought. These days, I finally finished arranging the snowman's betrothal gift. This project has been completed. The snowman wanted to have a marriage connection with Fang Yuan. Xue Er would not come empty-handed, of course. She brought a gift. The main portion was the snow lotus essence. This was a specialty immortal material of the snowman. It was rare in treasure yellow heaven. Fang Yuan obtained quite a bit of it, as he stored it in many northern plains. The second highest quantity was the dancing snow. It was coincidentally a rank 6 wisdom path Immortal Gu's food. Fang Yuan could feed it 4 to 5 times with this batch. The difficulty of feeding rank 6 Immortal Gu was very different from feeding rank 8 Immortal Gu. This was a small surprise. Fang Yuan did not need to waste his effort going to treasure yellow heaven to purchase dancing snow. Other than that, there were some resources that were not so useful. Fang Yuan sold some and kept some. He perfectly utilized them. This is too little. If I can get more resources, my Immortal Aperture's development will be even faster. Since the snowmen want a marriage connection with me, just these gifts are insufficient. Fang Yuan sneered inside. He accepted all of the gifts, but did not respond directly to the snowman's request for a marriage connection. When the guts Gu accumulated to a certain scale, Fang Yuan started his soul path cultivation again. Day after day, he immersed himself in cultivation. His soul foundation was growing at a rapid rate. Other than soul path, he even used the light of wisdom to modify killer moves. He had a great number of killer moves. They involved almost all paths. He needed to modify the useful killer moves from within them so that he could use them with his available Immortal Gu. This would greatly increase his methods and battle strength. Fang Yuan was deep in cultivation, while Shadow Sect's members were exploring Tai Chio and fighting. Sixth Hair and Lang Yuan Spirit were refining Immortal Gu for Fang Yuan. Almost everyone was busy with their goals, but Xue Er became the most anxious one now. This beauty of the Snowman tribe had an important mission from the Snowmen, but Fang Yuan took the gifts without even seeing her. She was left hanging here without any attention given. Xue Er had asked to meet Fang Yuan several times, but she was only a rank 6 Gu Immortal, while Fang Yuan had rank 8 battle strength. The two of them were too different in strength, and because he was in Lang Yu blessed land, Fang Yuan rejected her each time. This way, Xue Er could not meet him. She felt extremely dispirited. The worry and anger on her face became deeper each day. On this day, the snowman sent her a letter to rush her again, but Xue Er had hope now. Because the snowman tribe saw that Xue Er was making no progress, they discussed among themselves. They came to a consensus. Since Fang Yuan accepted the gifts, he wanted the marriage connection. But why did he not meet Xue Er? It was because the gifts were not enough for his high status. Thus, the snowman gathered some more gifts and sent it along with the letter to Xue Er. What is this? I am the pride of the snowmen. My beauty is renowned. This time, I requested for a marriage connection and even brought sufficient gifts. But it was not enough to meet him even once. With heavy emotions, Xue Er requested to meet Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan finally met her. But what he said to her was something out of her expectations. Fang Yuan looked down toward Xue Er. She was young and beautiful. She was tall and vibrant. She had blue eyes and hair. She had the icy trait of her variant human race. Her tender skin and plump chest would make countless men pay attention towards her. She was undoubtedly the #1 beauty of the snowman tribe. But Fang Yuan was unmoved by her beauty. Not just that, he even found trouble with her. This is the sincerity of the snowman? Xue Er could not understand what Fang Yuan meant. She quickly said, Lord Fang Yuan, please do not misunderstand. Such a small gift, and you want to have a marriage connection with me? Your tribe is dreaming if they think it is so easy to gain help equivalent to that of a rank 8. Fang Yuan sneered. Xue Er was dazed. Fang Yuan spoke so plainly she could not accept it. She also felt some shame and anger in her heart. She was the cream of her generation, the publicly recognized #1 beauty. She was bringing gifts to request for a marriage connection. She was lowering her head and status. To think that Fang Yuan was so prideful and looked down on her, he was also extremely greedy, thinking that the snowman gift was insincere. How could it be little? The gift was very precious. The snowman tribe had picked all of it from their inventory specially for Fang Yuan. Originally, Xue Er had a good impression of Fang Yuan. After all, he had incredible talent and had rank 8 battle strength. It was an achievement that not many could attain. But now, her impression of him became rock bottom. With her temper, she would have left long ago. But now, it was not about her alone. She was tasked by her tribe for this important mission. Xue Er breathed in deeply, asking, Lord Fang Yuan, you have already taken 2 sets of gifts. I am sure you agree to our marriage connection. If you are unhappy with the gifts, you can give us your requests. I will bring them back for our elders to discuss. Fang Yuan had prepared the list long ago. An information path Immortal Gu flew out of him and went to Xue Er. Xue Er took a look and her eyes popped out. Fang Yuan's greed was too shocking. But even when she was shocked, she was very beautiful. Her eyes were wide open. Even though she lost a portion of her coolness, she became quite cute. Not just this list. Fang Yuan added, you have other requests? Xue Er had an unsightly expression as she held down her anger. But Fang Yuan was confident and unabashed. He spoke matter-of-factly. If your tribe can meet my requirements, that would be enough. But you yourself have not expressed enough sincerity. My sincerity? Fang Yuan raised his head as he smiled. Not just anyone can become my wife, Fang Yuan's wife. Even though the snowman recommended you, your qualifications will depend on my test. Test? Xue Er gritted her teeth. Please explain to me, Lord Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan said, go to Tai Chiu and collect souls for me. When you leave, someone will arrange it for you. Xue Er felt anguished. How could a genius like her be treated in such a cold manner? But due to the mission from her sect, she had to nod and agree. Seeing Xue Er leave, Fang Yuan pondered deeply. With this arrangement, he could make use of Xue Er's battle strength. There would be another person helping him cultivate faster. But that was not important. He was actually trying to probe them. Accepting the second gift while expressing his displeasure and wanting to test Xue Er, he showed his pride fully. This was to test the bottom line of the snowman. Since they wanted a marriage connection, how much determination did they have? Or rather, the higher their determination, the more benefits Fang Yuan could squeeze out from them. Fang Yuan was not anxious. A marriage connection could not be decided in such a short time. Both sides were not familiar with each other yet. Even though Fang Yuan was probing them, the snowmen were also probing Fang Yuan. But Fang Yuan was sure that there were benefits to be gained here. The marriage connection was not the main thing. Fang Yuan quickly set it aside and placed his attention on his cultivation. Soul cultivation was one aspect. Managing his immortal aperture was another. Other than that, Fang Yuan also used the light of wisdom to modify his killer moves. Fang Yuan's strongest method was undoubtedly Immortal Killer Move Reverse Flow Protection Seal, but he was not modifying that now. Even though this move was not safe against Heavenly Court now, Fang Yuan was in no immediate danger. Not only was he in Northern Plains, he was also inside Langya Blessed Land. He had the concealment of Ghost Soldier Garment. Heavenly Court could not find him in the meantime. And there was another reason. Modifying Reverse Flow Protection Seal would take too much time. It was too slow. Fang Yuan thought about it and decided to modify Purple Mountain True Monarch's Wisdom Path killer moves. Why did he choose those? Firstly, these killer moves were very powerful and exceptional. Secondly, Fang Yuan had Grandmaster Wisdom Path attainment level. He was qualified to modify them. Finally, Fang Yuan had a batch of Wisdom Path Immortal Gu with him. They were left behind by Purple Mountain True Monarch. Purple Blood River Formation, Purple Thought Light Shield, Ignited Thought Flying Rock, Single Thought Flower Blossom, Purple Thought Perception Starlight, Directional Confusion Fog, Thought Body Defense, Single Thought Myriad Flow Elimination, and others. When Purple Mountain True Monarch was not in his peak condition, he used these methods to face Duke Long. Who was Duke Long? He was the master of Red Lotus. He had a huge background and unparalleled battle strength. He was at the peak of rank 8. When Fang Yuan was modifying his killer moves, Ing Wuxia approached Xue Er. You are Xue Er? Ing Wuxia asked. Xue Er saw that Xue Er was smaller in stature than her, resembling a young girl. He had pale snow-like skin. He was wearing a flowery green dress. There were 2 pearl earrings hanging on his ears, as if water was inside the pearls. There were green ripples inside when they shook. Xue was in Fairy Chui Bo's body. He was very enchanting. If not so, Thousand Transformations' ancestor would not have made her his 3rd concubine and adored her deeply. Who is this beautiful immortal? What relationship does she have with Fang Yuan? This is not in our tribe's information, and she is a rank 7 Gu immortal. Xue Er had lots of suspicions, but she smiled. I am Xue Er, beautiful sister. May I know what your name is? Xue frowned. He was initially very excited about using Fairy Chui Bo's body, but after a while, he felt like it was getting very uncomfortable. Not long ago, he requested to Fang Yuan to change this body. Even if he changed to a rank 6 body, it was fine as long as he could cultivate soul path. Don't call me sister. You can call me brother Wuxia. Wuxia waved his hand. Let's go. I will bring you to Tai Chiu and meet up with them. This is sect leader's test to you. We will see who obtains higher quality souls in the same period of time. Yes. Xue Er quickly answered, but she had many questions in her. She walked at the back as she stared at Wuxia, thinking, this female immortal is so weird. She wants me to call her brother? The 2 left Langya blessed land and reached Tai Chiu using the teleportation Gu formation. Once they entered Tai Chiu, Xue Er felt nervous. After all, this was a famous place in northern plains for its danger level. At the same time, she felt uneasy towards the test. She only had rank 6 cultivation level, and her investigative methods were her forte. Come with me, quick. Time is very precious. We need to treasure every moment and use it to cultivate. We need to continue working hard. That is the true meaning of life. Wuxia continued to nag at Xue Er. He was very determined. This was the effect of a mortal killer moves soaring fighting spirit. Xue Er felt that Wuxia was really weird. She was so beautiful, but she acted like a rash lad. It was unimaginable. But are we too careless by flying like this? Xue Er was worried. This was Tai Chiu. Fierce beasts roamed everywhere. Danger was everywhere. Flying around openly like this made them open targets. While flying, Xue Er felt very nervous. She was afraid of a fierce beast assaulting her out of nowhere. But after flying for a while, her worry did not become real. In fact, her worry was fading. She felt deeply shocked internally. The area around the teleportation formation has been cleared by Langya's sect and is in their control. They have actually explored Tai Chiu to this extent. It seems that Langya's sect's strength surpasses my tribe's estimations. Xue Er immediately sent this information back to the snowman. Oh, there are a group of dragon elephants. Suddenly, Xue Er said. Wuxia, who was traveling with her, looked with surprise. He thought that this woman had some of her own worth. Wuxia's methods only found those dragon elephants a few breaths of time after Xue Er. Shadow Sect's investigative methods were naturally superior to Xue Er's, but in Wuxia's current body, those methods were restricted. These dragon elephants are needed by sect leader. Let's capture them. Wuxia changed his flying direction. Xue Er was not surprised, because she had looked at Fang Yuan's list. There were dragon elephants listed on it. This group of dragon elephants was quite ordinary. There were only 2 or 3 desolate-level dragon elephants. Wuxia quickly landed as he used his soul path immortal killer move. His soul howl reverberated among the dragon elephant group as they all fainted and fell unconscious. An impressive technique. Xue Er was slightly shocked, but a new question arose within. She is water path aura. Why is she using a soul path method? Wuxia was most skilled in lead soul into dream, but the Gu worms to construct this move were kept by Fang Yuan. Only a few soul path immortal Gu were left for Wuxia. Thus, his main methods were soul path. Wuxia kept these dragon elephants in his immortal aperture as he continued on the journey with Xue Er. A moment later, they met with He Lulan, another great beauty. Xue Er first frowned before her brows relaxed. She observed secretly. Compared to Wuxia, this person only has rank 6 cultivation level. She is the same as me. Xue Er let out a sigh of relief inside. Xue Er was a talented descendant of the Snowman tribe. She was a genius, but the Snowman tribe undoubtedly had little resources. Xue Er was able to become rank 6 at such an age. It was quite incredible. But after meeting with Wuxia, she could not match this rank 7. Although she showed nothing on the surface, she felt great pressure in her heart. Now that she saw a rank 6 immortal, her heavy heart became slightly lighter. Hi, you can call me Xue Er. Xue Er first introduced herself. She felt that she should be friendly to the people under Fang Yuan to create a good relationship with them. Hello, you can call me Lulan. He Lulan smiled. Her gaze flickered as she assessed Xue Er subtly. She thought, Snowman Gu Immortal? Why did she approach us? Fang Yuan, what is he thinking? The snowman wanted a marriage connection with Fang Yuan. He did not inform anyone other than Xue Er. Thus, He Lulan only knew that Fang Yuan wanted the Shadow Sect Immortals to take Xue Er along and work together in the meantime to explore Taichio. Alright, now that you've done the introductions, let's leave first. Xue Er said. He took out an information path Gu worm and used his method to learn about Fairy Miao Yin's and Lady White Rabbit's location. He Lulan, go ahead with your work. I will bring Xue Er to the others. Seeing the two of them leave, He Lulan had a thought. Her instincts told her that Xue Er joined them very suddenly and mysteriously. Her goal was not simple. He Lulan was an ambitious person. Even though she was under the alliance agreement and lost her freedom, she had been wanting to break free of Fang Yuan's control all along. Who would not want freedom? Wait, I'll go with you. I am in charge of finding the sharp-tusked boars, but I can't find any. I will ask Miao Yin to help me find them. He Lulan said as she flew towards them. Xue Er was very happy. She wanted to get closer to He Lulan. He Lulan also wanted to probe information from her. She acted very warmly and kindly. Thus, with Xue Er at the lead, Xue Er and He Lulan traveled together behind him. Elder Sister Lulan, I am very happy to meet you. Not long later, Xue Er addressed He Lulan as elder sister, placing herself at a lower status. This dumb woman. He Lulan snorted in her heart. She was once the victor of the Imperial Court contest. She had a deep hatred and lived with difficulty under her father's shadow. She was skilled at scheming. Compared to her, Xue Er lived peacefully in the Snowman tribe. Due to her past, she was quite innocent in nature. He Lulan soon found that Xue Er wanted to know about the Shadow Sect Immortals desperately. She made use of Xue Er's intention. She exposed some useful information while probing her. Xue Er was guarded, of course, but she could not match He Lulan's scheming. Just as she was about to expose herself, Xue Er interjected. Isn't that a sharp tusk boar? He Lulan, you are very lucky. You will not need to owe Miao Yin a favor now. Following Xue Er's direction, Xue Er indeed saw an ancient desolate beast. It was huge and had bulky muscles. It was lying on the ground as it slept. It had a powerful aura. Xue Er's heart jumped. With her battle strength, she was not the sharp-tusked boar's match. He Lulan was interrupted. She felt angry, but she could not retort to Xue Er. She snorted and flew towards the sharp-tusked boar. Sister Lulan, be careful. Xue Er said in concern. She praised in her heart. This Sister Lulan that she had just met was really courageous. But with her rank 6 cultivation level, how could she deal with the sharp-tusked boar? She had to rely on this fairy Chui bow after all. But the following scene made Xue Er completely stunned. He Lulan was even fiercer than the sharp-tusked boar. When she fought, her aura changed instantly. She was blazing in flames. Her heaven-blazing flames were terrifyingly powerful. Rank 6 Immortal Gu. Rank 7. Immortal Gu. So many Immortal Gu. Xue Er watched the battle and her eyelids twitched. She saw how rich He Lulan was. He Lulan had obtained Blazing Heaven Demoness Inheritance and Immortal Gu. Fang Yuan did not take them since he had enough Immortal Gu. Leaving them for He Lulan would allow her to fight effectively and obtain more souls. Under He Lulan's terrifying attacks, the sharp-tusked boar was first furious before going into a frenzy and escaping after losing. Xue Er was very shocked. He Lulan exploded with battle strength that was on par with rank 7 experts. It was out of Xue Er's expectations. Sister Lulan is so strong. Her immortal killer moves are so powerful and overwhelming. But she clearly has strength path aura. Why is she using fire path methods? Mixed in with her shock was suspicion. Xue Er did not understand. Fairy Chui Bo had water path aura, but she used soul path methods. And now this He Lulan was a strength path Gu immortal, but used fire path instead. Alright, let's continue. A moment later, He Lulan collected the sharp tusk boar corpse, including its ancient desolate soul as well. Sister Lulan, you are amazing. Xue Er looked at He Lulan with an incredulous gaze. He Lulan shook her head. This is nothing. No, you are really amazing. You have rank 6 Gu immortal cultivation level, but rank 7 battle strength. This is not achievable by normal Gu immortals. Xue Er waved her hands. He Lulan smiled bitterly. This is really nothing. In Shadow Sect, I am very ordinary. Xue Er heard He Lulan's reply, and her heart jumped. He Lulan, when you see them, you will understand. Let's go. He Lulan had completed her mission, but she did not return directly. She decided to find the other Shadow Sect Gu immortals with Xue Er. A while later, they successfully met up with Fairy Miao Yin and Lady White Rabbit. Lady White Rabbit had rank 6 cultivation level normally. She did not have He Lulan's battle strength. It was dangerous for her to explore Taichio alone. Thus, Fang Yuan let her and Fairy Miao Yin work together. Of course, when she became Black Tigress, her cultivation level and battle strength would rise to rank 7. However, Her black tiger state was unstable and could not last long. It had its drawbacks. Hello, Xue Er. Fairy Meow Yin smiled kindly. You are a snowman Gu Immortal? This is the first time I am seeing one. Lady White Rabbit said faintly. What situation is this? Xue Er was suspicious and depressed. Fairy Meow Yin was a publicly recognized fairy in Southern Borders Gu Immortal world. She had a beautiful body and alluring face. She wore a pinkish-red dress and looked extremely enchanting. As for Lady White Rabbit, she had pale white skin and huge innocent eyes. She was completely pure. Her aura was different from Fairy Meow Yin. Even at first glance, Xue Er felt that she was very cute. She had a feeling of adoration and trust towards her. Xue Er analyzed closely. She found that Fairy Meow Yin had rank 7 cultivation level, while Lady White Rabbit had rank 6, similar to her. But after the matter of Hey Lu Lan, Xue Er no longer dared to look at Lady White Rabbit as an ordinary rank 6 Gu Immortal. The Gu Immortals conversed for a while. Everyone was very kind and warm to Xue Er, but they were naturally curious about her. Xue Er was very tight-lipped. It was not that she became scheming, but because there were many people who were all beauties, Xue Er felt incredibly pressured. Why was she here? To have a marriage connection with Fang Yuan. Now, she had to proclaim herself as Fang Yuan's future wife in front of so many people. Wasn't that just provoking them? Wasn't she too shameless? At the same time, a question pressed down on Xue Er like a mountain. What relationship do these female immortals have with Fang Yuan? Actually, Fang Yuan had a clear and simple relationship with them. But Xue Er was an outsider. She could not help but assume wrong things the first time she met them. This was not strange. It was normal mentality. All right, you have already met us Shadow Sect Gu Immortals. Other than us, there is one final person, a special one. Xue said. Special. Xue Er's heart tensed. She wanted to ask, special as in the relationship they have with Fang Yuan? Are they a male or a female? But Xue Er did not ask directly, as Xue continued to speak. This person is by Ning Bing. She is not a member of Shadow Sect, but she is our ally. We have fought together. Even though she only has rank 6 cultivation level, among us, she has the highest battle strength. Xue hesitated a little at the final sentence, but the other Gu Immortals said nothing about it. Hey Lulan's battle strength was weaker than Bai Ningbing. After all, great strength true martial physique was incompatible with a fire path inheritance. Fairy Miao Yin's battle strength was about the same as Hey Lulan. Lady White Rabbit could be disregarded. As for after becoming Black Tigress, she would be vicious but lacking in methods. Originally, Xue had the highest battle strength, but his reliance was on Li's soul into Dream, whose immortal Gu have been taken by Fang Yuan. Thus, by Ning Bing, who inherited by Xiang's true inheritance and had the Northern Dark Ice Soul physique, was the strongest among them. Even stronger than Sister Lulan? Xue Er could not believe it. Hey Lulan said, I merely have mid-tier battle strength among us. Xue Er opened her eyes in shock, thinking, my heavens, why are there a bunch of monsters here? Rank 6 cultivation level, but having the highest battle strength. Who exactly is this person? How high is their battle talent? Now let us bring you there. I told you these things in advance so you can take note. She has a different relationship with us. Xue continued to lead the way. Soon, they arrived at Bai Ningbing's location. Boom, boom, boom. Intense explosions resounded in the immortals' ears like thunder. Roar. Next, the immortals heard a loud and pitiful sound that resembled the cry of a dying beast. This is. When the immortals arrived, Xue Er was shocked to see that Bai Ningbing was alone in the battlefield. Around her was a ring of ancient, desolate beasts. All of you came at a right time. I found a good place. Bai Ningbing stopped the killer move by Xiang as she went towards the immortals. Xue Er was greatly shocked. So beautiful. Bai Ningbing's beauty and aura was simply breathtaking. Even the genius Xue Er was shaken, she thought. There is such a beautiful person that exists. If she knew that Bai Ningbing was a male turned into a female, who knew how she would feel? Xue Er thought, why is Fang Yuan surrounded by so many beauties? And they are such talented people. Now wonder he thinks little of me. Langya blessed land, cloud cover continent. Fang Yuan was alone, in a huge field of cloud soil. Taking in a deep breath, he calmed his mind and started to use his immortal killer move. Ignited thought flying rock. Fang Yuan called in his mind. His eyes flickered with crystal purple light. Thoughts clashed in his mind as small rocks resembling charcoal appeared around his body. These rocks seemed to be burning in flames, but they had no heat. Go! Fang Yuan willed as the rocks floating around his body shot out. The rocks tore through the sky, but there was silence during the attack. At the same time, these rocks expanded and became larger, turning from thumb size to basin size in a moment. Next, they expanded to the size of horse carriages. The rocks became giant rocks. The surface was blazing with red flames. The blazing rocks numbered from hundreds to thousands. At once, the entire sky was dyed red. Next, the blazing rocks landed on the cloud soil and created a field of flames that had neither heat nor made a sound. These were not real blazing rocks. They were formed from thoughts in actuality. This was Purple Mountain True Monarch's main attacking method. Ignited Thought Flying Rock. It could burn the target's thoughts. There was a consecutive move with it, called Single Thought Flower Blossom. After the blazing rocks exploded, Fang Yuan pointed with the index finger of his right hand. Instantly, the flames extinguished as flowers bloomed in the pits created. Countless flowers were fighting to emerge and blossom. The flowers were vibrant and colorful. The surrounding area was dyed by a multicolored field of rainbow flowers. It is a pity my target is not a Gu immortal, but this cloud soil without thoughts. These flowers are useless and exist only as decorations. Fang Yuan willed as the flowers vanished instantly. Fang Yuan's body shook. Immortal killer move, single thought, endless clones. Instantly, he was surrounded by countless figures. Initially, there were only a few dozen purple silhouettes, but after a few breaths' time, they had grown to the number of several 100,000. Meanwhile, Fang Yuan's true body was concealed within them. He could not be found without a powerful investigative killer move. This move was very similar to Fang Yuan's own original tactic. That was to use Myriad Self and Familiar Face to act as one of the Strength Path Phantoms, concealing himself to become indiscernible. Purple Mountain True Monarch's move was superior in that it was just one move, but had the effect of Fang Yuan's two moves, Myriad Self and Familiar Face. Therefore, it expended less immortal essence. There was another advantage. The speed of the purple silhouettes grew at a faster rate than the Strength Path Phantoms. But the disadvantage was that these purple silhouettes did not have offensive power, they were purely for concealment. Meanwhile, the Strength Path Phantoms had offensive power themselves. Fang Yuan stopped using single-thought endless clones as he stretched out both palms, pushing out a wave of fog. This was Immortal Killer Move Directional Confusion Fog. It could make Gu immortals lose their sense of direction. Next, Fang Yuan used Thought Body Defense, Single Thought Myriad Flow Elimination, and others. He got familiar with them and used them successfully. He placed his focus towards the end. Immortal Killer Move, Purple Thought Perception Starlight. This move was the most complex, but it had a powerful and incredible effect. It could allow the user to learn about the profundities of the enemy's killer move with every hit and continuously gain information about them. Once they collect enough information, Fang Yuan would be able to use Wisdom Path methods to deal with the enemy's killer move during the battle itself. Next, the Immortal Killer Move Brilliant Will Dissolution would be used to unravel the enemy's killer move and attain victory. Fang Yuan tried to use it. Purple Thought Perception Starlight was indeed filled with many steps. Fang Yuan only succeeded after 3 tries. During this process, he suffered injuries. But with man as before, Fang Yuan was not afraid of such injuries. After these days of practicing, I have already grasped most of Purple Mountain True Monarch's methods. Fang Yuan thought. At this time, half a month had already passed since Xue Er approached him. During these days, Fang Yuan mainly cultivated Soul Path to increase his soul foundation. Right now, he had 10 million man soul already. The Immortal Aperture's development was progressing smoothly and steadily. Other than this, he was practicing killer moves. Killer moves needed practice, because each activation carried a risk. If the activation failed, one would be causing harm to themselves. Fang Yuan had countless inheritances and had a vast number of killer moves. However, the foundation of killer moves were Immortal Gu. Fang Yuan decided to first train Purple Mountain True Monarch's Wisdom Path killer moves. Purple Mountain True Monarch was a first-generation split soul purple. His methods could contest Duke Long. They were naturally very powerful. Furthermore, before his death, he left most of his Wisdom Path Immortal Gu to Fang Yuan. Thus, Fang Yuan had the foundation to use Purple Mountain True Monarch's Immortal Killer moves. Of course, he did not have all of Purple Mountain True Monarch's Immortal Gu. There were quite some missing. But it was not a problem for Fang Yuan. With his Grandmaster Wisdom Path attainment level, and the most important light of wisdom to rely on, he could rapidly modify killer moves. Right now, the Wisdom Path killer moves that he was using were modified to some extent. After this session, Fang Yuan went to Wisdom Gu. He sat beside Wisdom Gu and bathed in the light of wisdom, thinking and concluding his gains from this training session. Every time after practice, he would think about the experience and use his gains to modify the killer moves even further. The creation of many killer moves relied on the Gu Immortal's own experiences, habits, and personality. These killer moves were other people's killer moves. They were not as fitting to Fang Yuan, as his self-created Myriad Self and Strength Path Giant Hand. Thus, Fang Yuan had to continue modifying them. A moment later, Fang Yuan finished his thinking session. There was nothing he could do to modify Purple Mountain True Monarch's Immortal Killer moves anymore. After these days of practicing and modifying, I have finally reached the limit. Only when my wisdom path attainment reaches a qualitative change can I continue to modify these moves. After understanding this, Fang Yuan did not force it anymore. His deductions today were not focusing on this. He was trying to complete Immortal Killer move Eat Strength. Originally, Fang Yuan had Immortal Gu Eat Strength. He could expend Immortal Essence to activate the Immortal Gu and increase his strength path down marks. It was a pity that such a useful Immortal Gu was destroyed. But it was not a problem. All of the different paths led to the same origin. Fang Yuan had so many Immortal Gu in the light of wisdom to help him, he could rapidly deduce Immortal Killer move Eat Strength. Such an Immortal Killer move could totally replace the use of Eat Strength Immortal Gu. My deduction succeeded. A few minutes later, Fang Yuan left Wisdom Gu with a feeling of satisfaction. He started deducing Immortal Killer move Eat Strength 6 days ago. He had finally succeeded. This rank 6 Immortal Killer move used Snack Immortal Gu as the core, with other Strength Path Immortal Gu as the supplementary Gu. A Gu Immortal could expend Strength Path Immortal materials to help them increase their Strength Path down marks. The result of one cultivation session was better than rank 6 Immortal Gu Eat Strength. But the expended Immortal Essence was higher too. Because too many Gu worms were involved, it was not as convenient as using Eat Strength Immortal Gu alone. In conclusion, there were advantages and disadvantages. For the following days, other than practicing Purple Mountain True Monarch's Wisdom Path killer moves, Fang Yuan used Eat Strength to increase his Strength Path down marks. He had the most number of Transformation Path down marks now, about 50,000. After that were Ice and Snow Path, Luck Path, Chi Path, and Sound Path. They all had over 10,000 down marks. He had few Strength Path down marks. He did not undergo any Strength Path-related tribulations, and the Immortal Apertures that he annexed were not from Strength Path either. This time, he focused on fixing this problem. Fang Yuan had considered it deeply before choosing Strength Path. His strongest methods now were Reverse Flow Protection Seal and Myriad Dragon. The former was defense while the latter was offense. Both were related to Strength Path. Raising Strength Path down marks would raise the upper limit of his battle strength very evidently. As for the Wisdom Path killer moves from Purple Mountain True Monarch, they were meant to increase Fang Yuan's variety of methods. What truly decided his upper limit of strength was Reverse Flow Protection Seal. Fang Yuan trained with hard work and used his time to the limit. Every second of his time was spent purposefully. This safe environment was really rare. Since rebirth, this was the first time Fang Yuan had such a prime opportunity to raise his strength and deepen his foundation. Immortal Aperture Development, practicing killer moves, cultivating Soul Path. Almost every day, Fang Yuan progressed further. His speed of improvement was unheard of. Even Langya Land Spirit was secretly shocked. This was what Heavenly Court had predicted. After getting Shadow Sex Inheritance, Fang Yuan's foundation was unfathomably deep. Now that he could make use of it, his strength would grow explosively. Ever since Xue Er joined up with the Shadow Sect Immortals, she had acted very obediently and diligently. Even though her battle strength was lacking, she was skilled in the investigative aspect. She worked with the Shadow Sect Immortals and hunted many souls for Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan was cold towards the marriage connection, causing some conflict in the Snowman tribe. Xue Er's grandmother, Bing Yuan, proposed to send Fang Yuan another gift to express their goodwill. But some of the Snowman Gu Immortals, led by Bing Feng, objected to it. They felt that the price of a marriage connection with Fang Yuan was too big. They would rather endure the suppression of the Rockmen. Because of Shadow Sect's members, Langya Sect's development in exploring Tai Chiu became quicker. Langya Land Spirit was extremely happy. He became very pleased with Fang Yuan. On this day, Fang Yuan was sitting with his eyes closed, his consciousness working on developing his Immortal Aperture, when he suddenly received a request for help. At the same time as when he opened his eyes, Langya Land Spirit also teleported towards Fang Yuan. Elder Fang Yuan, quickly go help. An immemorial desolate beast has appeared in Tai Chiu. It has trapped several Gu Immortals from our sect. Langya Land Spirit had a nervous expression as he spoke anxiously. Chapter 1466, A Bit Weak Roar. A loud sound resembling thunder exploded around the hairy man Gu Immortals. At the same time, a huge dragon head charged towards them like a hill. A huge shadow was casted over the Immortals. Before it even hit, the strong air currents blew out with threatening aura, making everyone lose their confidence in defending themselves. We're finished. 3 hairy man Gu Immortals were covered in sweat. One of them was lying on the ground. Seeing that they were about to die, at this moment, the 3 hairy men heard a cold voice. Useless. The 3 hairy man Gu Immortals were overjoyed. Even though they were insulted, they shouted, "We are here. Fairy Ningbing, save us." During the moment of danger, a white figure flew towards them. It was Dragon Lady by Ningbing. She snorted coldly and raised her hands. Crack. At the next moment, An ice wall emerged and shielded the three hairy man Gu immortals. Bam! In just a breath's time, the giant dragon head crashed into the ice wall. The ice wall could not take it and shattered. But Bai Ningbing had already pulled the three hairy man Gu immortals back as they retreated. At the same time, cold light shot out of her eyes and landed on the dragon head. The vicious dragon head was soon covered in a layer of white frost. Its speed had fallen drastically. Bai Ningbing internally let out a sigh of relief. After that instance of combat, she had already deduced that the dragon head was only rank 7 level. With her battle strength, she could easily deal with it. But Immemorial Desolate Beast Myriad Head Coiling Dragon has 10,000 heads. I can deal with one head, but if the other dragon heads join in the battle, I will be outmatched. After all, 2 fists cannot rival 4 hands. Bai Ningbing looked at the sky as she frowned. This was not the ordinary Taichio world, it was a dark formation path space. The Myriad Head Coiling Dragon was a formation path Immemorial Desolate Beast. It could create formation path spaces just like how the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle could enter and exit Grotto Heavens. It was the Immemorial Desolate Beast's latent ability. I need to get out of this place and return to the outside world. I hope Xue Er and the rest can hold on. At this moment, in the outside world of Taichio, He Lulan and the others were flying around in the sky, facing hundreds of dragons on the ground. They used their methods and unleashed an array of attacks endlessly. It was a grand scene. The green giant grass in Taichio were as tall as trees. They grew in large numbers, resembling a forest. Within the giant grass, hundreds of dragons had varying forms. They either had golden scales, horns on their foreheads, 3 dragon eyes, or sharp teeth. Their bodies were wavering, but their heads were high in the sky, much taller than the grass here. These were all dragon heads, part of the Myriad Head Coiling Dragon. The tails were deeply buried under the soil. All of the 10,000 dragons were of the same origin. Meanwhile, He Lulan flew in circles like an eagle. She continued to unleash killer moves that rained down like fireworks. Dragon roars resounded. They were not passively taking hits. They retaliated continuously. Most of them were breathing out dragon breaths. Some were spitting out poison, while some had dragon eyes shooting out light. Ignoring the dragon head that went to deal with by Ningbing, there are 3 rank 7 dragon heads. The rest are rank 6 level. We have not found any wild Immortal Gu yet, but be careful. Don't get close. You will be dragged into the formation path space of the Myriad Head Coiling Dragon. He Lulan, Xue Er, and the rest conversed while they fought at the same time. Lang Yalan Spirit asked Fang Yuan for help. He had to respond. Firstly, this rescue mission had a lot of rewards. It was quite enticing. Secondly, Fang Yuan was a supreme elder of Langya's sect. He could not ignore this. It would violate his alliance agreement. Thus, while rushing there, Fang Yuan ordered Xue Er and the rest to help first and stall for time. As the battle got more intense, not much time had passed, but Xue Er and the rest were already feeling great pressure. Oh no, more and more dragon heads are awakening. If this goes on, the immemorial dragon head will awaken. Not only will we fail to save them, we will lose our lives. When will sect leader arrive? We are deep within Taichio. The teleportation formation is far away. He needs some time. Be careful. While conversing, a rank 7 dragon head woke up and emerged from the ground, roaring as it shot out a silver dragon breath. He Lulan narrowly avoided it, as Xue Er pondered, and said to Lady White Rabbit and Xue Er, "Stay back and help us out from a distance." Xue Er only had rank 6 cultivation level. Her mind was shaking, and she was barely putting up a fight. Even though she was the genius of the snowman, she could not be compared to He Lulan and the rest. She did not try to force herself. She retreated with Lady White Rabbit. "Is it fine for us to retreat?" Lady White Rabbit was very worried. Xue Er rolled her eyes at her. "Let's listen to Fairy Xue Er. With our battle strength, we will only hold them back." The Immortals resisted for a while longer. More dragon heads were awakening and joining the combat. 1,000 dragon bodies were moving about. Dragon heads were roaring. He Lulan and the rest were fully suppressed. Thankfully, Myriad Head Coiling Dragon was a very special type of immemorial desolate beast. Once it was born, it could not move. Even though there were many dragon heads, they could only defend their territory. They could not pursue enemies. Even so, 1,000 dragon heads' breaths were incredibly powerful. He Lulan and the rest retreated time and again. They could barely resist it. Oh no, the situation is getting worse. Bai Ningbing is still not out yet. I'm afraid she's unable to escape from the enemy's trap. He Lulan and the rest were right. Bai Ningbing was fighting desperately inside the formation path space. To defend those 3 hairy man Gu immortals, she was very restricted. But right at this time, an indescribable aura spread throughout the place. A huge dragon head that surpassed all others slowly rose up. The immemorial dragon head had awakened. Its eyes were hazy, Its eyelids were drooping. It had yet to awaken fully, but it already created immense pressure in the Gu Immortals. Damn it, what should we do? The Immortals were hesitating when Xue Er ordered. We will retreat. They were only rank 6 and 7. How could they resist rank 8? They could only retreat, giving up on by Ning Bing and the 3 hairy man Gu Immortals. But right at this moment, the immemorial dragon had opened its mouth and sucked in. Instantly, the world changed. Xue Er and the rest were all dragged into the formation path space without putting up resistance. Immemorial Dragon Head. Bai Ning Bing was shaken. She turned to look at Xue Er and the rest, frowning and asking, "Where's Fang Yuan?" Xue Er and the rest smiled bitterly. Thankfully, the immemorial dragon had only trapped the Shadow Sect Immortals and did not attack. The dragon head faded into the formation path space in a few breaths of time. It had rank 8 battle strength. From its perspective, rank 6 and 7 Gu Immortals were insignificant. It did not need to fight. It let the other dragon heads handle this battle. Thus, 1,000 dragon heads appeared all around the Shadow Sect Immortals. Xue Er and the rest fell into a difficult battle. The scene now was different from before. These dragon heads could move easily in the formation path space. They could appear and vanish at times. They were no longer trapped at their original spot. The Immortals tried and could not break out of the formation path space. They could only unite and fight together, resisting a desperate battle. In the dangerous battle, all of the Immortals suffered injuries. The 3 hairy man Gu Immortals, Xue Er, and Lady White Rabbit barely managed to survive. Gradually, the Shadow Sect Immortals could no longer care about the weak. 1 hairy man Gu Immortal was the first to die. Xue Er gasped as she could not escape in time. She was surrounded by several dragon heads. To think that I will die here. Xue Er could not stop them. She could only shut her eyes and wait for death, but a dark figure flew in and dragged her out. What are you all doing? Why did I have to come out and salvage the situation? The pressure of survival made Lady White Rabbit turn into Black Tigress again. She was the one who saved Xue Er. Xue Er was dazed. You are Lady White Rabbit? I am not that weakling. Black Tigress smiled coldly. She looked at Xue Er in disdain. Xue Er was speechless. She finally understood. Fang Yuan's subordinates, the members of Shadow Sect, were all monsters. Compared to them, she was the weakest. With Black Tigress' help, the scene finally stabilized. But good times did not last. More and more dragon heads appeared. The immemorial desolate beast Myriad head coiling dragon was finally starting to show its terrifying battle strength. The Immortals could only defend themselves. They could not escape. Their hope was all in Fang Yuan. But when was Fang Yuan going to arrive? After such a long period of fighting, Fang Yuan should have arrived already. But soon, the Shadow Sect Immortals realized that this formation path space had time path elements in it. The rate of time was very different from the outside world. This realization was like a huge rock that weighed on the Gu Immortals' hearts. But gradually, Xue Er and the rest found out that the number of dragon heads in the formation path space was shrinking. Their pressure was decreasing. They stabilized in this dangerous situation again. Fang Yuan must be here. After realizing this, the Immortals rose in morale. But Xue Er could not help but feel worried. I wonder what the battle outside is like. Even though Fang Yuan has rank 8 battle strength, can he resist this rank 8 myriad head coiling dragon? While thinking about this, the formation path space broke, and everyone returned to the outside world. Looking at the scenery, Xue Er could not help but gasp in shock. The ground was covered in rivers of blood. Countless dragons were lying on the ground. The surrounding area was covered in corpses. That immemorial dragon head was growling in pain. It was no longer as imposing as before. And Fang Yuan was everywhere. Single thought, endless clones. Xue Er muttered, recognizing Fang Yuan's immortal killer move. Fang Yuan was concealing himself among the countless silhouettes. But that immemorial dragon head had no way to figure out where Fang Yuan was. Ignited thought flying rock. Countless flaming rocks were landing on myriad head coiling dragon's body, making a large number of dragon heads fall to the ground. They had thought of getting up, but the thought was extinguished instantly by the flames. Single thought flower blossom. Fang Yuan shifted his thoughts. Countless beautiful flowers bloomed on the dragon bodies. They felt that their strength was sapped away as the strong dragon heads fell into weakness. The flowers were used as fuel to strengthen the flames in their mind. These attacks quickly defeated the rank 6 and 7 dragon heads. They sprawled on the ground like fat earthworms. Only the immemorial dragon head had a powerful aura, but as it could not find Fang Yuan's main body, its battle strength was useless. This is the power of wisdom path killer moves. I can see how powerful Purple Mountain True Monarch was from this. Fang Yuan sighed to himself internally. At this moment, the immemorial dragon head saw Xue Er and the rest. It changed target and assaulted them. The remaining 2 hairy man Gu Immortals shrieked uncontrollably. Fang Yuan's main body emerged and blocked the dragon head's path. "Be careful," Xue Er shouted as she saw the immemorial dragon head crash into Fang Yuan's body with much fear. The huge force sent Fang Yuan flying, but he quickly flew back again. In contrast, the immemorial dragon head was covered in blood. It was in a pathetic state. Reverse flow protection seal rendered Heavenly Quartz Gu Immortals without options. The power of it was not a joke. Using this chance, the Shadow Sect Immortals managed to retreat to a safe distance. Without any lingering burden, Fang Yuan engaged in a fight with the immemorial dragon head. So strong. Xue Er was completely dazed from watching. She watched how Fang Yuan gained the upper hand and killed the immemorial dragon head eventually. This immemorial desolate beast is a bit weak. When the battle ended, Fang Yuan looked down at the immemorial dragon head that was cut off, and the 1,000 dragon heads lingering on the ground as he sighed. Chapter 1467. The View of a Rank 8. We're saved. Lord Fang Yuan is invincible. The two hairy man Gu Immortals saw Fang Yuan defeating the Myriad head coiling dragon. They cheered loudly and expressed their joy of surviving the ordeal. But the Shadow Sect Immortals were silent. Bai Ningbing snorted. Ing Wuxia had a look of nostalgia. After seeing these Wisdom Path killer moves again, he thought of the sacrificed Purple Mountain True Monarch. He Lulan was silent. The stronger Fang Yuan became, the smaller her chances of escaping. Xue Er blinked in succession. She was mentally shaken. Looking at the ravaged battlefield, she understood why the tribe wanted to have a marriage connection with Fang Yuan. This is rank 8 battle strength. Ordinary immemorial desolate beasts cannot deal with Gu Immortals that have rank 8 battle strength. Because humans possess intelligence and wisdom, we can use countless immortal killer moves. Being married to this man, even if we only rely on this connection, our tribe will no longer be bullied by the Rockmen. If we can use his help, the entire tribe will be lifted. We will definitely prosper. Meanwhile, Fang Yuan stared at the dragon corpse and the fallen dragon heads, collating his gains and losses. Immemorial desolate beasts had rank 8 battle strength, but they were still classified into different tiers. This Myriad head coiling dragon was one of the weaker ones among immemorial desolate beasts. It was not in good condition. It had just woken up from sleep and was countered by Fang Yuan's Wisdom Path killer moves. If Fang Yuan used other methods or fought by charging in, he might have had to spend more effort. But Ignited Thought Flying Rock had an incredible effect that dealt with it easily. How should I deal with this Myriad head coiling dragon? Without the immemorial dragon head, it is only ancient desolate level now. But it still has its foundation. In time, a new ancient dragon head will become immemorial level. This type of formation path immemorial desolate beast was very rare. Fang Yuan's sovereign immortal aperture was in its development stage. He first thought of moving this Myriad head coiling dragon into his immortal aperture. But regretfully, once the Myriad head coiling dragon is in the ground, it could no longer be moved. It was not just deep underground. It was connected to the earth vein. It grew from extracting nutrients from the earth vein. Thus, if the surrounding soil was dug up, the Myriad head coiling dragon would lose its connection to the Myriad head coiling dragon. It would lose its life. Ordinary Gu Immortals might be without options, but Fang Yuan had methods. Be it Shadow Sect's inheritances or Langya Sect's inheritances, they had countless methods to relocate the Myriad head coiling dragon. But Fang Yuan gave up this alluring idea after considering it. The reason was simple. These methods needed immortal Gu that Fang Yuan did not have. Even if he used the light of wisdom, the time, effort, and resources needed were huge. It was not worth it for just this immemorial desolate beast. But to kill it and sell off its body parts was a huge waste. After all, an immemorial desolate beast that was alive had greater value than a dead one. Thoughts clashed in Fang Yuan's mind as he thought of the best way to resolve this. Langya Sect. He had just prepared to contact Langya Land Spirit, when Langya Land Spirit already contacted him using Information Path Mortal Gu. Langya Land Spirit was also very happy. Fang Yuan was able to defeat the immemorial desolate beast and save 2 hairy man Gu Immortals. He wanted to thank Fang Yuan and had a warm tone. Fang Yuan smiled silently. The status of a rank 8 Gu Immortal was totally different. In the absence of rank 9, rank 8s were the dominating overlords. Each rank 8 Gu Immortal caused great influences in their every action. Even though Fang Yuan did not have rank 8 cultivation level, having only rank 8 battle strength and being considered a quasi-rank 8, he could already feel how amazing it was to be a rank 8 at this moment. Fang Yuan said to Langya Land Spirit, "This Myriad head coiling dragon is still alive. A new immemorial dragon head will regrow in the future. I want to sell this immemorial desolate beast to Langya Sect. First Supreme Elder, how many sect contribution points can I get for this?" Langya Land Spirit was dazed before shouting, "Great idea." Langya's sect was exploring Taichio. They could use an immemorial desolate beast's corpse to create a teleportation immortal formation. This was a base point for them. Using this base, they could explore outwards and gain more resources from Taichio. But in the huge Taichio, just one base was not enough. Like this time, because of the distance, it was not easy to rescue them. This myriad head coiling dragon is a natural immortal formation. We do not need to do anything. As long as we subdue it, we will be able to create a second base. As for sect contribution points, Langya Land Spirit considered before giving Fang Yuan a number he was satisfied with. Fang Yuan had to refine a large number of Immortal Gu earlier. His sect contribution points had dwindled. He needed to replenish them so that he could refine Gu again. Right now, Fang Yuan was handing out a Gu refinement mission. His main goal was Heavenly Secret Immortal Gu. After settling his loot, Fang Yuan led the Immortals back victoriously. The Shadow Sect Immortals were all injured. He Lulan had the heaviest injuries. Even though the fire path methods were good, it was not compatible with her great strength true martial physique. Unfortunately, Fang Yuan needed to develop his strength path too. There was a conflict between them. Fang Yuan had to satisfy his own needs first before he could pass down excessive Gu worms to raise the Shadow Sect Immortal strength. After all, Heavenly Court was too strong. Their strength was needed for Fang Yuan to gain a decisive victory in the future. However, I can modify her fire path killer moves to make them more compatible. I can even modify this strength path immortal killer moves for her to use. Fang Yuan thought. He Lulan was still very loyal due to Shadow Sect's alliance agreement. But in Fang Yuan's mind, Fairy Miao Yin and Lady White Rabbit were more trustworthy. At the same time, Fang Yuan had a way to restrict He Lulan. That was her father-come-enemy, He Cheng. This huge trump card had always been in Fang Yuan's hands. He Lulan was kept in the dark. I can nurture He Lulan slightly. Modifying these killer moves is very easy. The expended time and effort is low. I can do it rapidly. Thus, for the next few days, Shadow Sect's Immortals healed themselves while He Lulan's injuries slowly recovered. She was only mildly injured. Fang Yuan handed Star Eyes Immortal Gu to her and let her use it to refine the stars in the sky. Fang Yuan chose a huge star. When he was in southern border disguised as Wu Yihai, there were too many people. He could not casually refine the stars. There was little development in this. It kept dragging on until now. Fang Yuan did not have the time or energy for this. He passed Star Eyes Immortal Gu to He Lulan and made her use her time to refine the star, allowing Star Eyes Immortal Gu to display its worth. When He Lulan succeeded, Fang Yuan would give her the modified immortal killer moves as the reward. Fang Yuan had created an organization in his previous life. To nurture a person, they could not be given rewards for no reason and at a rapid pace. Breaking the rules of advancement was a huge problem for organizations. Any act of promotion or demotion needed to have appropriate reasons. If there was no reason for it, then he should create a reason. Fang Yuan was very experienced in this. After the matter of the myriad head coiling dragon, Fang Yuan realized that the Shadow Sect Immortals also needed more battle strength. When they got stronger, they would be more helpful to Fang Yuan. However, the most important thing now was Fang Yuan's own development. The most reliable person was himself. A truly mature person would never rely on others in times of need. The Shadow Sect Immortals were merely icing on the cake for Fang Yuan. After returning to his Cloud City, Fang Yuan took out a rank 6 strength path immortal material. Next, he used Immortal Killer move each strength. A moment later, this pure strength path immortal material had melted. A small portion of the Dao marks in it had been transferred to Fang Yuan. Using perceivable Dao Immortal Gu to check it, his strength path Dao marks did not grow by much. Fang Yuan was not disappointed. This was an expected result. The main way for Gu Immortals to increase their Dao marks was through tribulations. For Fang Yuan, he had another immortal aperture annexing method. As for each strength killer move, it could only slowly accumulate. There would only be effect after a long time. Thus now, when dealing with the myriad head coiling dragon, even though he gained some strength path Dao marks, his battle strength did not rise much. However, if I can refine Snack Immortal Gu into the rank 7 Big Snack, I can modify each strength so that the gain in my strength path Dao marks will be more evident and achieve a qualitative change. This thought appeared in Fang Yuan's mind before rapidly vanishing. Refining Snack Immortal Gu into Big Snack Immortal Gu was alluring, but it was not the appropriate time to do that now. Refining Heavenly Secret Immortal Gu was the main priority, and Fang Yuan was continuing his immortal aperture development to satisfy the needs of his Immortal Gu in terms of food. The latter expended almost all of his finances. How long had it been? His 10 million Immortal Essence Stones had already started depleting, but his great efforts also gave him great rewards. He had already completed more than half of his basic development. My soul foundation has already reached 10 million man soul. Let's continue like this. In terms of killer moves, I am already familiar with Purple Mountain True Monarch's Wisdom Path killer moves. Next, I will modify Bo Qing's Sword Path killer moves. In terms of Wisdom Path, Fang Yuan had Grandmaster Attainment level. He also had Wisdom Path Immortal Gu. It was naturally his priority. In terms of Sword Path, even though he had several Sword Path Immortal Gu, he lacked the attainment level for it. It was lower on his priority. In terms of Soul Path, not only did he lack attainment level, he also lacked Immortal Gu. He only had rank 7 Change Soul and rank 6 Cleanse Soul. It was even lower on the priority list. Fang Yuan had been preparing himself. He had considered his options thoroughly. At the same time as modifying Bo Qing's Sword Path killer moves, I will also modify some killer moves for He Lulan. The only problem is that after completing my basic development, my finances will be at a dangerous level. Fang Yuan was a little worried, but after 3 days, the Snowman tribe sent the third set of gifts to him. The third set of gifts was the most valuable one among the 3. After getting this, Fang Yuan's basic Immortal Aperture development no longer had the problem of lacking funds for the time being. Southern border. A mild rain was drizzling. There was serenity amidst the cold winds. It was dusk on the green mountain ridge. On a nameless mountain, a huge pine tree with a cone shape had already grown for 6 years on this location. Soon, in an hour, I will be able to refine rank 7 Pine Needle Immortal Gu. 6 years of hard work. Rank 7 secluded cultivator Zhengqing thought in his heart with anticipation. He was a Wood Path Gu Immortal. He was using a wood refinement method this time. Even though it took a long time, he was using the technique of Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable. The success rate was very high. Zhengqing was originally immortal. When he was finding firewood one day in the mountain, he fell off the cliff and landed on a huge lotus that was within the valley. Through a fortuitous encounter, Zhengqing inherited one of Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable's Wood Path inheritances. After working hard on cultivation, he became a Gu Immortal. He slowly cultivated and rarely went out. After hundreds of years, he became rank 7. He had a peaceful nature. One had to say, Genesis Lotus True Inheritance was really suited for him. When refining Gu this time, he turned into a pine tree and stayed here for 6 years, through rain and shine, slowly cultivating while ignoring the changes in the environment. Rumble. At this time, from deep under the earth, he heard a loud sound, like the screaming of countless beasts. What is going on? Zhengqing heard the sound and became alert. No way, my Gu refinement method comes from Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable. Be it the process of refining Gu or the final moment, the process is natural and mystical. There is no way I will be exposed. Thus, this cannot be a case of enemies coming to snatch it. Wait. Zhengqing was first suspicious before his heart jumped. He thought of an answer. Months ago, he had also experienced such a situation. That time, there was a huge earthquake. It was as if there was a huge python rolling around in the ground. Even though he was unharmed, the event shocked Zhengqing deeply. After that, Zhengqing connected to Treasure Yellow Heaven and learned that there was an unprecedented earthquake that involved the entire southern border. Is this the same thing? Zhengqing's guess soon got confirmed. Like what he had expected, this was the same type of earthquake as before, but the size of it was far beyond Zhengqing's imagination. Rumble. A terrifying earthquake seemed to devour everything. The world was shaking like the apocalypse was here. Huge trenches were created that extended for millions of li. Zhengqing was very unfortunately. The nameless mountain that he was on was being devoured by a trench. The mountain collapsed. Zhengqing wanted to hold on, but he reached his limits. He had to return to human form. Even with his superb mental state, he still wanted to vomit blood. His 6 years of hard work had gone up in smoke. What is this earthquake? Why am I so unlucky, Sai? Suddenly, his bloodshot eyes widened immensely. He saw that the immeasurably wide trench had a mountain-like rock. This rock was orange in color. It was also crystallized. The surface had countless holes that were large as houses, while some were small as fists. A large amount of yellow smoke was spewing out of these holes unceasingly. The smoke became thicker and soon turned into soil. The original orange-yellow crystal rock was covered in a thick layer of soil in a dozen breaths of time. Zhengqing breathed roughly. He had Genesis Lotus True Inheritance. He knew what this was with his knowledge. This is the Earth Path Crystal Essence in Hu Land. This is a rank 8 immortal material. I'll wait. Zhengqing's investigative killer move looked further. His eyes became wider as he shouted. Did I see wrongly? Not just the Earth Path Crystal Essence. There are also Jade Scales, Earth Hole Traveling Flame, Spring Thunder Condensed Dewdrops. These immortal materials were very valuable. They were also of a huge quantity. The feeling of failing the Gu refinement had already been forgotten by Zhengqing. He started to get busy collecting these precious resources. Northern Plains, Lengya Blessed Land. Fang Yuan cultivated his Sword Path killer moves. Sword Path killer move, triple layered sword wave. Swish, swish, swish. The dazzling silvery waves were crashing unceasingly. 3 layers of waves swept forward with unparalleled sharpness and power. Immortal killer move, formless flying sword. Flying sword Immortal Gu shot out rapidly. It vanished in an instant due to the extreme speed. Fang Yuan could accurately sense the location of flying sword Immortal Gu, but others could not. This was one of Bo Qing's signature killer moves. Immortal killer move, cloud flying sword. Fang Yuan clapped as a large amount of cloud fog appeared and rapidly expanded. The power of the sword had no form or limits. It could not be intercepted. Without any solid matter, it could not be resisted. Immortal killer move, 10,000 Li flying sword. Fang Yuan pointed as sword light flew out like a rainbow, shooting towards the sky, traveling several thousand li in the blink of an eye. It was extremely accurate. And the final move, Immortal killer move, 5-finger fist heart sword. Fang Yuan clapped and placed his palms in front of his chest together, before his right hand's fingers curled up, as if he was grasping endless sword light in his hand. Next, he raised his right hand up towards the top of his head. First, his thumb straightened. With a swoosh, an extremely sharp sword light flew out and pierced a hole in cloud cover continent. Next were his index and middle fingers. They extended and 2 sword lights shot out with terrifying night. But his last 2 fingers could not be stretched. After 3 sword lights, Fang Yuan had to stop the killer move. After some practice, Fang Yuan stood on the spot, collating his experiences. These last days, I have already finished modifying the sword path killer moves. There are a total of 5 moves. Other than triple-layered sword wave originating from Langya's sect, the other 4 moves came from Bo Qing, and I have already modified them. Sword path situation is inferior to wisdom path. I do not have as many sword path Immortal Gu compared to wisdom path, and my attainment level is far lower. My modification is limited. The power is about the same as Bo Qing's original version. Especially the final move, 5-finger fist heart sword. It used to be renowned throughout history. It was a move that shocked the world. But I can only use 3-finger sword lights. That is my limit. At the same time, the power of the move is only at the peak of rank 7. If I can use rank 8 wisdom sword Immortal Gu as well, the sword path killer move will reach the power level of rank 8. Unfortunately, wisdom sword Immortal Gu was very hard to use. He needed rank 8 immortal essence. Fang Yuan was not rank 8. He could not produce rank 8 immortal essence at all. Fang Yuan had 3 rank 8 Immortal Gu. They were Attitude Gu, Years Flow Like Water, and Wisdom Sword Immortal Gu. Among them, Attitude Gu was a legendary Immortal Gu written in The Legends of Renzu. It had a very low requirement to use. Years Flow Like Water was slightly worse, but its effect depended on the quality of the immortal essence used instead. Wisdom Sword Immortal Gu was a normal rank 8 Immortal Gu. Even though it belonged to Fang Yuan, it needed rank 8 immortal essence to activate. Thus, Fang Yuan had a lot of room for improvement in sword path. But at the current moment, he had reached the limit of development in this path. After finishing the practice of his killer moves, Fang Yuan did not want to waste time. He returned to the Cloud City and started to work on his Immortal Aperture development again. Sovereign Immortal Aperture. At the extreme north of many northern plains, snow was falling. The air was cold. Snow was deep and thick. The atmosphere was entirely different from before. Howl! Howl! Occasionally, several snow monsters would pace around the snow and emit strange screams. And at the extreme north, there was a mountain-like crystal rock. This rock was blue in color. It had crystallized texture. The surface had countless holes of varying sizes. A large amount of cold and icy smoke was spewing out of these holes unceasingly. They were changing the environment to a great extent. Ice Path Crystal Essence. It was an extremely rare rank 8 immortal material that originated from the secluded domain of heaven and earth. It was rarely seen in the market. The first time he saw this Ice Path Crystal Essence, Fang Yuan sighed. To think that the Snowman tribe had such a valuable thing in their treasury. But Fang Yuan soon understood why. Even though they were living in difficulty now and were in a tough spot, the truth was, after so many generations of cruel competition, how could the remaining snowmen be simple characters? At least, among all of the Snowman tribes, this was a high-quality batch. They were merely trapped here now. Even though their current situation was bad, they had their former glory. The Ice Path Crystal Essence was the important part of the third gift from the snowmen. As for why these snowmen suddenly showed such sincerity, Fang Yuan knew without needing to guess that it was because he defeated the immemorial desolate beast Myriad head coiling dragon. The scene was recorded by Xue Er, who sent it back to the tribe. Of course, this was Fang Yuan purposely allowing her to do it. He wanted to see that happen. With this Ice Path Crystal Essence, I can create a production line of snow monsters. In time, this will be a new source of revenue for me. While he was thinking of the future, Sixth Hair transmitted to him. Sect Leader, Heavenly Secret Immortal Gu's refinement has reached the crucial step. Please come over to refine the Gu personally. Fang Yuan was instantly alerted. If he could refine Heavenly Secret Immortal Gu, he would be able to learn about the following calamities and tribulations in advance. Any Gu cultivator would know how important and significant this was. Chapter 1469. 2 week. The Gu refinement hall was filled with bright white light. The light was glaring. Nobody could look at it directly. An intense aura that was in between Mortal Gu and Immortal Gu showed that the Gu refinement was at its most crucial step. Fang Yuan was bathed in the white light. His concentration was fully invested. Beside him, Refinement Path Gu Immortal's sixth hair had a look of solemnness and nervousness. Now is the time. Suddenly, Sixth Hair spoke and dispelled the entire Refinement Path Gu formation. Originally, the best way to refine Heavenly Secret Immortal Gu was to use Light Path refinement method. Other than that, other paths would only exert more effort for a weaker result. Some even caused an opposing effect. And at this final step, the Refinement Path Gu formation needed to be shut down. The Gu Immortal had to personally complete this final step. This was the most unique part of Heavenly Secret Immortal Gu's refinement. Almost all other Immortal Gu had no such requirement. Only Heavenly Secret Immortal Gu could not be restricted by any rules. It had to be refined when it was in a state of freedom. Undeniably, this was a huge test to the Gu Immortal refining the Gu. Because the Gu Immortal needed to take the place of the Immortal formation at that instant and complete the final step of the Gu refinement himself. But the Gu Immortal's control could not be excessive. Otherwise, it would be a form of restriction and Heavenly Secret Immortal Gu would not be refined. This step required a peculiar balance. The intricacy could not be expressed in words. Only the Gu Immortal undergoing the refinement could experience it. At the final step, Fang Yuan's mind had countless thoughts. Using wisdom path methods, he perfectly took over the Immortal formation's workload. The surrounding white light was blinding, but Fang Yuan guided it back to a condensed form. Gradually, these lights formed into a circular shape around Fang Yuan. The huge circle had Fang Yuan at the center. Initially, there was only light, but after a few breaths of time, there was a material form. After a dozen breaths, the refinement hall's light had returned to normal. The ring had materialized and was the size of a house. It was white gold in color. The ring was quietly floating. Fang Yuan was at its center. Sixth Hair held his breath as he felt excited internally. Refinement Path Killer Move. Heavenly Light Ring. It has finally formed. But we needed to rotate 7 times to refine the rank 7 Heavenly Secret Immortal Gu. The first rotation. Fang Yuan willed as the ring started to rotate slowly. This first rotation took 15 minutes to complete. The first rotation is complete. Sixth Hair let out a breath of turbid air. Second rotation. Fang Yuan's eyes, which were shut, slowly opened. Within his eyes, a profound light shot out towards the ring. The ring, which had stopped moving, started to move with his gaze. It rotated again. This rotation was faster than before. In just 7 minutes, it finished rotating. The second rotation is done too. Sixth Hair clenched his fists. Third rotation. Fang Yuan breathed roughly. He continued to regulate his breath. He was not breathing normally, of course. He was using a refinement path killer move. His breath and the ring resonated as it started to spin again. This rotation was even faster now. It finished in an instant. The third rotation is done. Sixth Hair's heart was pounding. The fourth rotation. Fang Yuan opened his mouth and started to hum. Under the effect of his voice, the ring started to spin violently. Soon, the fourth rotation was completed. We are already past half of the 7 rotations. But it will get even harder now, because the rings will rotate even faster. It will not be easy to control. Sixth Hair was oozing with sweat now. After the fourth rotation, Fang Yuan did not continue recklessly. He rested for a while before using his refinement path killer move to make the ring rotate. The fifth rotation. Fang Yuan's arms were naturally lowered, but at this moment, he slowly raised his arms. As if his arms were tied by 2 mountains, Fang Yuan slowly lifted them like he was carrying something very heavy. The ring started to rotate on its own, but this was different from before. While rotating, it also started to ascend. It became further and further away from the ground. When it reached Fang Yuan's shoulder, there was a sudden pause. Oh no! Sixth Hair's expression changed as the ring exploded on its own. Boom! A huge explosion was suppressed by the refinement hall before it caused any severe damages. But Fang Yuan, who was at the center, suffered the full extent of the explosion's force. Puff! Fang Yuan's expression was pale. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Heavily injured. Immortal Gu man as before. Fang Yuan immediately activated this Immortal Gu. His ever-useful method started to display its effect. Fang Yuan's heavy injuries became light injuries, but he had not completely healed. Fang Yuan was injured from refining rank 7 Heavenly Secret. Even though rank 6 man, as before, had some use, Its time path effect could not completely get rid of his injuries. Fang Yuan's injuries this time were not simple. Heavenly Secret Immortal Gu's refinement failed. This was not the first time. For the past several times, Sixth Hair failed in the middle of the refinement. This time, they reached the end, but Fang Yuan still failed despite doing it himself. At once, Fang Yuan and Sixth Hair had ugly expressions. Fang Yuan had practiced a lot for this. Before the Gu refinement, he had used many luck path methods, but he still did not succeed. Gu refinement was like this, it was not easy to succeed. Even if one invested a lot into it, they might not gain anything, their efforts might end up in vain. And most importantly, Fang Yuan's calamities and tribulations were impending. If he did not refine Heavenly Secret in time, Fang Yuan would not be able to do it before the tribulation. It is a pity. Sixth Hair sighed. No worry, even without Heavenly Secret, I am confident of passing. Fang Yuan waved his hand. His mind had returned to normal in an instant. Several days later, Fang Yuan came to a desolate area using the teleportation Immortal formation and started to undergo his tribulation. Placing his Immortal aperture, he opened the Immortal aperture door. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A vast amount of heaven and earth chi rushed in like a waterfall, replenishing sovereign Immortal aperture. The scene was simply too grand. Xue Er and the rest were dazed. This time, in order to ensure that the tribulation went without a hitch, Fang Yuan brought the Shadow Sect Immortals along. Bai Ningbing was also here, while Xue Er was inside Lanya Blessed Land. Xue Er was not trusted by Fang Yuan. As for the rest, they had entered the sovereign Immortal aperture before. When Fang Yuan underwent tribulations, they could help him. When other Gu Immortals were attracted here and tries to attack him, they could go out and block those enemies for him. This was the human calamity. When Fang Yuan underwent tribulations, he would be noticed by Heaven's will. There was no helping it. Heavens will tried all means possible to exterminate Fang Yuan. It would naturally plot, and after some time, his human calamity would appear. Unless we see it ourselves, it is absolutely hard to imagine that a person's Immortal aperture could absorb this much heaven and earth chi at once. Sovereign Immortal aperture, it is too powerful. I believe that even rank 9 venerables would not create such a scene when absorbing heaven and earth chi. The Shadow Sect Immortals conversed and praised. Bai Ningbing snorted. Her gaze was flickering uncertainly. She was shocked in her mind, but she said, "You are underestimating the rank 9 venerables. Even though I have never seen a rank 9 Immortal aperture absorb heaven and earth chi, after obtaining Bai Xiang's true inheritance, I learned that Bai Xiang's absorption of the heaven and earth chi when he placed his Immortal aperture was far bigger in Commotion." Xue looked at Bai Ningbing plainly. Bai Xiang was rank 8. He had a rank 8 Grotto Heaven. Fang Yuan is only rank 7 now. He only possesses a rank 7 Blessed Land. The two cannot be compared. Furthermore, the Sovereign Immortal aperture is too huge. There are many places that have not been developed. Its potential is unimaginable. In contrast, Bai Xiang Grotto Heaven was already filled up back then. The resources were occupying the entire Immortal aperture. These resources naturally expended a lot of heaven and earth chi. Bai Ningbing was silent. Xue is right. Fairy Miao Yin laughed curtly. The other Gu Immortals nodded in agreement. After a long time, the Sovereign Immortal aperture completed the absorption of heaven and earth chi. The tribulation began to form in Mini Red Heaven. Fang Yuan's current body was inside Mini Red Heaven. This tribulation was targeting Fang Yuan. It would not show up elsewhere. As for why he chose Mini Red Heaven, it was because this place was empty. It was once the place where he fought the immemorial Year Monkey. There were no resources here. His losses were minimized when fighting here. If they were in Mini Northern Plains or Mini Southern Border, the tribulation would destroy countless resources. That was not favorable to Fang Yuan. The Sovereign Immortal aperture is too huge. If we were the ones undergoing tribulation, how could we avoid destroying resources? But inside the Sovereign Immortal aperture, the tribulation cannot even cover the whole of Mini Red Heaven. He Lulan sighed with a tone of admiration. My Shadow Sect accumulated resources for 100,000 years before refining Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu. Of course, it is extraordinary. Xue snorted coldly, saying proudly, "A pity it all went to Fang Yuan." Bai Ningbing said casually, making Xue stare at her in anger. "What? Did I say something wrong?" Bai Ningbing was fearless. She looked at Xue provocatively, defending her face. Xue breathed in deeply. He turned his head over. So what if Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu was used by Lord Fang Yuan? He is the leader of Shadow Sect. He is on the same boat as us. Ha ha. Bai Ningbing laughed in a mocking tone. Xue ignored her and stared at the newly formed tribulation, only to see that around Fang Yuan, there was a dense poisonous fog. The poisonous fog was rumbling and had 5 distinguishable colors. This is a poison path tribulation. Lady White Rabbit said meekly, or rather, the 5 poison tribulation. Xue Er said. He had more depth of knowledge. Like what he had just said, the 5-colored poisonous fog formed into 5 giant monsters, a snake, scorpion, spider, toad, and centipede respectively. The 5 monsters encircled Fang Yuan in a threatening manner but did not attack yet. They were gathering strength. As time passed, their bodies got larger. Why is Fang Yuan not attacking yet? Bai Ningbing frowned. Now was the best time to strike. As time passed, the poisonous beasts would get stronger. But Fang Yuan's tactic was different from normal people's mentality. He waited until the 5 poisonous beasts reached their maximum strength. All 5 pounced towards Fang Yuan with bodies like mountains. Bai Ningbing and the rest held their breaths. The tribulation was so powerful that they were stunned even as just spectators. This was not an ordinary ranked 7 tribulation. It was enhanced by heaven's will. It had the maximum power allowed by this world. Just this. Fang Yuan's eyes rolled as he vanished on the spot. Boom, boom, boom. At the next moment, thunderous sounds erupted continuously. Bai Ningbing and the rest watched with pin-sized pupils as Fang Yuan rampaged on the battlefield. The 5 poisonous beasts were completely suppressed by his countless attacks. A while later, the poisonous fog faded. Only Fang Yuan was left standing in the battlefield like a demonic god. He looked around the battlefield and stared at his own hands, muttering, "Rank 7 heavenly tribulation is too weak. Even though heavens will wants to get rid of me, the otherworldly demon, and raise the strength of the heavenly tribulation to its limit, it could do nothing against me." This tribulation was not hard for Fang Yuan. He had prepared amply for this tribulation and had a lot of trump cards left unused. Xue Er and the rest were watching Fang Yuan's solo show and ended up being useless. They were in shock and amazement towards the sovereign immortal aperture. Rank 7 Gu immortals had to go through 24 earthly calamities, 3 heavenly tribulations, and 3 grand tribulations. Fang Yuan patiently waited for the 5 poisonous beasts to reach their peak before dealing with them. He wanted to probe the limit of the heavenly tribulation's power. A rank 7 heavenly tribulation no longer had any threat towards him. Earthly calamities were even weaker. Only grand tribulations were an uncertainty. As for how strong grand tribulations could become, Fang Yuan did not know. He had not gone through it once. His rank 7 cultivation level was obtained by annexing apertures. He seized their cultivation level. This was the first time he was going through a rank 7 heavenly tribulation. Afterwards, Fang Yuan used perceivable Dao Immortal Gu to deduce that he obtained 1,000 poison path Dao marks from this heavenly tribulation. From now on, whenever Fang Yuan used poison path Immortal Gu, he would gain 100% amplification. Heavenly tribulations on average gave about 750 Dao marks. Fang Yuan obtained 1,000. It was because heavens will had raised its power to the limit. But these gains were not what he needed now. Firstly, he did not have poison path resources to nurture. His poison path attainment level was very low. He only had 1 poison path Immortal Gu, woman's heart. Evidently, heavens will had purposely chosen poison path to slow down Fang Yuan's growth. The next time I undergo heavenly tribulation, heavens will might reduce the power of the heavenly tribulation to its limit. Fang Yuan could guess this without thinking. This heavenly tribulation made heavens will realize that it could do nothing to Fang Yuan. It would no longer raise its power to the limit. After all, that would only give him more Dao marks. Other than making him stronger, there was no point in doing it. This means that my Dao mark gains will be very low when I pass tribulations in the future. Annexing apertures is the proper way to advance now. Fang Yuan understood. Annexing apertures was the advantage of the sovereign immortal aperture. It would be definitely used in the future. But now that he lacked the upper extreme heavenly eagle, and due to Fang Yuan cultivating in seclusion, he had no opportunities for that. The river of time flowed endlessly. Time passed rapidly. A month had gone by. During this period, Fang Yuan went through an earthly calamity. As he expected, the gain in Dao marks was very few. But in other aspects, Fang Yuan's improvements were huge. His gains were enormous. In terms of soul path, his soul foundation reached 50 million man soul. His soul was so condensed that it was already showing signs of turning solid. And most importantly, his immortal killer move Ghost Official Garment was getting thicker. It was shielding Fang Yuan with even greater strength now. Over on He Lu Land's end, she had already refined the star. Fang Yuan tried to use Star Eye's Immortal Gu. The investigative effect was great. With this Immortal Gu, his investigative aspect was greatly supplemented. In terms of immortal aperture management, the basic development was already completed. He expended almost all of his immortal essence stone storage and the 3 gifts from the snowman. In the end, he even borrowed some resources from Langya's sect to complete his foundations. But now, even though Fang Yuan had not fed them yet, the foundation was already set. It was like having dishes on the table even before eating, while the rice was still cooking in the pot. As long as he continued to develop, he would gain success in the future. There were 7 levels of Immortal aperture development. The first level was to create mortal resource points. The second level was to have immortal material resources to feed Immortal Gu. The third level was to raise and produce immortal beasts and plants, completing the ecosystem. The fourth level was to produce resources for external trade and profits. Fang Yuan had crossed into the fourth level earlier, but he still had 1 foot in the second level. Now that the second level was done, Fang Yuan's other foot stepped into the third level. The third level was to raise and produce immortal beasts and plants, completing the ecosystem. This level's criteria was, these immortal beasts and plants had to perfectly assimilate into the Immortal aperture's ecosystem. They had to form a food chain with the living beings within. Fang Yuan had done this in the past, but now it was lacking. Because his 2 biggest groups of beasts, the Eagle group and the Year Beast group, did not perfectly assimilate into the Immortal aperture. The Eagles needed to hunt for food on their own. But currently, Fang Yuan was purchasing the food from Langya's sect and Treasure Yellow Heaven. Year Beasts consumed Year Gu as food. Fang Yuan produced it himself. Rank 8 Immortal Gu years flow like water played a huge part in this. Without it, Fang Yuan could not raise such a huge population of Year Beasts. The third level's development needs to wait. Fang Yuan wanted to continue, but he had to stock. He did not have enough funds now. To develop his Immortal aperture, he needed to work on the fourth level and increase his trading capabilities. Right now, Fang Yuan had 9 sources of revenue. The first was Guts Gu. It was a monopoly with huge potential, but he had to invest a lot into it and split the revenue with Langya's sect. Right now, Fang Yuan's Guts Gu were all used to cultivate his soul path. His profits were 0 at the moment. Next was Year Gu. Fang Yuan has not taken over the market for Year Gu yet, and because of his actions earlier, the revenue of Year Gu would be horrible for the next couple of years. But undeniably, the market for Year Gu was huge in potential because Fang Yuan possessed rank 8 Immortal Gu years flow like water. This Immortal Gu was created by the Northern Plains Time Path great expert He Fan. It was a top-tier Immortal Gu among rank 8s. Not only was it easy to use, owning it meant that one had a steady supply of Year Gu at a low cost. But it had weaknesses too. It would attract immemorial Year Beasts to wreak havoc in the Immortal aperture. After He Fan created years flow like water Immortal Gu, he tried to solve the problem. But unfortunately, due to his limitations as a time path great expert, he was not as skilled in other aspects. He was also lacking in fortuitous encounters. If he had the 180 slaves killer move like Fang Yuan, he would have solved the problem. And thirdly, his lifespan was limited. He had already started solving the problem using the immemorial Year Beast fishing formation as the flood discharge formation, but his lifespan was used up before they could be used. Thus, years flow like water Immortal Gu could not shine in its creator's hands. When it went into Fang Yuan's hands, its amazing effect was finally used. Fang Yuan also sighed when he thought of this. This was truly the twists and turns of life. After Year Gu were the Dragonfish and Regretful Spider resource points. They were in the Sovereign Immortal Aperture's Dragon Scale Sea area and Coiling Thread Cave. Back then, in Southern Border, Fang Yuan had thought of using Wu Clan's strength to develop them. It was a huge effort. But now, the Dragonfish business was heavily affected. Because the secret of Fang Yuan disguising as Wu Yihai was exposed, and his Dragonfish business was done through Wu Clan's network, his main targets were the righteous path forces of Southern Border. This business was naturally stopped after he got exposed. Thus, Regretful Spiders became Fang Yuan's biggest source of revenue now. The main buyers were Western Desert's Shao Clan. Their relationship was getting firmer. After the Dragonfish and Regretful Spider were Eerie Fire Dragon Python, a series of Star Path resources, Star Dart Gu, Star Fragment Grass and more, Spirit Snakes, Snow Monsters, and Light Shine Fungi. The Eerie Fire Dragon Python business had started when Fang Yuan obtained some in Imperial Court Blessed Land. Afterwards, he used He Tribe's unique raising method to develop them to this scale. The production was not big nor small. It was inferior to the Dragonfish and Regretful Spiders. His Star Path resources were inherited from Star Lord Wan Xiang. He did not focus on them at all. The reason was simple. They were getting less important because most of his resources were larger in scale. And this was obtained from a rank 6 Gu Immortal. Its initial scale was not big either. The Spirit Snakes were about the same as the Star Path resources. They came from Han Dong Blessed Land, which was annexed by Fang Yuan. He did not develop it purposely. Finally, the Snow Monsters and Lightshine Fungus were future projects. The former used the Ice Path Crystal Essence to modify mini Northern Plains environment, while the latter had great importance now and could not be sold. In conclusion, Fang Yuan's business situation was not promising. Guts Gu had no profits. Dragonfish was heavily affected and earning little. Even though Regretful Spiders were the same as before, it could not hold up his situation alone. The remaining eerie fire dragon pythons, star path resources, and spirit snakes were important to rank 6 Gu immortals, but for Fang Yuan, they were too small in scale. These three and the regretful spider business barely managed to help Fang Yuan maintain his finances. And finally, for the snow monsters and light-shine fungi businesses, the former still needed more investment, while the latter needed to expand in size first. The profits from Xue Er earlier had been depleted. In this situation, Fang Yuan needed to promote his other businesses urgently. He had a lot of resources. Even though he completed the basic development, the Immortal Aperture's development only went from 3% to 4%. But be it the Immortal Aperture's development, modifying of killer moves, or soul path cultivation, he needed to invest even more resources into them. To improve further or increase his earnings, he needed to put in capital. The more he put in, the faster his growth. And for Fang Yuan, he had a vast number of inheritances. He had countless ways to farm resources. He even had many unique techniques. There were too many choices. And among them, which was the most suitable and helpful choice? Fang Yuan fell into deep contemplation. Langya blessed land. Inside a secret room in a cloud city, Fang Yuan's soul came out of his body. His soul was already much stronger than before. He was at 70 million man soul level. Fang Yuan sacrificed his guts Gu profits and used Xue Er and the rest to farm souls. He used the two secluded domains of heaven and earth specialized in cultivating soul path. He naturally improved at a shocking speed like a rocket. I am 30 million man soul away from 100 million man soul. Fang Yuan evaluated his soul. It was clear and lifelike. His face was exquisite. His body size was normal. There was a light from deep within the soul that made people feel it was solid and pure. Rank 9 killer move Ghostly Concealment was like a silk inner garment sticking to his soul. Above it was a layer of Ghost Official Garment. The modified Immortal killer move Ghost Official Garment used rank 7 Change Soul Immortal Gu and rank 6 Cleanse Soul Immortal Gu as the cores. In the past, it was just a loose shirt. The sleeves were long and extended to his feet. The shirt was very thin. But as his soul foundation continued to increase, this Ghost Official Garment became thicker. Looking at it now, this Ghost Official Garment had changed forms. Not only did his loose shirt turn into a martial uniform, there was even a battle armor covering his shirt. It was a grand scene. This was the true appearance of the rank 7 Ghost Official Garment, Ghost General Garment. Earlier, because of the layer of ghostly concealment, Ghost Official Garment and his soul had a weakened connection. It became the rank 6 level Ghost Soldier Garment. But now that his soul foundation rose by many times, it regained its rank 7 power. But I am still a bit of distance away from the true Ghost General Garment. Fang Yuan looked at his back. The complete form of Ghost General Garment not only had the martial uniform, but also 3 war flags on his back. These flags were not evident now. But Fang Yuan's cultivation session today was not just to inspect his soul path gains. Even though his soul left his body's mind still had wills in it. They started to use an immortal killer move, Split Soul. This move came from Spectral Soul's true inheritance. After Fang Yuan modified it, he could use it. An intense pain assaulted Fang Yuan's soul. His soul suffered a huge injury. Fang Yuan gritted his teeth and his soul entered his body again. This was the first time he was activating the killer move Split Soul. Split Soul was different from usual killer moves. It needed the Gu Immortal's soul to leave the body and leave behind thoughts, wills, or emotions to manipulate Gu worms. It was harder to use than normal Immortal killer moves. After the activation failed, Fang Yuan wordlessly used Guts Gu to heal himself. If Split Soul succeeded, he would not feel any pain in splitting his soul. It would be as easy as drinking water. But if he failed, the consequences would be severe. His soul would directly collapse under normal situations. Thus, Gu Immortals with weak soul foundations could not blindly use this move. It would be suicide. Fang Yuan only started to try this after reaching 10 million man soul. Right now, his sword path killer moves were already modified. He had become familiar with them. He started to modify the soul path killer moves and practice them. Other than Split Soul, there was also Soul Suppression, Soul Howl, Soul Explosion, Devour Soul, Soul Replacement, Soul Beast Summoning, and others. Fang Yuan did not have many soul path Immortal Gu. He could use these moves again, but the effects would be greatly lowered. What decided Fang Yuan's upper limit of battle strength was Reverse Flow Protection Seal. Be it soul path methods, sword path, or wisdom path, they were only meant to increase Fang Yuan's variety of moves. Modifying and practicing soul path killer moves used up a lot of Fang Yuan's time and energy. And for his Immortal Aperture development, Fang Yuan decided his focus. He thought about it and chose the dragonfish. Firstly, the dragonfish business had its foundation, and during this period, Fang Yuan accumulated a lot of dragonfish in his Immortal Aperture. He had a lot of stock. Secondly, Fang Yuan had involved himself in the dragonfish business and had experience before. It was not like the Gu business where he was a neophyte. Finally, dragonfish had transformation path and food path Dao marks. According to rumors, dragonfish were life forms created by a food path Gu Immortal. Fang Yuan had the most authentic food path inheritance now. There were many ways within it to breed dragonfish on a massive scale. Dragon scale sea area. Fang Yuan first expanded this sea area again. He also modified the Immortal Gu formation in the sea area. A brand new Immortal Gu formation using rank 6 snack Immortal Gu, rank 7 dragon scale, rank 7 dragon breath, and rank 6 dragon strength as the cores, as well as 130,000 Mortal Gu as supplementary Gu. Just by modifying this giant immortal formation, Fang Yuan spent 3 days. These 3 days, Fang Yuan did not sleep or rest. He was bathed in the light of wisdom. Constructing the immortal formation took him 12 days. Half a month later, Fang Yuan successfully raised this dragonfish resource point from a large-sized resource point to a giant resource point. This way, the dragonfish would breed even faster, and with the sovereign immortal aperture's rapid time flow, they would reproduce rapidly. Fang Yuan started to find new sellers for the dragonfish business. Langya sect was easily convinced. The Snowman tribe also agreed to purchase dragonfish from Fang Yuan at regular intervals. Western Desert's Shao clan also became a large customer of Fang Yuan's dragonfish business due to their relationship with the regretful spiders. As for Northern Plains Chu tribe, Chu Du secretly negotiated with Fang Yuan to create a 10-plus year business agreement. The start was good, but next was the main activity. Fang Yuan placed these dragonfish into treasure Yellow Heaven. He naturally placed different wills in and changed his identity. People could not find out who he was. This time, Fang Yuan used a different strategy from the Gu business. Fang Yuan had a decisive advantage in the Gu business. He could charge in with brute force and destroy all of his obstacles. But in terms of dragonfish, Fang Yuan's cost of raising them was not any cheaper, even though he had good methods. Thus, this time, he slowly increased the scale of his dragonfish sale. He was purposely doing this. There was little commotion and treasure Yellow Heaven was the same as usual. Fang Yuan cultivated as he quietly observed the market trend. Eastern Sea. Gu Immortal Yuchan was holding on to a dragonfish and observing it. Under the lantern, her beautiful face was solemn as she frowned. She carefully inspected the dragonfish for several times before placing it in her immortal aperture, sighing softly to herself. Who knows where this person came from? They are really strong. Not only are their dragonfish really outstanding, there is also an unceasing stock coming from them. Yuchan was the #1 seller for the dragonfish business in Treasure Yellow Heaven. The Gu business had 3 big sellers, but the dragonfish business was led by Yuchan alone. She was far above the other Gu Immortals. She had been the #1 for decades. On one hand, she was a water path Gu Immortal. She had a natural advantage in raising dragonfish. On the other hand, she occupied the famous dragonfish sea area. This was a natural breeding ground. The scale was massive. Yuchan not only produced dragonfish in her immortal aperture, she even occupied an area in Eastern Sea. With both production grounds, her dragonfish stock was unsurmountable. Other than these external factors, Yuchan was a cautious person with many acquaintances. She could acutely observe people and had very perceptive senses. Yuchan naturally had her special traits to be able to dominate the dragonfish business. This time, Fang Yuan secretly increased the stock of his dragonfish and was immediately sensed by Yuchan. Yuchan bought a batch of dragonfish from Fang Yuan, and after observing them, she realized that Fang Yuan was a huge foe. Yuchan placed a lot of attention on it and immediately tried to probe Fang Yuan's background. Know yourself and your enemy, and you will never be defeated. But even though she tried to disguise as a buyer and wanted to probe information from him, Fang Yuan's will left behind no flaws. Even when Yuchan expressed her will to communicate with Fang Yuan did not show up. After several days, Yuchan felt increasing pressure. She found that Fang Yuan's stock was gradually increasing. And in Treasure Yellow Heaven's market, there were already many Gu Immortals observing this change. Even though Fang Yuan did not create a commotion, Yuchan was starting to feel greater pressure. I cannot continue like this. Yuchan could not wait anymore. She left the dragonfish sea area. She did not fly, she was swimming. After several hundred li, she found an undercurrent. Yuchan went into the undercurrent and used this natural phenomenon to accelerate her journey. This was Eastern Sea's special trait. The other 4 regions did not have it. Yuchan was a water path Gu Immortal to begin with. She used the undercurrent to travel. It was faster than normal Gu Immortals flying. She went through many undercurrents. After some days, Yuchan arrived in Nangong Clan Sea territory. Nangong Clan was a righteous path superforce of Eastern Sea. After Yuchan came to their territorial border, she stopped and landed on a nameless island. She was here in Nangong Clan to seek help. She had already used information path methods to inform him before coming. As expected, Yuchan did not wait long. A Nangong Clan Gu Immortal was waiting for her. Fairy Yuchan, Master Hua sent me here to welcome you. He is already waiting at Hua Qiao Pavilion. The Nangong Clan Gu Immortal was very respectful. He did not display the prideful nature of a Superforce member. On one hand, he only had rank 6 cultivation level, while Yuchan was rank 7. On another hand, Yuchan was a lone cultivator but had many connections. She was also one of the 6 publicly recognized great fairies in Eastern Sea. Her reputation was well known. The Nangong Clan Gu Immortal had to give her ample respect. Thank you. Yuchan smiled lightly. She instantly made the Nangong Clan Gu Immortal's heart beat faster. Fairy, follow me. The Nangong Clan Gu Immortal regained his cool and led the way. Yuchan entered the sea along with him into the undercurrent. After several transitions, Yuchan saw an Immortal Gu house in the sea. This Immortal Gu house was specially constructed. There was a pavilion in the center. There were stone tables and chairs in it. A Gu Immortal was brewing tea. Yuchan followed the Nangong Clan Gu Immortal to enter the pavilion. The man inside smiled as he said, Fairy Yuchan, you came from afar. Sorry that I could not welcome you. Yuchan smiled. Huan, you are one of the 3 wisdom path experts in Eastern Sea. What can I do if you act so arrogantly? Yuchan and Huan were very good friends. They were just playing with each other. The truth was, Huan was originally a Hua Clan Gu Immortal, but due to certain reasons, he left Hua Clan. Hua Clan was a righteous path superforce. While escaping, Huan obtained Yuchan's help. The two became good friends. After that, Nangong Clan took in Huan, and he cultivated until he became reputed in Eastern Sea for wisdom path. There was a poem about it. Jia Dan sits in Twin Polar, Huan hides in Nangong. There is also Dragon Head Tortoise, living inside Adversity Sea. The second verse was talking about him, Huan. Even though Huan was in Nangong Clan, he was threatened by Hua Clan all along. He had faced their assassination attempts multiple times. Thus, he usually stayed inside Nangong Clan's headquarters and rarely went out. Now that he took the risk to meet Yuchan, it displayed his sincerity. Yuchan knew about Huan's predicaments. She was satisfied that he met with her. She even felt a little joyful. Huan laughed before pointing. Fairy, take a seat. Yuchan did not stand on ceremony. She sat down and drank tea before sighing. The tea is good, but my heart is full of worries. I cannot appreciate it fully. Huan nodded. Tell me in detail. Fairy, I will do my best to plan for you and resolve your worries. Yuchan was drinking tea, while Fang Yuan drank wine. He was not drinking ordinary wine. This was engagement wine. And this engagement wine was not anyone else's, but his own. Congratulations, Lord Fang Yuan and Fairy Xue Er. It is truly wonderful that both of you lovers could get together. Ha ha ha. Bing Zhuo laughed loudly as he spoke and toasted. Fang Yuan smiled and raised his cup in response. He looked around the place. This hall had 2 or 3 banquet tables. They were all filled with Gu Immortals. Most of them were variant human Gu Immortals. There were snowmen, hairy men, ink men, and rockmen. Other than that, there was the Shadow Sect members led by Fang Yuan. Bai Ning Bing was not among them. Fang Yuan had rank 8 battle strength. This was his engagement ceremony. He had an important status in the Northern Plains Variant Human Alliance. Almost all their Gu Immortals joined in. The Snowman Gu Immortals cheered, while the Rockman Gu Immortals had stiff expressions. This engagement ceremony was a good thing for the Snowman tribe, but for the Rockmen, seeing their neighbor that had been suppressed gaining a rank 8 battle strength was simply a huge nightmare. Elder Bing Yuan, you really did something amazing. I am truly impressed. I am very, very impressed. At the banquet, the Rockman First Supreme Elder Shizong said in a grim tone towards Bing Yuan. Bing Yuan was the grandmother of Xue Er. She was the one who initiated and planned the marriage with Fang Yuan. They had finally seen some results now. This is the blessing of my granddaughter, Sai. To speak the truth, our tribe is the unworthy party. Bing Yuan pretended not to notice Shizong's mocking tone and responded while looking at the main table. Over there, Fang Yuan was sitting at the main seat. Xue Er was close beside him, having an uneasy expression. Bing Yuan sighed. She seemed to be having a glamorous time, but she was internally worried. This was not the wedding that she wanted. It was merely an engagement ceremony. Bing Yuan could fully feel Fang Yuan's shrewdness. Just this engagement ceremony alone made the snowmen pay a hefty price. This was her negotiation with Fang Yuan. After many difficult negotiations, they finally obtained this result. Both sides gave in a little. Fang Yuan obtained a new batch of resources. The snowmen could finally make use of Fang Yuan's authority. But to get this Fang Yuan to become one of us, such a person, did I do the right thing? Bing Yuan thought about her discussion with Fang Yuan as she started doubting this entire thing. But on the surface, Bing Yuan did not show any emotions. She smiled and interacted in the banquet. It was a great atmosphere. Eastern Sea. Huan had a look of shame as he said to Yuan, "Fairy, I have disappointed you. I could not deduce this person's background. Even you, Master Hua, could not." Yuan felt very surprised. Huan had a solemn expression. Firstly, just simply having the dragonfish clues make it hard to deduce. Secondly, this person has a killer move to conceal themselves that resists wisdom path deductions. Yuan heard this and felt even more alerted. The other party had wisdom path methods to defend against deductions, but she did not. The enemy had it, but she did not. They either came prepared or had a force behind them. No matter which one, it showed that the enemy was very powerful. Don't tell me the other party's wisdom path attainment is even greater than yours. You are one of the 3 greatest wisdom path experts in Eastern Sea. You could not deduce it. Yuan was unresigned. Fairy, you are mistaken. Wisdom path is different from water path. In this scene, it is like a river. The enemy has set up a dam at the narrowest part. No matter how wide the river is, after this dam, the water would become shallow and slow. We Wisdom Path Gu Immortals can create huge waves in deep rivers, but after this crucial dam, we cannot use any of our abilities. The effort is not worth the results. Huan explained patiently, thinking that Yuan was a water path cultivator. He used water as an analogy. Not just me. Any other Wisdom Path Gu Immortal will not succeed in the deduction unless they break this layer of defense. Even though this defense is only at rank 6 level. Yuan was distressed. She did not know much about Wisdom Path. In fact, most Gu Immortals did not know about Wisdom Path details. On one hand, Wisdom Path Gu Immortals had always been rare. On the other hand, Wisdom Path Gu Immortals who knew about Wisdom Path profundities would not want to tell the world about their specific details and inheritances. Yuan originally thought that with Hua and's help, she would be able to find Fang Yuan's information, but to think that she failed here. But the more this was the case, the more Yuan did not want to give up. Huan understood her personality. Yuan was not only beautiful, she also had the tenacity of water. She could reach her status and gain such accomplishments due to her hard work. Thus, Huan suggested, we can probe even further. As long as we have more information and clues, I will have a greater chance of getting past his defenses. Even if one clue is minor, if we have a lot of them, we will eventually find our way to success. Yuan nodded. Wait a moment. She immediately sent her consciousness into treasure yellow heaven as she looked for Fang Yuan's will. Her earlier probes did not succeed, but now she still wanted to try. Yuan, stop trying to test me. I am interested in the dragonfish business, or rather, I definitely want to be involved in this business. Fang Yuan's will told Yuan immediately. Yuan was shocked. Her expression changed. Her consciousness returned to her body, and she informed Hua, and's expression changed too. I'm afraid he has a huge background. I am the #1 person in the dragonfish business. How can someone competing with me have no background? Yuan rolled her eyes at Hua and shook his head. He had a solemn expression. I am talking about his wisdom path attainment. My earlier deduction was noticed by him, and he did a reverse deduction on us. That's how he found out your identity. I was already very careful, but he could actually deduce your identity with such limited information. His wisdom path attainment is definitely not lower than mine. In fact, it could be higher. Is that so? Yuan was shocked yet again. She did not expect that after finding Huan for help, not only did he fail to find out their background, she even got exposed in advance. The banquet was extremely lively. This engagement ceremony had an extremely heavy political impact, not only for the Variant Human Alliance, but also for Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan did not reject any of the toasts from the Variant Human Gu Immortals. With his interpersonal skills, he greatly improved his relationship with all the Variant Human Gu Immortals. Fang Yuan's original status was quite awkward. He was a purebred human. Inside the Variant Human Alliance, he was a loner by nature. The Variant Humans were suspicious towards Fang Yuan from the start. But this time, Fang Yuan had an engagement with Xue Er. The feeling was different now. He had squeezed his way into the Variant Human Gu Immortal circle. Before this, he was only part of Langya's sect. Of course, the true reason is because I have rank 8 battle strength. Fang Yuan was crystal clear about this. In the Gu Master world, an entity could rule above the group. As long as one had high cultivation level and battle strength, they would be unstoppable. If she knew I had rank 8 battle strength, would Yuan have backed off? Fang Yuan suddenly had a thought in his mind. The dragonfish business was Fang Yuan's next focus in his immortal aperture development. If Yuan backed off now, it would be perfect for Fang Yuan. But unfortunately, Yuan would not do that. Fang Yuan shook his head secretly. Yuan was currently one of the beneficiaries. It was too difficult to get her to give up her share of the cake. In Treasure Yellow Heaven, even rank 6 Gu Immortals dared to contest rank 8 Gu Immortals openly in business, or even provoke them. Treasure Yellow Heaven was a place not even Heavenly Court could take over. Yuan, Eastern Sea's 6 Beauties. Myriad Gold Wondrous Essence Physique. Fang Yuan entertained the guests as he thought in his mind. Others did not know Yuchan's secret, but after gaining Shadow Sect's inheritance, Fang Yuan learned about many crucial details. One of them stated that Yuchan had one of the 10 extreme physiques, the Myriad Gold Wondrous Essence Physique. This was Yuchan's greatest secret. She had hidden it well, but Shadow Sect had a specialized method to search for the 10 extreme physiques. In order to refine sovereign immortal fetus Gu, Shadow Sect needed to gather all 10 extreme physiques. During this process, they found out about Yuchan's secret. But back then, Shadow Sect already had the Myriad Gold Wondrous Essence Physique, so they did not target Yuchan. As for why Yuchan had the Myriad Gold Wondrous Essence Physique, but cultivated water path, that was the difficulty faced by lone cultivators. Yuchan obtained a water path inheritance in the past. Without other options, she had to cultivate it solely. And later, it was too hard to change paths due to the risks involved. Yuchan thus went on with it until now. Fang Yuan could deduce that Yuchan was deducing him because he had a lot of information about her. He knew that she was his biggest competition in the dragonfish business. On the other hand, Fang Yuan had Ghost Official Garment and many of Purple Mountain True Monarch's killer moves. He even had the methods from Shadow Sect and Langya Sect. As for the Myriad Gold Wondrous Essence Physique, it was written in The Legends of Rinzhu, Chapter 4, Section 27. Legend says that the mini-man surpassed boundless forest samsara and persevered to build the ladder and made his way out of ordinary abyss. When the mini-man saw Rinzhu, Rinzhu sighed. If he had Perseverance Gu back then, he would have conquered Reverse Flow River and would not have created such a mess. Rinzhu wanted to save his children, but until now, he had not achieved anything. Rinzhu saw that the mini-man had Perseverance Gu and gained new hope. He said to the mini-man, "Mini-man, oh mini-man, I need your help." The mini-man asked, "Oh Rinzhu, how do you want me to help you?" Rinzhu told the mini-man that he wanted to borrow and use Perseverance Gu. The mini-man said, "Oh Rinzhu, the reason why I could leave ordinary abyss was because I used the trees that you planted. I chopped down those trees and built my ladder. Thus, I owe you a favor." The mini-man agreed to lend Perseverance Gu to Rinzhu. But after Rinzhu gained Perseverance Gu, he realized he could not use it. This is the perseverance of the mini-man, not yours, Rinzhu. Cognition Gu appeared at this time and told Rinzhu this fact. Rinzhu was anguished. He sighed deeply. He asked Cognition Gu, "Then what should I do? I know that Perseverance Gu can help me, but I cannot use it. I know the Feathermen can help me, but love cannot control them." Cognition Gu told Rinzhu, "Nobody can force anyone to love them, but you can create a Gu to lure the Feathermen into helping you do things. Think about it. How did the mini-man gain Perseverance Gu?" Cognition Gu's words were a huge inspiration to Rinzhu. Rinzhu was overjoyed. "Oh Cognition Gu, thank you for the great idea. I know what to do now. I want to create my own Gu." Cognition Gu was curious. "What Gu is that?" Rinzhu shook his head. "I am not sure, but I have an idea. I want this Gu to be something everyone in the world wants." Thus, Rinzhu left ordinary abyss and went to the blue sea. This was the blue sea that formed Life Gu. It was the source of all life in the world. Rinzhu had walked ashore from the blue sea. He was back here again. Rinzhu was thirsty. He scooped up the blue sea water and drank a few mouthfuls. He got more thirsty as he drank it, but Rinzhu was satisfied. "I want to use the blue sea water to refine Gu. After I succeed, no matter who obtains it, they will never be satisfied. They will want more." Thus, Rinzhu took away a lot of blue sea water. After the sea level reduced, the beach was exposed. Rinzhu found that there were many sea urchin-like Gu on the beach. This was not Life Gu, it was Difficulty Gu. Any life would face difficulties. Rinzhu's eyes shone. He said, "I want to refine Gu that everyone needs, but to obtain it, there will be difficulties." Thus, he took many Difficulty Gu. After doing all these, Rinzhu left the blue sea and headed to the door of life and death. After entering it, Rinzhu did not go deeply into the door of life and death, but only walked one round around the road of life. He gathered a lot of worry Gu as he said, "I want to refine Gu that after getting it, people will not abandon easily. They will be worried that it will go missing." After leaving the door of life and death, along the way, Rinzhu met with Sadness Gu. Rinzhu laughed happily. "Excellent. I want to refine Gu in which once people lose it, they will be very sad. This way, people will not abandon it easily." Thus, he collected the Sadness Gu. Rinzhu had gathered everything. He started to refine Gu. The flames of the Gu refinement raged on. A lot of black smoke was produced, attracting many Gu and life forms to come and watch. "Oh Rinzhu, what Gu are you trying to refine?" Stupidity Gu was lured here as it asked curiously. Rinzhu smiled. "Oh Stupidity Gu, if you want to know, go into the fire and see for yourself." Stupidity Gu went inside and never came out again. Not long after, Wisdom Gu came here as well. It asked, "Oh Rinzhu, what are you trying to refine?" Rinzhu laughed. Oh, Wisdom Gu, if you want to know, go into the fire and see for yourself. Wisdom Gu flew into, but it only flew into the black smoke. Once its vision was obscured, it flew around randomly and flew out again. Renzu, oh Renzu, I was almost deceived by you. I already know what you are refining. I am leaving. Saying this, Wisdom Gu flew away. Renzu felt that it was a pity, he sighed. This way, after my Gu is refined, it can enslave stupid people and blind wise people for some time. Days passed one by one. The Gu refinement flame continued to burn, but he did not succeed. The black smoke did not fade away. It gathered in the sky and created huge black clouds. Oh Renzu, you must have felt it. We are just one step away. This final step is the most crucial one. Cognition Gu said. Renzu nodded. He stood up with determination and walked towards the fire. It seems that this Gu needs to be created with human hands. Saying so, Renzu chopped off both hands and threw them into the fire. Boom. The flame exploded as the endless dark clouds in the sky faded. Under the golden sunlight that shone down, a little girl appeared before Renzu. Oh Father, thank you for giving life to me. I am Myriad Gold Wondrous Essence. The girl was radiating an aura of prosperity. She smiled towards Renzu. Renzu looked at her and laughed. Ha ha ha, I have another daughter now. But wait, did my Gu refinement succeed? Myriad Gold Wondrous Essence opened her right palm as she held the Gu towards Renzu. Look Father, this is the Gu that you refined. It is called Wealth. Western Desert. This was a desert. The terrain was flat and endless towards the horizon. There was a cracked rocky terrain with no vegetation growing. But deep underground, it was another world. There was a huge mine built in an area full of natural ore. 100,000 rockmen were living here as miners, excavating all sorts of materials for Gu Immortals. This was the famous Myriad or Desert in Western Desert. It was in the control of the Superforce Xue clan. The ore here were of various types and had huge quantity. Other than the mortal resources excavated by the rockmen, a lot of the immortal or needed Gu Immortals to excavate themselves. Like the subterranean adamantite, it was the hardest rank 6 immortal material. Or the dark inkstone. Even the ancient sword dragon's claws could not leave a mark on it. And deep below this Myriad or desert, there was a huge gold fragment river current. The gold fragment current was a metallic river in immemorial yellow heaven. A fragment of the immemorial yellow heaven had fallen into the Myriad or desert back then. The immemorial yellow heaven fragment was once a land of treasures explored by Gu Immortals and Gu Masters. But as time passed and eras changed, the fragment got smaller and smaller before dissipating. In the process of dissipating, the Tao marks that left it turned the surrounding desert into the Myriad or desert. And this gold fragment current was part of that fragment in the past. It had not dried up even until today. Fang Yuan's mini yellow heaven also had a gold fragment current, but it was very small. It was like an ant compared to the Myriad or desert's gold fragment current. And in this huge gold fragment current, there was an immortal Gu formation. The Gu formation had been active all the time, monitoring the Myriad or desert and controlling the countless rockmen miners. Boom. Suddenly, there was a huge explosion as a blinding light emerged from the immortal formation. A crack was created in it as a door opened. Thick smoke came out from within the door. Cough, cough. From the colorful smoke, a rockman Gu Immortal walked out. But as he walked out, the rock skin on him fell off as his true identity was revealed. He was a purebred human Gu Immortal. He was middle-aged and had a mature gaze. His appearance was ordinary. He seemed like an easygoing person. Right now, he was covered in soot as he coughed. The 89th Gu refinement failed as well. The middle-aged Gu Immortal sighed as he coughed out blood. The blood clumps he coughed out were very special. After landing on the ground, they turned into all sorts of jewels. There were pearls, agate, jade, gold, silver, bronze, and more. If Fang Yuan was here, he would be shocked if he saw this, even with his knowledge. What was the reason this middle-aged Gu Immortal suffered such a weird injury? The middle-aged Gu Immortal looked at the jewels around him as he had a peaceful appearance, not feeling surprised. Because he knew what he was doing, he was refining Wealth Gu. Wealth Gu, it was a legendary Gu written in The Legends of Renzu. According to Renzu's biography, it was made from blue sea water, Renzu's hands, Worry Gu, Difficulty Gu, Sadness Gu, Wisdom Gu, and Stupidity Gu. However, it was basically impossible for the Gu Immortal to refine this Gu according to that recipe now. This was not just because it was a story, but because a lot of details were subtle and not literal. And these materials were already extinct in the current world. Fang Yuan had rank 9 Wisdom Gu even though it was not refined by him yet. But the blue sea was already missing. How could anyone find blue sea water? Even if they had it, what about Renzu's hands? Then why was this middle-aged Gu Immortal trying to refine Wealth Gu? It was the usual saying, man is the spirit of all living beings. Gu is the essence of heaven and earth. Humans could create countless recipes to refine an immortal Gu. The method in The Legends of Rinzhu could not be used, but the Gu Immortal could modify the recipe themselves. This middle-aged Gu Immortal cultivated Earth path, but he had a fortuitous encounter in his early days. He obtained an incomplete Immortal Gu recipe. It was unknown who was that person who left this incomplete recipe of wealth Gu in his research to refine it. The middle-aged Gu Immortal obtained it and treated it as his treasure because he knew that it was a precious Gu recipe and the predecessor's contribution was huge. If he worked on this recipe, he could likely refine wealth Gu. From this wealth Gu recipe, the predecessor managed to deduce the effect of wealth Gu. If he could refine wealth Gu, he would be able to turn it into anything in this world. That thing could be gold, silver, or bronze. It could be rank 6 immortal material or even rank 9 immortal material. But wealth Gu could not turn into any living being, including animals, plants, humans, variant humans, and Gu. If I refine wealth Gu, I will be able to turn it into any immortal material in the world. It is a hugely profitable business. I only need to convert it into an extinct Gu material to gain immense wealth. I can even increase my cultivation foundation and surpass the entire Xue clan. The middle-aged Gu Immortal was extremely moved. He wanted to refine wealth Gu desperately. He did not tell anyone about this. He was afraid of people's greed. This middle-aged Gu Immortal was Xue. Xue clan was a righteous path superforce in Western Desert. Xue had an awkward position in Xue clan. Even though he had rank 7 cultivation level, he was ostracized by Xue clan's Gu Immortals. There was a historical reason for this. Xue's father betrayed the clan and caused huge losses to them, not just in resources, but also Gu Immortals' lives. Thus, since a young age, Xue had not been well treated by the Xue clan Gu Immortals. In order to gain trust, Xue changed his name to Xue Sup 1/Sup to express his loyalty to the clan. But that did not change anything. He was sent away by Xue clan's first supreme elder to defend this myriad or desert. This place had abundant resources, but it bordered other super forces that were enemies of Xue clan. Xue was in great danger here. And there was little profits to be gained because this immortal formation was monitored the entire time. It was so strict Xue had no chance to do anything. The truth was, even if it was not strict, Xue would not try anything. If he was found out, his circumstances would be much worse. Precisely so, Xue held great anticipation towards wealth Gu. The basis of Gu immortal cultivation is the management of one's immortal aperture. Without deep assets and foundation, no matter how much your battle strength is, that is only temporary. It is like building a skyscraper on a ground of sand. Xue had this realization. He had been working hard. Even though the process was tough, he had never given up. Thinking about his Gu immortal cultivation journey, other than preparing for the necessary tribulations, he had invested all of his resources into the project of refining wealth Gu. 89 failures. I do not have enough humans now. Xue healed his injuries and checked his inventory. He realized that his human Gu material was insufficient. He had to collect more. Xue was a righteous path Gu Immortal, but he actually used humans as Gu material. That was a demonic act. But as long as he kept it a secret, nobody would know. Xue did not leave any evidence behind. Nobody could target him. Xue was very cautious in this. He would not let anyone find any clues to his actions. The human slaves that he bought were all from Treasure Yellow Heaven. They were very safe purchases. I am using humans in place of the blue sea water in wealth Gu's recipe, as well as Rinzhu's hands. This is not wrong. But was it not enough? Do I need to add in lifespan Gu as well? Xue considered. He had lifespan Gu, but he did not dare to waste them. The Legends of Rinzhu wrote that even though wisdom Gu was not sacrificed like stupidity Gu, it was part of the refinement process. I do not have wisdom Gu. I used other wisdom path Gu worms in place of it. I can improve upon this aspect. Worry Gu, difficulty Gu, sadness Gu. Xue had all of these mortal Gu. They were not hard to get. He could even refine stupidity Gu himself. The Gu recipe is getting more and more complete. Xue healed his injuries and inspected the blood he spat on the ground. His blood had turned into jewels and ore. Xue had been immersed in this for a long time. He could tell that he had improved by observing his blood clumps. Even though I improved this time, I am still far from success. There are a few missing steps. I need to work harder. Xue was very experienced in this. He had a strong instinct developing. He calculated, and it was time to feed his immortal Gu again. Xue inherited his family's inheritance. He had multiple immortal Gu that made the other Xue clan Gu immortals very envious. It was a pity that taking over the inheritance had rules and could not be broken. Xue owning these immortal Gu was also a reason why he was targeted and ostracized by other Xue clan Gu immortals. He inspected his inventory and felt a huge headache. It is a little troublesome. I lack some food. I forgot that when refining wealth Gu, because I was missing some materials, I sold some of the food for my Immortal Gu that I had prepared earlier. At this time, it is too difficult to gather more food. I should buy some dragonfish in place of the food and feed my Immortal Gu first. Thinking of this, Xue Er did not hesitate. His consciousness went into treasure yellow heaven. Dragonfish. He had a clear objective. He found that many Gu immortals were selling dragonfish. As a buyer, he had to compare the goods of multiple sellers. The dragonfish business was not like Xue Er Gu. It was sold all year round. Because dragonfish bred in all seasons, its market was lively at all times. Xue Er first went to Yuchan's stall. As everyone knew, Yuchan was the #1 dragonfish seller in treasure yellow heaven. But she did not sell only dragonfish. She also sold other products, though primarily fish species. In the past, when Xue Er wanted to buy dragonfish, he would get them from Yuchan because her reputation made her very trustworthy. If things went as expected, he would buy dragonfish from her this time as well. After seeing Yuchan's goods, Xue Er did not buy them yet. He went to look around. He soon found Fang Yuan's stall. Someone is selling dragonfish here too? There is quite a high quantity. Xue Er looked around and felt quite surprised. He inspected and found that the dragonfish sold here were high in quantity and quality. They were on par with Yuchan's dragonfish. And this stall seems more popular too. Xue Er looked around. There were several Gu immortal wills here, as well as some divine senses communicating here. To think that after being in secluded cultivation for so long, the dragonfish business in treasure yellow heaven has a new strong contender. Xue Er was thinking when a Gu immortal went to him and spoke. Friend, you are here to buy dragonfish too? Why don't we buy it together? It will be cheaper. This divine sense said. Oh, what is going on? Xue Er asked. That divine sense explained. You do not know? The dragonfish seller here has different rules. As long as you purchase beyond a certain quantity, the price will be lower. There are several classifications, but the point is that the more you buy, the cheaper it is. Xue Er heard this and praised in his mind. This method is great. Next, he thought of himself. Maybe I can use this method when I sell things in the future. Xue Er considered it and felt the brilliance of this method. Even though it was essentially a drop in prices, with a higher quantity sold, the overall profits would still increase. Compared to the Xue Er Gu price war earlier, this method was much more subtle and profound. Using this method not only makes the sales of the dragonfish higher, it can raise their reputation. If someone really wants to buy dragonfish, to make it cheaper, they will invite their friends or even strangers to buy it together. It is a form of publicity for the seller. Xue Er kept thinking about it. He felt that the dragonfish seller truly had amazing ideas. No wonder the Gu Immortal stall here has more people compared to that #1 seller. There might be proxies here set by the seller, not here to buy dragonfish, but only existing to create a crowd. Xue Er instantly felt interest about this seller. Forget it, I will buy it from here. The price is cheaper after all. Thinking about this, Xue Er communicated with the unknown Immortal and worked together. Both sides were very happy. After both sides negotiated, they purchased 100,000 dragonfish together. After the purchase, they split the goods in treasure yellow heaven and returned satisfied. Setting aside how Xue Er is going to feed his Immortal Gu, the Gu Immortal who cooperated with Xue Er immediately left treasure yellow heaven after getting the goods and returned to the sovereign Immortal aperture. Xue Er guessed right. The person who bought it with him was a proxy. They were not Fang Yuan, but one of the other Gu Immortals from Shadow Sect. Even if people could guess this, how could they prove it in treasure yellow heaven? There was no way. Actually, this was not a method invented by Fang Yuan. Xue Er had been focused on Gu refinement and did not pay much attention to treasure yellow heaven. This method had been used by people long ago. The novelty of the idea was not important. Only the effect mattered. Ignoring anything else, Fang Yuan was very successful at doing this. These last days, as he increased the quantity of his goods in treasure yellow heaven, he had gotten much more attention. A huge quantity represented his capabilities. Buyers were naturally more willing to buy from a more reliable seller. On the other hand, Fang Yuan used the appropriate method to sell them. His reputation was slowly climbing. Fang Yuan's dragonfish were of high quality. With the food path Immortal formation, their quality would only continue to increase. Initially, there were few Gu Immortals who bought from him, and they only bought a few each time. But gradually, more and more Gu Immortals bought dragonfish from him. The quantity sold was rapidly increasing as well. In fact, he was getting recurring customers. As Fang Yuan's greatest dragonfish business competitor, Eastern Seas Yuchan was still selling her dragonfish calmly, without any commotion. Yuchan's inaction is correct, because in the short term, my method cannot threaten her. In fact, if she tries to use a similar tactic, it would greatly erode her earnings. After all, she is selling much more dragonfish than me. Fang Yuan thought to himself. Yuchan was acting very calmly in this situation. She had a great disposition. But after a while, she will start getting worried. Fang Yuan was very confident. The food path Immortal formation he created only used a few Immortal Gu and some Immortal essence to use. It was extraordinary. But this method needed at least several, or even a dozen generations of dragonfish breeding to see effect. Yuan was not anxious, neither was Fang Yuan. The longer this dragged on, the greater his advantage in the dragonfish business. After retrieving his divine sense from treasure yellow heaven, Fang Yuan came to the Gu refinement hall and saw Sixth Hair. Sixth Hair was thin and haggard. In order to refine Gu for Fang Yuan, he had gone all out. He was exhausted both mentally and physically. Now, he was at the final step of Heavenly Secret Gu's refinement. It was time for Fang Yuan to act. White light filled the Gu refinement hall. Nobody could open their eyes in such intense light. Fang Yuan shut his eyes and entered the white light. He stopped when he got to the center. An intense aura assaulted him. It was neither mortal nor immortal. It was in between, at the final step before a qualitative change. We can start now. Fang Yuan cleared his mind as he transmitted to Sixth Hair. After counting down, Sixth Hair deactivated the refinement path Immortal formation in the hall. Fang Yuan immediately took over. Countless thoughts emerged from his mind. He used wisdom path methods concurrently. He took over the Immortal formation successfully. Under his hard work, the surrounding white light condensed and formed into a huge ring. The ring was parallel to the ground. It surrounded Fang Yuan with him in the center. Refinement path killer move, heavenly light ring. The first rotation. Fang Yuan willed as the ring started to rotate slowly. The first rotation succeeded. At the second rotation, Fang Yuan opened his eyes and used his gaze to move the ring. It started to rotate even faster. After several minutes, the second rotation succeeded, and at the third rotation, Fang Yuan used his breath to move the ring. After a moment, he succeeded. The fourth, fifth, and sixth rotations also succeeded as time passed. Fang Yuan was at the final seventh rotation. It seems that sect leader put in a lot of effort after that failure. Sixth Hair watched from the side with anxiety. He sighed. Seventh rotation. Fang Yuan gritted his teeth and did his best to rotate the ring. Right now, the ring had already shrunk to basin size. It floated above his head. Boom. With a soft sound, the ring shrunk into a tiny speck. This was a Gu. Rank 7 Heavenly Secret Gu landed on Fang Yuan's head. I actually succeeded. Even the person himself, Fang Yuan, was surprised. He failed the first refinement, but actually succeeded on the second try. After his surprise, Fang Yuan felt intense joy. Maybe it was because I used luck path methods and had really good luck. Fang Yuan took Heavenly Secret Gu down from his head and looked at it. This Immortal Gu resembled a dragonfly, but upon closer inspection, it looked more like a twig. The entire Heavenly Secret Immortal Gu was very long. It was half the length of an adult arm. Its body was thin and long like a twig. It was very soft. There were 7 feathered wings on each of its 2 sides. They were thin and green, resembling leaves. It was flying casually in the air, or rather, it was so slow it looked like it was floating. Fang Yuan observed it for a while before letting out a breath of air, sighing. I finally refined Heavenly Secret Immortal Gu.